Picture this, a bored deity spins a twisted new reality out of thin air purely to kill his own endless boredom. He dubbed this absolute nightmare the Abyss. He dumped his monstrous creations into this hellscape one by one where they completely butchered absolutely everything in sight. Backed into a corner, humanity had zero choice but to resort to extreme desperate measures just to stay breathing. Their only way out, grind it out, and brawl through literal oceans of blood-rotting corpses, and a never-ending war tearing humans and monsters apart. Fighting to survive became the new normal simply because the gods ate up the sheer violence. Nothing gave these sick deities more of a rush than watching absolute slaughter, human agony, and their desperate will to live. Just popcorn entertainment to them. Cut to a blown-out wasteland choked with the mangled bodies of both dragons and humans. No one walked away from this bloodbath as a winner. A lone figure drops to his knees, hacking up dark blood in front of a colossal gold-scaled dragon radiating pure lethal energy. Barely clinging to life, the guy gets pinned down hard under the monster's massive claw. The agonizing pain shooting through his veins is straight up unbearable. But amidst this torture, a purple-haired dude watching the carnage suddenly bursts into a manic, psychotic laugh for literally no reason. Despite the white-hot agony shredding his body, he spits venomous trash talk right in the beast's face before flatlining. Unbothered, the dragon simply charges up a swirling sphere of raw energy deep inside its jaws. As the dying man's vision fades, his final thoughts drift toward, if that squad was still kicking, maybe they actually stood a chance. Especially a certain someone. Flash over to somewhere else. A woman clutching a glowing golden magic circle breaks the grim news. The very last human strike team has just been wiped out. Turning to her two companions, she drops the heavy truth. They are the only 4 survivors left breathing. These 4 icons are humanity's absolute last hope in a savage, blood-soaked world where winning is pretty much a myth. Meet Eris, a white-haired powerhouse decked out in gold armor, gripping a heavy spear and radiating an untouchable, calm strength. Then there's Keldian, a blonde mage flexing a wicked staff crowned with a carved sun crest. Next to him is Kang Tae, an absolute tank of a warrior draped in ancient beast pelts swinging a bone-crushing greatsword. All 3 shift their gaze toward their final squad mate, a young guy sitting completely silent amidst the rubble. This is Kang Hansu, clad in pitch-black armor, his dark bangs veil eyes that are completely dead inside from pure exhaustion. Eris hypes them up, declaring that this crew is the ultimate final safety net to save humanity. Hansu slowly peels open his heavy eyelids, his battered body covered in gnarly bleeding gashes. Eris breaks down the game plan they've breached, the exact vault holding the Arcanial Time Gem. This isn't just bling, it's a mythical relic rumored to pack enough raw magic to literally rewind time itself. It's their ultimate trump card after 50 brutal years of getting wrecked in the abyss. Breaking the tension, Kang Tae steps up. Laying out the hard truth, only one of them can jump back to the past. He looks around, waiting for a consensus on who's going to step up to the plate. Oozing confidence, the proud warrior speaks up, asking if they've locked in a choice while heavily hinting he's ready to solo the mission. He argues the absolute heaviest hitter needs to take this trip, completely convinced everyone knows he's the guy, flexing an insane amount of swagger. Keldian violently shuts him down, brutally roasting him for actually expecting a single smart idea to come out of his mouth for once. Before things escalate, Eris jumps in, demanding they chill out and cut the petty bickering. She issues a chilling warning if every single Valkyrie sent to crush the gold dragons just got wiped out. Those colossal freaks are going to breach this vault any second now. It feels crazy unfair, but they are completely out of place. She slowly walks up to one specific squad mate. Out of these 4 absolute legends, only one is fated to rewind the clock. With heavy sympathetic eyes, Eris points dead at Hansu, who's staring back with icy determination. Staring down at his calloused hands, he questions if he can actually pull off this insane time jump, flashing back to years of endless trauma. Day in and day out of the exact same brutal meat grinder. At this point, dying doesn't even faze him. Still locked onto his scarred hands, Hansu completely zones out. Eris gently rests her warm hand right over his, softly telling him to snap out of it and drop the depressing, defeated vibe. Dropping to her knees right beside him, Eris made it crystal clear. The absolute survival of the human race was riding entirely on his shoulders. Her eyes practically glowed with raw hope. Flashing him a warm, desperate smile, she begged him to hold the line and never back down. Kang locked eyes with his squad. Seeing their ride-or-die loyalty sparking in the darkness genuinely hit him right in the feels. Keldian backed Eris up completely. He pointed out a crazy fact: even though Kang kicked off his brutal journey a full 20 years, after everyone else, he was still the last man standing. That alone was straight-up proof of his insane potential and raw power. Eris leaned in, telling Kang that if his broken abilities had just clicked into place 5 years earlier, their current reality might not be this absolute nightmare. Kang Tae chimed in, totally admitting that the massive hype was completely justified, and that he fully respected Kang's top-tier combat skills. But honestly, if Kang was seriously dreading this, Kang Tae volunteered to step up and take on the brutal mission himself. He was dead set that leaping back into the past would let him snatch back everything they lost, giving them one final shot to rewrite history. Catching that Erez shot Kang Tae a death glare so icy it instantly sent shivers down the dude's spine. Catching her lethal stare, Kang Tae instantly backpedaled. He quickly cleared the air, swearing that the absolute only person capable of pulling off this miracle was Kang, playing the whole thing off as just another classic banter session between the bros. Even as the entire planet literally crumbled into apocalyptic dust around them, the guy flashed one final, fiercely determined smirk. Before hauling himself up to face his ultimate destiny with zero hesitation, Kang marched straight toward the Arcanian time jewel. The squad's eyes stayed glued to him, the trio staying behind. Knew deep down that Hansu was humanity's final lifeline. A massive wave of pride washed over them for their ultimate comrade. They were betting everything on him. Suddenly, an ear-splitting crash shattered the dead silence, sending a jolt of pure terror through the air. As reality hit them, the apocalypse was crashing down on their heads. The ceiling violently fractured, ripping wide open as a colossally massive beast smashed its way through. The majestic Golden Dragon King erupted into the room, dwarfing them all, sending huge chunks of rubble crashing down that barely missed Hansu's skull. The monstrous titan ripped its jaws wide, charging up an absolutely devastating blast of hellfire meant to wipe the remaining humans off the map. Refusing to let his squad die, Keldian barked at everyone to stay sharp. He screamed at the overgrown lizard to freeze right there, instantly weaving a colossal spell around the beast. His brain went into overdrive, mapping out a brutal combat strategy. The absolute second, the chaos erupted. Shouting at Eris and Kang Tae to pin the monster down, Keldian geared up for one massive, game-changing move. Mid-brawl, Kang Tae totally flexed his raw physical power, snatching a massive boulder right out of thin air with his bare hands to shield Eris from getting crushed. Smirking with total confidence, he shouted back to Keldian that he was more than ready to let loose and show off his insane combat stats. Eris gripped her spear like a total boss and charged the dragon head-on, spinning the lethal weapon with pure, vicious determination. But right behind the Dragon King, an entire swarm of scaly nightmares rained down from above, bloodthirsty and ready to butcher the last remaining humans. But the universe actually threw the squad a bone. Eris slammed her spear straight into the dirt, and the weapon violently expanded into a gigantic pillar. She shot, the signal for Kang Tae to strike. Gripping his colossal greatsword, Kang Tae instantly engulfed his entire body in blazing flames, roaring that he didn't need an invitation to crash this party. Swinging his heavy blade around, he summoned a massive fire tornado locked right onto the dragon. With one bone-crushing strike, Kang Tae unleashed a blazing tsunami that literally sliced right through multiple dragons trying to back up their king, tearing them perfectly in half. The titanic boss monster just barely dodged the inferno. It instantly snapped back, swiping its razor-sharp claws right at Kang Tae's chest, who barely managed to parry the lethal strikes with his giant sword. Meanwhile, Keldian screamed at Hansu to lock in and focus. Flipping open his ancient grimoire and channeling a seriously overpowered do-or-die spell, the sorcerer warned him straight up Hansu's absolute best weapon was already completely shattered to pieces, so he desperately needed to stop obsessing over his past trauma. Eris gave a firm nod, totally agreeing with Keldian's harsh reality check. Even with pure heartbreak in her eyes, she practically begged Kang to keep pushing forward. She told him to stop pushing away the people who genuinely cared about him, even if they drove him absolutely insane. Flashing him one final desperate look, she pleaded with him to guard the rest of humanity, directly asking if he was actually going to listen to her this time around. Fighting through the pain, Hansu forced a bittersweet smirk, trying his hardest to keep his cool. He swore up and down that he would do whatever it took to honor her final wish. Pivoting right back into the brutal bloodbath, Eris shouted one last reminder: no matter how apocalyptic things got, he could never lose his own humanity. She handed the rest of the bloodbath over to Keldian without a second thought, tilting her head up like she was bathing in the glow of a brand new dawn. Keldian's chest tightened with heavy guilt, but he locked in. Looking dead at Hansu, he muttered a tense apology, drilling into the kid just how insane the stakes were right now, and demanding absolute unbreakable focus. Flipping through his ancient grimoire, he echoed Ares's exact cold-blooded warning. Never catch a body for no reason. But absolutely zero mercy for the roaches trying to wipe out the human race. The kid had to save only those truly worth saving, even if it meant wading waist-deep through an ocean of blood to keep humanity breathing. The mage chimed in, making it crystal clear Hansu had to wipe that psycho monarch Clementine off the map. as the blistering spell hit its boiling point, surging with massive waves of golden energy that ripped through the book, and the temporal jewel Keldian demanded one last time. Do you get it? The kid gave a dead serious nod. He was locked and loaded, proving he wouldn't hesitate for a split second. The temporal jewel of Arcania exploded with an intense glare, its metallic leaves spinning like an absolute buzzsaw. Kang stayed dead silent. His eyes were glued to the artifact, bracing himself for the total chaos that was about to drop. Ares and Todd watched the sphere blast out glowing lightning. They traded a desperate, hopeful grin, throwing all their chips in on their boy. Finally, Keldian slammed, summoning a colossal magic circle across the ceiling that completely torched the shadowy realm with blinding light. Suddenly, the time jewel unleashed a brutal, high-voltage shockwave that blasted right through the squad, swallowing everything in a violent, pure white flash. Through the thick fog, you could hear the distant wails of lost souls, crying out for their families, and a heartbroken mother screaming desperately for her little boy. Right in the middle of this absolute madhouse, Kang stared down at his own hand, letting reality sink in. It actually worked. They were dumped right into the heart of a totally wiped-out post-apocalyptic wasteland, drenched in this sick, toxic green neon glow leaking from somewhere in the distance. Smirking, Kang dragged a hand over his face, whispering that the crazy gamble had actually paid off. He swore on everything he wouldn't fumble this second life. Not this time. The scattered survivors looked completely mind-blown, stumbling around like zombies, totally clueless about where the heck they were. You could basically taste how horribly unaware they were of the nightmare lurking around them. The vibe got super aggressive, snapping when some dude violently grabbed another guy by the throat, screaming accusations while the victim was just completely freaking lost. Kang just watched. Obviously, these people were losing it. They just got yeeted into a terrifying alien dimension. With zero warning, he flashed back to the sheer. A starting batch of 100 people blew up in numbers fast, only for tons of them to just vanish into thin air, sparking absolute mayhem. Right on his 20th birthday, the sky ripped open with this creepy phenomenon, a massive eye-shaped dimensional rift bridging two realities. Yanked away by some freakish magnetic pull, Kang was just gone, his cell phone clattering to the pavement. This hellscape literally swallows dimensions whole, acting as ground zero for the abyss. The guys who got dragged in early snagged their superpowers first, meaning they dominated the food chain right off the bat. But still, these twisted nightmare-fuel creatures turned the place into a living slaughterhouse. Total anarchy. Pure violence. Everyone chewed up by the abyss was spat out into this so-called other world. And the second every human from his reality drops in the gates of the abyss, will shatter, kicking off a brutal, all-out war between mankind and demonic beasts thirsty for nothing but blood and carnage. Stretching out his stiff muscles, Hansu muttered that he's got roughly 5 years to grind and get crazy strong. Then he just started strolling through the wasteland. The dude suddenly realized every single overpowered skill and heavy-hitting stat he once had was completely wiped, meaning he's just a regular guy again. Anyway, it was showtime. He locked his eyes on the sky. The crowd started panicking, wondering what the heck was happening as the atmosphere literally shattered, leaking a massive surge of neon blue energy from a jagged interdimensional rift. Out popped this tiny, bizarre creature that dropped everyone's jaws, looking like a freaky little bat with horns. But honestly, the thing was ridiculously cute and aggressively friendly, hooking everyone's attention instantly. The little monster claiming it was just here to run them through a quick crash course tutorial, leaving the traumatized humans completely and utterly speechless. Acting slightly flustered, the fairy begs the frantic crowd to quiet down and listen closely. Hearing this garbage, Kang mentally calls the creature a total fraud, knowing its so-called shortcuts were a massive trap. In reality, this twisted being just wanted them to tear each other apart, sparking absolute chaos everywhere. The creature kicks things off by welcoming the confused mob to the other world, hype-dropping that from this exact moment they are being handed a mind-blowing opportunity. But one guy in the crowd isn't having it, snapping back that he could not care less about this nonsense. He just wants to go home. Annoyed by the whining, the demonic creature finally drops the cute act. It snarls at the human to shut his mouth and listen. Catching that lethal glare, the guy completely freezes in pure terror. He instantly realizes the monster's playful vibe just vanished into thin air. The beast goes on, revealing that in this realm, everyone is granted absolute limitless freedom. Flashing a sinister grin, it asks if they have ever craved a world completely stripped of laws. Zero morals. Zero ethics. A savage playground where rules literally do not exist. And that is not all. Every single physical limit holding their weak human bodies back is entirely wiped out. Depending on your grind, you can infinitely level up your strength, basically turning into an overpowered movie hero. Everyone here throws down using insane magic or hardcore physical combat skills, With a piercing glare, the creature boasts that the chance to do literally anything they have ever fantasized about is now their reality, asking the crowd if this does not sound absolutely epic. Smirking, it offers a quick little demonstration and raises its hand to snap its fingers. The second the beast snaps, its hollow eyes lock onto the guy who dared to interrupt earlier. In a split second, a massive chunk violently explodes right out of the guy's shoulder. Watching this person literally vaporize right in front of them while a gruesome spray of blood paints the air, the entire crowd drops into absolute paralyzing shock. Frantic screams erupt across the mob as people freak out, crying that the poor dude just vanished out of nowhere. Not a single soul saw it coming. Wearing a twisted demonic grin, the fairy gives a fake apology before bursting into sadistic laughter, mocking that it really hates loudmouths. Panicking out of their minds, the humans scatter and sprint for their lives, shrieking and desperately begging for anyone to save them. But in this hellscape, there are zero gods left to answer their prayers. The fairy just casually keeps snapping its fingers, ruthlessly dropping dozens of fleeing people as new waves of screams echo out. Its nightmarish demonic aura completely paralyzes the terrified survivors. The beast casually reminds them it already warned against being noisy. It tilts its head, asking if the leftovers are actually going to put in the work. But everyone just stands dead, still holding their breath so they do not trigger another massacre. Frowning, it mutters how nice and peaceful things are, now summoning a glowing stone into its palm to keep their attention. The fairy calls this little gem a rune, dropping the bombshell that anyone can snag one simply by slaughtering a living creature. There are 8 other rune types just like this, and they drop totally at random. This specific rune is completely colorless, but if you actually put in the brutal grind and level up, you can farm way better overpowered runes. Gazing at the crystal-like stone, it mentions that this basic one gives a flat boost to physical strength. The monster scans the terrified crowd, asking who wants first dibs. Right in the thick of the frozen crowd, still reeling from the bloodshed, Kang slowly shoots his hand up. The guy boldly volunteers, mentally noting that it has been a hot minute since he last absorbed a rune. Surprised by his gutsy move, the fairy praises his absolute hype and eager attitude. It glides right up to Hansu, demanding his hand. He offers it, and the beast drops the rune right into his palm, bragging about its raw power, claiming this tiny rock can literally warp the laws of physics. The fairy breaks it down, stating that scientifically the guy's muscles maxed out at a weight limit of 117 kilos. But the second he absorbed that rune, his cap instantly spiked to 122, and the buffs did not stop there. Yet despite the insane power-up, Kang's face remains completely deadpan. The fairy pouts, totally underwhelmed by that life. And we not DDUPDY. The fairy pouts, totally underwhelmed, is just standing there bored out of his mind, hearing this broken record on loop. Catching an attitude, the little monster flutters away, dropping some serious lore. She breaks down how these mysterious runes pack totally different perks depending on their vibe, and are straight up loaded with insane abilities that no science. Out of nowhere, she hits them with another jump scare, flashing a rune in their faces and daring someone to step up and test it out. Dead silence. Nobody moves a muscle. Seeing this crowd of cowards, the creature smirks and decides to. She makes one thing crystal clear: no matter what kind of and no matter what stat it boosts, it's only going to make you more cracked. Zero downsides. If they actually want to make it out alive, they better start hoarding these glowing stones like their lives depend on it, because they absolutely do. Reality hits the crowd like a freight train. Eyes dart down, locking onto the blood-soaked floor. Surrounded by the lifeless bodies of those the fairy just slaughtered, sheer panic erupts. It's an absolute bloodbath, as everyone violently scrambles, clawing at each other to grab the dropped loot. But right as their fingers brush salvation, the fairy mercilessly snatches every single one back. She chuckles, noting that based on the greedy dude who just lunged for them, they clearly didn't need her little tutorial from last time. The despair in the room is suffocating. Their one ticket out of this hellhole just got ripped right out of their hands. Pointing straight at Kang, the winged freak drops and boom, you can check your entire stash. The crowd frantically follows suit, and suddenly glowing blue holographic screens pop up everywhere. The little monster wraps up her speech, noting that regular humans start out with 10 basic stats. And that's usually all you get. Kang pulls up his own menu and spots an instant +1 to his strength. It clicks, if he grinds for more of these stones. His mana and magic power could absolutely skyrocket through the roof after a few kills. He realizes that you can farm these upgrades literally anywhere, as long as you take out something breathing, monster or human, it doesn't matter. The fairy admits they're starting off as absolute noobs compared to the native threats in this dimension. We pan over to a bunch of terrified faces, but then she promises a little. With a wicked grin, she tells them to kiss their normal, boring lives goodbye forever. Out of thin air, a brutal combat knife materializes straight into every single person's hands. The psychotic little guide wishes them a super fun time in their brand new hell. But right before she dips, this fairy drops one final massive bombshell. The second she vanishes, the real death game tutorial officially kicks off. She tells them to fight like their lives depend on it, leaving the crowd completely paralyzed with confusion. Then, they slowly turn around, only to face a massive, bloodthirsty army of monsters itching to tear them limb from limb. A terrifying swarm of rabid goblins is locked and loaded, craving nothing but absolute carnage and slaughter. With the fairy gone, the survivors are just frozen traumatized as they stare down at the mangled corpses of their friends. Gripping his new blade with shaking hands, one dude stammers out, "Wait, that was just the tutorial." But the dread is only building. A spine-chilling, pitch-black aura starts oozing from the shadows behind them. Whipping their heads around, they're met with the ultimate nightmare. The goblin horde is full. Humans and monsters stare each other down in dead silence. The tension is suffocating. In just seconds, this place is going to turn into an absolute slaughterhouse. One woman frantically whispers for everyone to keep their cool, begging them not to trigger the green freaks, and telling them to slowly, carefully back away into the shadow. Meanwhile, our boy Kang is just standing there like a statue, watching these fools try to tiptoe their way to safety. Suddenly, one retreating guy backs right into a totally paralyzed dude. Pissed off, he snaps, "What the hell are you doing? Move." The frozen guy stammers back, his voice shaking. We can't. Something is seriously wrong." Someone spots a glowing invisible wall blocking their escape. The second they try to smash through it, they're brutally repelled. Full-blown hysteria hits. The crowd starts frantically slamming their fists into the digital barrier, desperate to break free. Then the horrifying realization hits: the walls are physically shrinking. The game system is literally forcing them into a deathmatch. Trapped like rats, they look back at the screeching goblin mob that is absolutely losing its mind, ready to rip them apart. The monsters charge in screaming, and one of the humans who tried to run finally snaps. Gripping his knife, he screams and throws himself right into the chaotic bloodbath. Swearing he wasn't about to die in this dump, Bowden shoots a sideways glance and spots some dude straight up glitching right through the solid wall. Panic instantly kicks in. His mind races, trying to figure out how the heck he just pulled that off. But the guy is totally speechless, unable to explain a single thing. He just stammers that he stepped right through. The camera pans, revealing the number 49 glowing dead center on the stone. Another bystander locks eyes on those digits, demanding to know what they mean. Right on cue, the guy who got violently rejected earlier suddenly phases right through. The crowd gasps as the counter drops again, and the twisted reality hits them. Absolute chaos erupts. A massive free-for-all breaks out, everyone clawing and trampling each other just to reach that exit and survive. Watching this absolute dumpster fire, Kang lets out a heavy sigh. Pathetic. If all 100 players had just teamed up, they could have tanked this wave with way fewer casualties. In his original timeline, those filthy goblins slaughtered about 40 newbies right out of the gate. And out of everyone left stranded at that glowing barrier, a measly 10 managed to survive the slaughter. But a vicious, cold-blooded smirk creeps across his face. This time, he's completely rewriting the script. Gripping the basic blade he scored on the ferry, our boy locks in. Step 1, wipe this entire spawn zone clean, and speedrun straight into the next stage. Done waiting around, the screeching horde of goblins swarms the panicked humans. One beast lunges, instantly shredding a random player, while another hunts down a screaming teen begging for his life. But out of nowhere, slash, the terrified kid watches his attacker get brutally cleaved in two. Without missing a single beat, our main character butchers another gremlin. Just as a third freak lunges straight for his throat, Kang effortlessly sidesteps the attack, snatching the ugly critter's arm and locking it down. In a flash, he sinks his blade deep into the monster's windpipe. Dripping with gore, Kang drops into a combat stance, fully prepared to slaughter anything in his path. The entire mob aggroes and rushes him all at once, watching the massive pool of blood our boy was leaving in his wake. The surviving humans are left completely paralyzed in shock. After a brutal sequence of Kang absolutely folding these monsters like laundry, he stumbles to his feet, his low-level stats definitely catching up to him, wiping the fresh monster guts off his cheek, left over from his latest string of victims. Hansu mutters under his breath that this feels incredibly clunky. Operating his weak, decades-old rookie body is a major reality check. He crouches down to loot the glowing runes from the corpses, feeling pretty hyped about his solid drop rate. Checking his stats, he notices a 0.1 buff to his agility. He breaks down the mechanics. Agility isn't just about moving fast. It literally warps your perception of time, sharpening your raw reaction speed by an extra 0.1. This meant players could chain combos at insane speeds. Suddenly, from the dark corner of the room, a supposedly dead goblin snaps back to life. The freak instantly hurls its weapon straight at our boy's head. Kang glances back. Swish. The jagged blade barely shaves his ear as Kang smoothly weaves out of the way. He pivots flawlessly, driving his dagger deep into the monster's brain. Seeing their squad get totally wiped out, the surviving mobs trigger their rage mode and swarm him all at once. 3 of these freaks coordinate a simultaneous stabbing attack, hoping to completely stunlock our MC before he can even blink. Snatching a looted blade from the ground, Kang just smirks. So predictable. These trashes always enter a berserk frenzy the second they smell blood. With zero hesitation, he blitzes straight through their guard, skewering them instantly. As Kang's kill count absolutely skyrockets, he violently harvests their sweet runes, carving them out of their chests with pure force, panting heavily. His low-level stats are definitely struggling to keep up with his god-tier battle IQ, but honestly, it still feels super satisfying. The panicked players finally turn back, realizing this absolute madman is holding the front line entirely solo. Fired up by his insane carry, and totally sick of running like cowards, they finally step up to the plate, rushing the monster wave to back him up. The goblins instantly lock onto the fresh meat and both sides violently clash in a massive standoff. The real bloodbath is officially kicking off. Slicing another freak clean down the middle, our MC admits he wouldn't normally try hard this early in the tutorial. But the clock is ruthlessly ticking down. He flawlessly parries a heavy strike with his dagger, locking into the madness. He swats the creature away in a heartbeat. Hansu mentally notes that this zone is absolutely crawling with dimension hoppers, and if you look at the big picture, the global headcount must be insane. The rookies dropping in over the next 3 months are a totally different breed. That is exactly why you actually see regular humans slaughtering goblins out here. He explains the system. Fresh spawns get temporary plot armor inside this safe zone, but the second that 3-month grace period expires, the safety net vanishes, tossing absolutely everyone straight into the meat grinder. They will face off against 2nd and 3rd year veterans in a cold, brutal bloodbath. Slicing through the mob, Hansu realizes that, like it or not, this is a golden ticket. With a clean strike, he cleaves another goblin perfectly in 2, snatching up a glowing rune to juice up his stats. Scanning the carnage, he murmurs that any chance to boost your power, no matter how small, is still a chance. And you absolutely have to grab it. He smirks, realizing Keldian made the ultimate clutch play by throwing him back to this exact timeline. The camera pans out to reveal pure devastation. Dozens of slaughtered goblins are scattered alongside the mangled corpses of fallen humans. A handful of exhausted survivors catch their breath. They just stare at our main character, totally mind-blown by the absolute carry job. Whispers break out as they try to comprehend how one guy soloed an entire monster. Standing tall like an absolute boss in an ocean of monster blood, Hansu does not even flinch. Dripping with the gore of his enemies, he spits out a curse at the lifeless freaks piled up at his feet. Suddenly, the annoying fairy floats back into the frame, a twisted sparkle flashing in its eyes, looking disgustingly proud of the bloodbath. Spotting Hansu dominating the graveyard, the little menace claps its hands, praising his brutal efficiency. It casually drops that the survival rate is actually hitting the quota perfectly. The crowd snaps. Furious survivors and grieving fans. The creature just tilts its head, asking if they have finally grasped the survival rules. Met with dead silence, it smugly shatters the protective barrier, assuming they get the picture. A rift tears open in thin air, and the fairy casually strolls through the cosmic doorway. Tossing back a final command to keep pushing forward, it mockingly wishes the players good luck. The players lose their minds, throwing trash talk and screaming for the floating scumbag to rot. Meanwhile, Hansu just stays iced out quietly, watching the chaos unfold. Wiping the monster grime off his cheek, he pulls up his stat window. Honestly, it is a massive upgrade from his past life. He acknowledges that these base stats are incredibly overpowered for day 1 of the tutorial. Glancing down at his grip, he smirks. He just scored a pretty sweet piece of loot. It is a wicked goblin dagger. A system prompt randomly pops up, claiming this blade was gifted to him out of sheer respect. Now the real question drops. What is the ultimate speedrun strategy he desperately needs to skyrocket his power level immediately? Flashing back to his old squad, Aristehi and Keldian, he brainstorms how those absolute legends would have tackled this mess. But then a specific memory hits him. A random conversation from his past life that suddenly changes everything. Cut to a flashback. A long-haired blonde dude is knocking back a cold one, casually asking Hansu if he knows about the hidden dungeons. Hansu, chilling right next to him, admits he has never heard a single whisper about these secret zones. The guy spills the tea. These top-secret dungeons are actually buried right under their noses inside the tutorial map, and they boast a nightmarish difficulty level. Clinking their mugs, the dude confesses that the dungeon completely wrecked him, and honestly 0 players have ever cleared it. Soaking in the intel, Hansu pieces it together. Even just surviving halfway through that hellhole gave this guy an insane power buff. The blonde warrior nods. That exact half run was the foundation of his current god-tier strength. He then drops the ultimate bombshell. If he ever got a chance to respawn and restart, he would instantly rush that exact dungeon on day one. Heck, if he had 100% cleared it, he might have even been strong enough to wipe the floor with Hansu. Because one rule in this world is absolute. High risk equals astronomical rewards. The more impossible a raid feels, the sicker the loot drops will be. Before finishing his drink, he smirks, asking if our boy wasn't even a little tempted to see the final boss room. Snapping back to reality, Hansu's eyes lock in with dead seriousness. The master plan is officially locked. Bathed in the harsh sunlight, he realizes that to conquer that secret zone, he has to clear out some early game trash first. The system breaks down stage 1 of the tutorial. It is a massive survival setup where exactly 100 players are thrown together, forced to squad up to take down a catastrophic threat. They have exactly 1 week to survive inside this designated kill zone. This brutal hunting game runs on a loop for 3 straight months. Beat the tutorial and the safe zone finally unlocks. Only then do you get a lifeline. Stage 1 hides 2 legendary secret items. Nobody's ever survived to see the end, but Kang, he absolutely needs those hidden drops. It's the ultimate cheat code to level up. Target number 1 is nearby. After trekking through the chaos, our guy abruptly stops in his tracks. He knows it's buried right here. Suddenly, a sharp voice cuts through the silence. Kang snaps his head, spotting a pack of scumbags nearby. They're cornering a girl, aggressively trying to drag her away while she violently pushes back. Kang just sighs. The girl thrashes around, desperate to break free, but the creep violently yanks her wrist. Radiating pure psycho energy, the thug glares at her and snarls that everyone needs to cooperate. You know, for survival. Flashing a sick, twisted smirk, he whispers, "Don't you want us all to make it out alive?" The girl freezes, totally cornered. But Hansu, he literally could not care less. He doesn't have time to play hero. He's on a strict mission to secure that hidden artifact, especially since it vanishes in exactly 1 week. But before he can move, someone runs up from behind, desperately asking if he's Kang. Annoyed, our MC mentally complains that he's on a tight schedule. He turns around deadpan and asks the dude, "Do I know you?" The guy in the headphones just blinks, totally dumbfounded. Then a blonde dude crashes the conversation, yelling at Hansu, asking if he's lost his damn mind. "Bro, are you serious? We literally came here together," he shouts. Hansu just stares back, absolutely clueless. He literally asks how this random guy knows his name. But then a sudden flashback hits him. Squinting at their faces, it finally clicks. These are his old college buddies. While the blonde guy freaks out over his friend's weird amnesia vibe, Hansu pieces it together. They all came on a group trip. But since every single one of them got brutally wiped out in his past life, he literally forgot they even existed. Taking advantage of the distraction, the trapped girl violently rips her arm away. She snaps at the creep to back off, declaring she's sticking with Kang's crew. Hansu scans her face. Memory unlocked. It's Yumi. As she rushes over to hide behind him, Hansu narrows his eyes. He can already tell this girl is going to be a massive headache. Yumi frantically clings to him, whining about where the hell he's been all this time. The rejected thug is fuming. He growls, asking if this punk is trying to make a fool out of him. Glaring at Kang, he spits out curses, threatening to bury him on the spot. But then the punk gulps hard. A terrifying realization hits him. This is the exact same monster who single-handedly slaughtered that entire goblin horde earlier. And since Hansu has to be running on empty by now, they might actually stand a chance to rip him apart. His goons crack their knuckles, getting into fighting stances, instantly spiking the tension and making Hansu's weak college friends flinch in panic. He sneers at Yumi, telling her it's incredibly rude to just walk away mid-conversation. Then he sizes Kang up, demanding to know who this wannabe hero is. From his point of view, Hansu looks bruised, battered, and basically an easy target. Projecting pure menace, the scumbag barks another order for Yumi to crawl back to him. Hiding his threat behind a mockingly polite tone, he drops a chilling warning if she doesn't come quietly. They'll just have to drag her over by force. Kang. Not even a twitch. Total poker face. He just internally groans that these bottom feeders are literally a universal plague. Letting out an exhausted sigh, he slowly closes the distance between him and the loudmouth. Looking dead into his eyes, Hansu casually roasts him. "You're getting way too hyped just because this is your first real brawl in the tutorial. You don't even know who you're messing with, yet you're actually delusional enough to think you can win." Bam! In a split second, Hansu teleports right into the guy's personal space. With a bone-chilling glare, he whispers, "Do you finally get what I'm saying?" The thug's brain finally buffers. He realizes he's completely outmatched and angrily curses in his head. Without breaking eye contact, Kang smoothly draws his blade. "Got any last words?" Hansu taunts, but the coward stays absolutely mute. Suddenly, a new guy in a slick suit steps into the frame. Balding and rocking a massive fake smile, the newcomer raises his hands, swearing they aren't bad guys. The thug instantly cowers, calling this new guy boss. The self-proclaimed alpha of the group pitches an offer. He wants Kang in their squad, warning him that pure chaos is heading their way and they'd survive better as a pack. But our boy locks eyes with the guy, instantly catching that absolute venom dripping from his glare. Our main guy realizes something twisted. This dude is already completely wired into this brutal new reality. The mask is totally off. He has zero reasons to hide his toxic true colors anymore and prowling around like a rabid hyena. This wannabe leader is destined to become a full-blown savage warlord. Gripping his blade tight, Hansu debates in his head. Should he just take out the trash right here, right now, while the window is wide open? But Eris's voice echoes in his head. Don't go psycho for fun, but absolutely zero mercy for the pests trying to sabotage the war effort. He pictures her pleading with him, begging him to stop pushing people away, and to actually step up to protect the squad. A bittersweet smirk flashes across his face. He drops his gaze, letting those nostalgic warm memories hit him for just a second. He mutters to himself, Eris, you're still out here saving lives, huh? Snap back to reality. He definitely doesn't have the bandwidth to babysit this whole squad right now. Plus, these toxic tryhards are walking red flags. They'll literally self-destruct if left alone. Hard pass. Kang brutally shoots down the offer, telling the boss and his crew to take a hike. Instantly, one of the goons absolutely loses his mind over the disrespect. But the musclehead leader waves his lackey off. He tells him to stand down and let it slide. The goon is fuming, practically foaming at the mouth, refusing to back down. The boss doubles down though, telling his crew to just ignore the arrogant kid. He redirects their focus. They've got bigger fish to fry. His grand master plan, establishing complete dominance, and forcing his own sick version of order on this hellscape. Because let's be real, this is a freaky dimension packed with nightmare fuel monsters, and they're still dealing with that incredibly annoying little fairy. But honestly, he's kind of vibing with the chaos. He preaches to his crew that the old big shots and government authorities are totally wiped out here. It's the ultimate power vacuum, and he plans to milk this golden opportunity for all it's worth. The Alpha gives the signal to roll out, and his raging right-hand man instantly falls in line. The whole squad of thugs hits the road. Watching them leave, Kang's blonde buddy shudders, questioning how actual humans are serving way more terrifying vibes than literal goblins. Shifting focus back to our main guy, the blonde dude stares at him. He always knew Kang was a massive oddball, kinda moving to his own weird beat. But was he always this intense? Meanwhile, Hansu is completely dialed in. Staring dead ahead, he's hyper-focused on the next target he needs to smash. The blonde guy remembers Kang as just a tragic orphan kid, always totally spaced out in the corner of the room. So he literally never paid him an ounce of attention before the apocalypse dropped. But now he confronts Kang. Why are you acting like a total stranger to us? Kang freezes. Scrambling for a solid alibi, he just stays dead silent for a hot minute. And then he drops literally the most cringe, awkward excuse ever. The blonde dude is baffled, demanding to know why his buddy is suddenly talking like an 80-year-old boomer. Hearing this, May completely loses it and bursts into laughter. Kang glances over at her, catching that stunning smile and her absolutely radiant vibe. Kang secretly thinks it's a massive tragedy. In the old world, she would have lived on easy mode. But here, her top-tier looks are a massive double-edged sword. Though if she actually plays her cards right, it could become the ultimate weapon. The college squad falls into step behind Kang, trekking through the absolute wasteland. Breaking the silence, one of the girls points out the awkward silence. She finally snaps and asks if they're even heading to an actual destination. May echoes the question. Where exactly are we going? Kang keeps it mysterious, promising it'll all make sense when they pull up. Then the girl who was complaining about the quiet suddenly clocks their surroundings. Hansu pushes to the front of the pack, announcing that they've finally hit stop number 1. Scanning the eerie area, he drops the intel. This specific subway station is hiding a massive secret item. It instantly clicks for everyone. Peering at a nasty moss-covered sign that's barely holding on, they realize they're standing right in front of Gangnam Station. The crew just stares in shock. A familiar hangout spot now totally wrecked and reduced to absolute rubble. May is super skeptical. Why drag them out here? The math just isn't mathing for her. Kang sighs internally. He has 0% energy to spoon-feed them the lore right now. Honestly, if it wasn't for Eris's final request, he'd be playing this survival game strictly solo. But his hands are tied. So he spins a wild story claiming he just had this crazy gut feeling. He tells them that instead of getting his memories back, he actually unlocked a legit superpower. Yumi is totally starstruck while the rest of the squad looks at him like he's completely hallucinating. One of the blonde girls slides up to her boyfriend. Leaning in, she whispers, terrified, "Are we seriously sure it's safe to follow Kang Hansu?" He just listens in silence. He shoots back that he's not forcing anyone, making it clear he respects their personal choices. At the end of the day, it's completely up to them to make their own call. But Blondie is still fuming at our boy for some reason, snapping that no matter what. He absolutely loathes seeing Kang act so high and mighty. The whole squad goes dead silent, watching Hansu calmly descend into the shadows of the staircase, before finally making their choice. One by one, they fall in line behind our MC, creeping through the eerie, abandoned ruins, with their heads on a swivel scanning the darkness. The blonde guy presses him, demanding to know if he's absolutely sure this place is safe. Kang casually fires back that nope, it's definitely not, and they're actually about to meet up with some friends. Hearing that, Hansu's buddy catches a major attitude, scoffing and asking who the hell would ever live in a dump like this and what kind of shady weirdos our MC actually hangs with. Just as they hit the bottom steps, Kang suddenly throws his hand up, ordering everyone to freeze. The group halts. His eyes lock onto something, and the dagger slides out. Panic spikes. Everyone instantly demands to know what's going on. Hansu barks at his buddy Taesung to dodge, and as the blonde guy flinches and whips his head around, he sees our MC lunging straight at him, dagger flashing through the air. The dude practically jumps out of his skin, totally convinced he's about to get murdered, and violently throws his hands up to block the strike. Breathless Taesung stammers out, asking what the hell that was. Then he looks down and realizes that dangerously close to his junk, Kang had just sliced a disgusting grub, rocking sickly yellow skin and leaking glowing green blood. Hansu casually drops the lore, explaining that this dungeon is a twisted carbon copy of Gangnam Station, and those nasty things are green sandworms that instantly spawn the second they feel any vibrations on the ground. Glancing down at the shiny rune that popped out of the mob, he adds that these freaks absolutely despise sunlight, which is exactly why they burrow up from the dirt to ambush their prey. Scooping up his loot, our boy drops a chilling warning: if that worm's messed up jaws manage to sink into you, they will effortlessly shred right through your flesh like wet paper. So everyone better stay sharp, because one bite means you'll black out from the venom and bleed out before you can even react. The whole squad is left paralyzed, pure horror painted on their faces. Sensing the panic, our MC coolly mentions he's going to show them a super easy trick to handle these pests, and effortlessly shivs another spawning grub right in the head. Fast forward a bit, and the squad is actually racking up kills, wiping out the bugs with ease, and feeling pretty hyped about it. Kang scans 4 of the members, silently nodding to himself that, yeah, they're actually pulling their weight. But then, his eyes shift, and he spots Headphone Boy. The dude is a total mess, fumbling his weapon and looking completely lost in the sauce. Hansu strolls up to him, casually advising that if he's losing his nerve, he should just stick to stepping on the solid marble tiles that aren't cracked and keep his eyes peeled for any lurking worms. Meanwhile, Yumi is busy chatting with her friend about the most efficient strat to farm these things. The blonde girl nods enthusiastically, laughing and comparing the whole grind to an intense game of whack-a-mole. But Headphone Boy is still spiraling in his own head, missing every single strike. He keeps desperately whispering to himself, "Come on, I can do this. I have to." Out of nowhere, a massive beast explodes from the concrete, launching itself straight at his throat. The kid freezes, totally deer in the headlights. Swoosh Kang brutally shoves the kid out of the danger zone, body blocks the ambush, and carves the monster into 3 bloody chunks with one clean sweep. Knocked completely off his feet, the kid crashes hard onto the floor. He scrambles to sit up, his jaw dropped in absolute shock at the insane flex he just witnessed. Scrambling to his feet, he stammers out a frantic thank you to Kang, his brain completely short-circuiting. Honestly, the writing is on the wall. It's painfully obvious this kid wouldn't last a single second in the final war. Without missing a beat, Hansu keeps walking and drops a hard truth: if Headphone Boy actually steps onto that battlefield, he's just going to end up being massive dead weight for the squad. Taesung narrows his eyes, pointing out that our MC acted like he read the future and demands to know how he predicted that ambush. Kang just shoots the guy a look, brushing him off by saying he literally already explained this. Flashing a cocky smirk and an arrogant glare, he spins around, smugly declaring that predicting things is just his superpower. The rest of the group just stares at him, absolutely not buying a single word of his BS. Yumi, though, she's completely starstruck. Desperate to change the subject, Kang loudly clears his throat, telling the squad they really need to focus on the grind. The camera pans across a graveyard of sliced-up larvae littering the floor as Kang impatiently asks why nobody is looting all these dropped runes. As he snatches one up, Yumi pitches her bright idea. She figured Hansu could just scoop up all the loot and play their personal bodyguard, like they were just handing over their controllers to someone who actually cared about hard carrying them, like this was just some casual video game. She admits they weren't about to turn into super-powered main characters just by hoarding shiny rocks, so the whole squad just agreed on this lazy tactic. Hugh chimes in, insisting it made total sense to just dump all the gear on Kang, expecting him to become their ultimate meat shield in return. But our guy, he just lets out a heavy, exhausting sigh. He shuts that down real quick. You keep what you kill. Period. If these rookies actually wanted to tag along, they needed to follow the most basic laws of the jungle. Hansu's mind starts racing, flashing back to the cold, hard. He breaks it down for them. The absolute legends who crawled through the abyss before them literally carved these rules into stone, just to stop everyone from slaughtering each other. It goes like this. You bag the kill, you bag the loot. But in a raid party, the drops are split purely by who puts in the most work and who actually needs them. No free rides. But let's be real. The second a true life or death crisis hits, all those cozy, feel-good friendships instantly shatter into brutal, cold-blooded betrayal. He wraps up his reality check with a chilling warning. They were about to find out exactly how twisted and purely evil this hellscape really was. Kang looks them dead in the eye. The only thing you can ever blindly trust is your own combat stats. And if you're completely useless, you're literally just trash waiting to be thrown away. He drops that brutal law of the world right on their heads. The other 5 squad members just freeze, totally stunned by how savage and brutally honest he just was. Yumi steps up, practically shaking off the shock. She declares she's ready to grind out whatever it takes, marching straight out into the danger zone. The other 4 exchange looks and quickly nod, realizing it's their only shot at surviving. Because Kang gave them that harsh reality check, the whole crew instantly gears up to hunt down their own power-ups. Watching them, Hansu smirks inwardly. They'd adapt to the grind in no time, and he definitely wouldn't have to Almost immediately, he catches them literally tearing into the monsters, fighting like wild dogs just to snatch up those sweet drops. The visuals get intense as they scramble to swipe every glowing stone, after a massive, sweaty grinding session tearing through dozens of disgusting giant worms. Taesoon suddenly uncovers something wild, a massive, weirdly glowing rune. He flexes, hyping up this strange new power pulsing inside it. As the whole squad stares completely jaw-dropped at this shiny purple gem, the system UI flashes right in front of them. It's an ultra-rare drop, the Acrul Troll Tribe Essence. And right on the surface, a creepy lizard emblem is permanently carved into the stone. Taesoon's ego immediately skyrockets. He genuinely believes that popping this stone will instantly turn him into an overpowered main character-level beast. Hansu watches this guy practically drooling over his prize, but he remembers his own rule. You find it, you keep it. It would be a totally hypocritical move to just snatch it away from him. Smirking like a total villain, the blonde guy openly challenges RMC. He sarcastically asks if he gets to pocket the loot, practically daring Kang to break his own rules. But Hansu had already made up his mind. He just gives a chill, deadpan nod. Taesoon stands there blinking, completely thrown off that he didn't even have to fight for it. Behind those calm eyes, Hansu is calculating. He knows the Acrul Troll Essence is an insanely broken starter item for this twisted game. That specific skill tree buffs your defense and cranks your healing factor up to mutant levels. 2 absolute must-haves for surviving this meat grinder of a world. No wonder every tryhard player practically fought to the death for it. The catch. It spikes your hunger gauge to extreme levels. But out here, scoring food is brutally simple. People just bully the weaker players and steal their stash. That's just the toxic norm of this place. Plus, the raw firepower and mastery of these rune abilities are strictly tied to your own base level. The absolute geniuses. The ones who hit the genetic lottery with insane mana pools. They casually hoard hundreds of active runes. Like his old comrade Keldian, that absolute monster had stacked over 1,000 distinct skills. Meanwhile, Kang just stands back, his eyes locked onto Taesoon as the blonde kid eagerly triggers the rune. Looking down, our MC mutters that his situation was completely different. But he was just lost in his own dark thoughts about the timeline before he regressed. The scene flashes back, showing a desperate Hansu struggling to absorb a stack of high-tier runes only to fail miserably. The mystical stone he was clutching flares up with a blinding, toxic yellow glow. It violently rejects him. The recoil shoots straight through his body like pure agony. He furiously clenches his fists, grinding his teeth in absolute bitter frustration. Standing over him with a glowing rock in hand, his teammate Eris drops the harsh truth, just as she feared. Hansu's body had a devastating hard cap on skills. She buries her face in her palm, completely stressed out. Breaking the worst news possible, she explains that Kang's maximum capacity was a pathetic 7 skills. Total. She sighs, heavily admitting that if she had just known this brutal flaw earlier, he could have learned insanely overpowered techniques, especially with so many epic runes just lying around them. Powers he was completely locked out of. Hansu figured being capped at just 7 skills was a massive letdown. But that exact flaw unlocked a massive hidden perk, an overpowered trait that completely eclipsed his limits. His abilities basically never stopped mutating and leveling up. Take his razor-sharp Dororo lizard essence, for example. Even the most basic moves skyrocketed until they could crush top-tier techniques. That insane growth rate earned him the title 7 stars from his friend Erez. And crazily enough, that massive handicap is exactly what let Kang finally catch up to his squad's god-tier strength, even if it took him 20 agonizing years to pull. For a split second, his mind drifts back to the Incarnal Stone, the very artifact that dragged him back through time, carrying the heavy hopes of his fallen comrades. His eyes turn dead serious as the flashbacks hit. To honor the bloody sacrifices his friends made, Hansu knows he literally cannot afford a single slip-up this time. He clearly remembers Erez warning him to be hyper-selective when picking his 7 core skills, making sure he didn't end up banging his head against a wall like in his past life. Honestly, if he plays his cards right, this entire run will be a total breeze, right up until he shatters the tutorial zone, without sweating the small stuff or risking his neck. The camera cuts to Yume watching Tae-sun like a hawk as he gets ready to pop the rune. The guy is grinning from ear to ear, already drooling over the massive power spike he's about to get. Out of nowhere, the stone melts down into this creepy purple slime and literally absorbs straight into his flesh. A system alert chimes in, confirming he just unlocked the physical resistance stat. He officially scored the Acarnal Troll Tribe Essence skill, kicking off at exactly 1% mastery. Staring at his glowing interface, Tae-sun is absolutely hyped. Not only did his defense skyrocket, but every single one of his base stats just surged right through the roof, leaving him feeling like an absolute god. The blonde jerk whips around, shoots Kang a dirty look, and calls him a total moron. He sneers that even if Kang got on his knees and begged, he never would have handed over that drop. Flashing a crazy, arrogant smirk, he cockily tells Kang to watch his back, swearing he's going to outclass him in no time. Meanwhile, Kang, who is already beyond sick of stalling, just claps his hands to round up the squad. He snaps that it's time to move out and keep pushing forward. Strutting over with a massive ego, Tae-sun throws a heavy arm over Kang's shoulder. He smoothly suggests they should stick close to each other from here on out, playing up how deadly the path ahead could get. Of course, he totally does this just to flex for Yume, bragging that the heavy hitters need to lead the charge and shield the weaklings, picking up on his fragile ego. Kang instantly clocks that this guy actually views him as some kind of rival. Since Hansu has literally lived an entire lifetime and reversed time itself, he couldn't care less about this petty beef. But that definitely doesn't mean he's just going to let the guy walk all over him. He coldly shoves Tae-sun's arm right off his shoulder. The crew pushes forward, plunging deeper down the concrete stairs, following Kang blindly toward whatever crazy checkpoint he was hunting for in the pitch black. Shivering Yume demands to know why they are diving into the abyss when it's already pitch dark. Kang casually drops that they're just catching the subway, completely thrown off. Yume stammers, asking how the hell trains are still running in this bombed-out ruin of a station. Hansu just smirks and tells her to wait and see. But as his boots echo through the tunnel, our main character zones out. Banking on the fact that a certain someone's intel was always dead on, we dive straight back into Kang's past memories. Some loudmouth blonde was hyping up the tutorial dungeons when a stranger suddenly crashed their little strategy session. The guy nursing a drink snaps, demanding to know who the hell is eavesdropping and talking trash. Annoyed, he glares over his shoulder. A dark-haired veteran from the human army steps up. He completely shuts the kid down, mocking him for acting like a big shot, when his so-called insider knowledge is absolute garbage. Sliding right into the booth between Kang and his buddy, the veteran leans in and promises to spill the absolute fastest cheat code to power leveling. He breaks it down: if they want to get insanely strong fast, they need to hunt down a massive hidden asset right here in the tutorial zone. And the crazy part, it's buried deep underground right inside the Gangnam subway. The guy points out that even though the station layouts are completely warped and scattered, now they all merge into the exact same hellhole. Once you hit basement level 3, sitting dead at the bottom of the stairs is a totally undocumented portal. Step through that gateway, and you'll drop right in front of a phantom subway train that somehow hasn't departed yet. Catching that ghost train is an instant ticket to the top. The only brutal catch, just surviving the absolute nightmare of a walk to actually reach the platform. Kang's mind is racing. There's a hidden artifact out there, and he absolutely has to secure it today, no matter what. Otherwise, that subway is leaving them behind. The whole crew just stares dead ahead at this massive glowing portal, literally looking like a tear straight through the multiverse. Hansu steps up, casually dropping that he's gonna go check out what this secret item actually is. Taking in the surreal interdimensional rift, Miji is totally tripped out. This doesn't look a thing like Gangnam Station anymore. I mean, she's been here a million times, but a sci-fi doorway, yeah, that's definitely not on the map. The gateway pulses, throwing off blinding blue beams and this heavy, intense energy. Yu is sweating bullets. He turns to the MC, asking if he's seriously about to just walk in there and how the hell he even knew what was waiting on the other side. Hansu just shrugs it off. Just trusting my gut, he says. And just like he warned them before, anyone who wants to bail can dip out right now. No hard feelings. Taesung, completely drunk on his new powers with an ego the size of Jupiter, instantly flexes. He's going in, period. Without missing a beat, Miji locks in. She's crossing that portal too. Catching her vibe, Kang realizes the girl is getting seriously desperate. She's sharp. The trauma of those bullies tormenting her is fresh, and she knows damn well that weak players get eaten alive in this brutal new world. Staring at her eyes practically burning with hope, Hansu knows she's got to level up her strength by any means necessary, even if it means walking away with a permanent scar. Meanwhile, the blonde girl and her boyfriend chicken out, choosing to stay behind and farm the leftover worm monsters in the subway. Then, out of nowhere, Sang-jin speaks up. He's tagging along too. The dude is literally shaking in his boots, but he slaps on a brave face and announces he's stepping into the rift. Taesung violently scoffs. He roasts the guy, asking why the hell he'd even go when he's too terrified to squash some ugly bugs. Triggered, Choi snaps back, screaming that it's none of the bully's damn business. He tells him to back off and mind his own actions. Hearing this total scrub talk back, Taesung's blood starts boiling. Shoving a finger right in Choi's face, he growls. "What did you just say to me?" Taesung mocks him for talking a big game, especially for a dead weight who had to get hard carried this entire. But Kang cuts through the tension. Staring them down with absolute authority, he barks at them to drop the high school drama. Striding straight into the glowing wormhole, Hansu throws over his shoulder that they are completely out of time, so just do what needs to be done. Catching his drift, the three of them trail right behind him. Headphones guy totally ignores Taesung's death glare, silently slipping in right behind Miji. But man, the bleached hair punk is furious. He's fuming, wondering how these nobodies have the sheer audacity to disrespect him in front of the whole squad. The moment Kang steps through the portal, his mind clicks into gear. He knows this tutorial zone is packed with over 1,000 different monster variants. Not to mention, the whole map literally shifts and transforms, but there are always those few safe zones that stay locked. His eyes dart around, scanning every single detail of his new surroundings. Bingo. It's exactly as he predicted. Meanwhile, the dude with the headphones looks around, absolutely mind-blown. The entire party freezes as they process the impossible. There is a straight-up convenience store chilling right inside the portal station. Cut to the inside. Sang-jin, headphones still resting on his neck, is frantically tearing through the aisles, desperately hunting for some kind of loot. Kang patrols the floor, dropping some lore. He mentions that the same guy who tipped him off about this zone swore there was a hidden store, tucked away on the subway's second floor. Over in the corner, Taesung is already eyeing a combat knife on the rack, wondering out loud if they should just raid the place and snatch up every single weapon in stock. But our MC isn't distracted. He keeps digging through the shop, hunting for a mystery item. Keeping his cards close to his chest, Hansu realizes his informant wasn't kidding. This isn't just a basic corner store. It's basically a full-blown survival mart loaded with top-tier gear. Kang finally stops at a random shelf. He snags a cooking pot and casually sets it over an open flame. Miji raises an eyebrow. What exactly are you cooking?" Holding up a sketchy plastic bag, he spills the tea. The moment Miji gets a good look, her stomach drops. She watches him pour this vile, toxic green slime straight into the boiling pot. "Monster worm blood," he states deadpan. It hits her. A flashback to earlier when she caught him acting super shady after a fight. She had watched our MC literally harvest the grotesque, glowing blood straight from the monster's corpse and stash it away. Hansu drops a massive truth bomb. Goblin skin turns incredibly toxic the second it mixes with their neon green blood. Without missing a beat, he rips off a chunk of filthy goblin rag. He casually explains that these grotesque monsters actually evolved just to survive the nasty green worms crawling around here. And yeah, their venom is straight up lethal. With that cheerful thought, our guy goes right. Taesung catches a whiff of the bubbling concoction and actually drools a little, saying it smells absolutely mouth-watering. He literally begs for a quick taste test. But Hansu shatters his dreams, deadpanning that it's literal poison. Freaking out, the blonde dude snaps back that if it's lethal, Hansu should probably drop a warning label first. The overpowered MC just shrugs it off, basically saying, "Bro, that's entirely on you." Mind-blown, Yumi admits they never would have thought of crafting a bioweapon like that. Once again, our guy drops his classic fake excuse, claiming it's just his totally broken superpower and that his brain is just overflowing with galaxy brain strats. Taesung just rolls his eyes, annoyed, and completely changes the subject. Meanwhile, Hansu secretly winces, remembering how his skull felt like it was gonna literally burst from absorbing all those. He flashes back to a hardcore lecture from Keldian. The legendary wizard hammered into his skull that sending someone back in time without solid intel would be completely pointless. In this brutal survival game, pure hardcore data is the only thing that actually matters. Back in the flashback, they were sitting through this intense briefing. Keldian violently smacks the whiteboard, warning them never to just hand out premium spoilers to random newbies. Yumi chimes in too, telling everyone to lock that rule down, which totally startles Taesung right out of his middle-of-class nap. Keldian drops a dark truth: leaking the future doesn't save people, it just fast-tracks their one-way ticket to the absolute abyss. That kind of top-tier knowledge has to be kept totally classified, only unleashed when it's absolutely undeniably do or die. Snapping back to reality, Hansu keeps brewing his toxic masterpiece. He knows that if the boiling time or the ratios are off by even a millisecond, the whole batch is pure trash. He sludges the glowing toxic purple slime into a pot, swiftly coating his blade with the deadly buff. Yumi watches him trick out his weapon with the lethal ooze, her eyes lighting up as she eagerly asks if she can get a weapon buff too. Hansu doesn't miss a beat and says yes, instantly hyping up the whole squad. But then the ultimate plot twist: he holds out his hand like a mafia boss. The price: half a strength or stamina rune per weapon upgrade. Pure business. Taesung totally loses his mind. He aggressively calls out the MC for being ridiculously stingy, whining that real bros should just carry each other for free. Unbothered, Hansu goes back to his work, admitting he could play the nice guy, but playing charity would completely ruin them in the long run. Staring dead ahead with eyes colder than ice, he mentally notes that one-sided carry jobs always crash and burn. He absolutely refuses to babysit them. Meiji totally passes the vibe check. She promises to pay up her runes later, smoothly demanding first dibs on the poison coating. Hansu respects the hustle. He grabs the toxic brew carefully, sliding the pot over to her with a strict warning not to melt her hands off. Taesung was literally plotting to ninja loot the pot, but he caves, swearing he'll pay up his runes right after he buffs his gear. Sangjin scrambles to follow suit. While his trio of newbies are busy slathering toxic slime on their weapons, Hansu realizes it's time to grind out the next phase of his master plan. Strapped up with a massive backpack and his hands totally full of loot bags, our MC figures he's finally geared. The squad finishes, strapping on their gear, proudly announcing they're locked in, but Hansu just hits them with a deadpan stare. Feeling totally awkward, Songjin asks what's wrong. Looking at these rookies, looking like walking loot piñatas with their comically huge backpacks, Hansu violently roasts them, asking if they're literally volunteering to be human bait. He spits facts: unless they want an endless horde of players hunting them down for their stash, they need to bury their extra loot right now, just like he's doing. Meiji stares at him, totally starstruck. She admits she originally thought Hansu was just some edgy, silent loner, but realizes he's actually an absolute alpha survivalist. Watching the MC casually teach Sangjin how to stash his gear, she wonders if maybe, just maybe, she could awaken a broken, overpowered skill like his. Hustling to bury her own loot, a dark reality hits her. Hundreds of millions of people vanished yesterday, and not a single soul ever came back. Honestly, she was just trying to cope with the fact that she survived this brutal tutorial. The trauma was real, filled with creeping anxiety and total dread. Her only goal was survival at any cost. She knew she couldn't just be a freeloader. She had to grind to stay alive, which is why she was pushing herself to the absolute limit. Yumi flashes a huge smile, jogging to catch up with our main guy. In her mind, she's already secured the ultimate VIP carry ticket. Hansu and Meiji start trekking through the danger zone side by side, the girl low-key glowing just from walking next to him. Taesung watches them, completely triggered by the dynamic. He bitterly mutters that the MC, stubbornly convinced that Hansu is just a massively overrated tryhard. Sangjin is still scrambling to pack his gear when bam, a heavy bag slams right into it. Deal with that too, Taesung barks. The blonde guy edges back over to our MC, itching to know about that mysterious power he flexed earlier. Dead serious, he asks if he could score an ability like that too. Kang slowly glances over his shoulder, letting out a heavy sigh before answering. To everyone's shock, he drops a casual maybe. The trio's jaws practically hit the floor. Is this dude actually for real right now? When he confirms it, they absolutely lose their minds with hype. Meanwhile, Kang's mind drifts back to Kaldian's words. He'd mentioned that among the people dragged into this twisted world, a bunch of them awakened unique abilities. Powers they never possessed back in reality. Stuff even he barely grasped at the time. But the bottom line was brutal: if someone is pure dead weight, our MC has to cut them loose. Kang vividly remembers his heated clash with that stubborn mage. Catching Kang zoning out, Taesung immediately gets on his case. The bully struts over, totally ready to poke the bear. He complains that Kang was way out of line earlier, smirking as he asks if our MC is throwing a tantrum, just because Taesung had flared up at him first. But Kang completely brushes it off. I literally don't care, he states flatly. He explains he just isn't used to chatting with people, which is why he comes. Deep down, he knows the real truth. For 5 agonizing years before his regression, he was locked in endless slaughter against the abominations, pouring right out of the abyss. Whatever spark of hope he had slowly rotted away into pure, crushing despair. And that despair eventually numbed him to everything. A flashback hits him standing in the middle of a war zone, his face torn and dripping blood, running on absolutely nothing but fumes. Taesung's obnoxious voice shatters the memory, asking if our MC caught a concussion mid-battle or something. Taesung sneers at Kang's lone wolf vibe. But inside, the bully is seething. He thinks, if it weren't for that totally busted power, I wouldn't have to stoop so low and take orders from this freak. He'd crush him right now if he could. A wicked smirk creeps onto Taesung's face. All he needs to do is get insanely strong. Once he levels up, he'll be calling the shots, turning Kang into his own personal lapdog. Taesung opens his mouth to run his jaw again, but Kang brutally shuts him down. Zip it, he snaps. Suddenly, Hansu crouches down, spotting this gross, gooey slime smeared across the dirt. Kang kneels to inspect the grime. Judging by the texture, he instantly rules out a blade snail. Rolling the nasty sludge between his fingers, he notes it's completely missing that signature acidic stench. Plus, there are no crusty bits of rotten flesh in it, so they can cross a zombie off the list too. That leaves exactly one horrifying option. Kang's mind instantly flashes to a land siren. He pictures a twisted, grotesque, humanoid nightmare. A freak of nature rocking a massive scaly tail, long feminine hair, and the face of an absolute demon. A chill creeps down his spine as he tracks the gooey trail, leading his squad deeper into an area absolutely drenched in slime. He confirms they are definitely stepping into land siren territory. The monsters aren't exactly speed demons, but they pack a gnarly paralytic venom, making it sickeningly easy for them to just rip your limbs right off. Kang visualizes the absolute bloodbath those freaks leave behind. But then, a sly grin tugs at his lips. He's already cooking up a bulletproof strategy to wreck these ugly mobs. Taesung scowls at that confident smirk, barking at him to quit playing the arrogant know-it-all. Kang totally ignores the guy's whining. He just waves the crew forward, promising to blow their minds in a second. The trio exchanges totally bewildered looks. The scene then cuts to a lineup of liquor bottles, each jammed with a rag down the neck. Kang shrugs, explaining they were totally out of gasoline, which would have packed a way bigger punch. But this basic setup will definitely do the. Tying it off, he hypes up his DIY explosive, casually asking if all these random supplies actually came from that sketchy convenience store they just looted. Watching him craft, Taesung scoffs, convinced this insane DIY skill is just another one of Kang's overpowered perks. He mutters about how stupidly convenient this all is. Taesung even throws shade, betting Kang actually prefers this hellhole over the real world, just because here he can literally do whatever he wants. As Kang silently packs the firebombs into his bag, Taesung just keeps running his mouth, bragging about how if he scored a busted power like that, he'd be totally unstoppable. But Taesung suddenly freezes, spooked by Kang's deadpan glare. It's like our MC has a little angel named Eris and a devil named Keldeo, sitting right on his shoulders. Inside, Kang is seriously debating whether he should just snap this idiot's neck and be done with it. With a heavy sigh, he ditches the murder plot. Grabbing a stick, he starts scratching his battle plan right into the dirt. Alright, listen up, he commands. Pay close attention. He breaks down the strat the second someone lobs a firebomb, the other 3 melee fighters charge in, and they will absolutely decimate those freaks. Whoever holds down the front lines gets first dibs on taking down the enemies. Taesung just rolls his eyes, thinking this dude is straight up trash at drawing. The blonde guy instantly volunteers to lead the charge, bragging that someone who actually knows what they are doing needs to protect the vanguard. Kang literally zones him out and just asks who is throwing the explosives. But Yu and Sang-jin both shoot their hands up at the exact same time. Our main guy just sighs and tells them to figure it out between themselves, leaving them staring awkwardly at each other. Mi immediately busts out the puppy dog eyes, using her cute charm to win Sang-jin over. Honestly, he admits that beefing with her just feels too weird. She keeps playing the sweet innocent act to sway him, but watching this whole cringe display, Kang finally. A bit later, we catch Sang-jin totally zoning out, gripping that Molotov cocktail tight, and wondering where the hell they are even going. The poor guy realizes he cannot just chicken out now, since he only tagged along so he would not get left behind. But he is seriously doubting if the rest of the squad is actually cool with this. Meanwhile, Mi is lagging behind, completely dead silent and practically shaking. Zooming in on her, you can see she is literally trembling out of her mind. She absolutely hates every single second of this, but she is way too. Even though he is second-guessing everything, Sang-jin stays muted, swallowing the massive lump in his throat, but suddenly shattering his deep thoughts and catching you totally off guard. Kang barks at the whole crew to stay on high alert. because the sirens are incoming, and way off in the distance this insanely suffocating aura starts bleeding through the shadows. You can hear these absolutely gut-wrenching growls echoing out. Kang instantly drops into a fighting stance and orders his boy to chuck a bottle straight into the darkness. The girl frantically digs through her bag, and Mi, despite freaking out, hypes herself up to not screw this up. Gripping her lighter, she sparks the fuse. With the rag blazing hot, she tells herself she has got this and hurls that explosive right at the monstrous screeches. Crash. The glass shatters right on the beast. The fuel completely coats its grotesque body, and the flaming rag instantly ignites the whole mess. The siren goes up in a massive fireball. Mi is absolutely hyped. She scored a direct hit while Kang launches himself straight into the chaos, screaming that it is the melee fighter's turn now. Watching the flaming siren collapse, Kang wildly dashes through the inferno, blitzing 2 more monsters. He slaughters them in a split second and snatches their dropped runes. Taesung, watching this absolute madman steal the spotlight, fumes that this cocky bastard is hoarding all the damn loot again. He swears he refuses to keep taking an L from this guy. Suddenly, a siren materializes right beside the blonde. The monster lunges straight for Taesung's throat. He panics hard and throws himself backward, just barely dodging the fatal swipe. Pure survival instinct kicks in, and he manages to clip it instantly, trash-talking the monster, calling it a pathetic little worm that already lost. But when he actually opens his eyes, Taesung realizes he barely even gave it a paper cut. Yet somehow the siren just completely drops dead, with thick toxins eating through its veins. He stares down at his dagger, absolutely dripping with that lethal coating, smirking like a maniac because the venom worked like a charm. Kang, catching this flex with fresh loot in his hands, smirks and admits that weapon buff was actually clutch, asking if that was not totally worth dropping a few runes on. Staring at his own reflection on the toxic, Taesung eagerly thinks this power-up will let him surpass that bastard Kang in 0 time. And just like that, it is pure chaos. An absolute bloodbath pops off in every direction, with savage combos and multiple Molotovs getting chucked through the air. Kang grins, realizing his massive brainplay worked perfectly. Mixing highly flammable, paralyzing venom guarantees the sirens just erupt into flames. He mentally pats himself on the back for bringing those DIY explosives. What a god-tier move. He then dashes headfirst at another freak, slicing it clean in half instantly. He does notice that the edge of his blade is getting pretty dull, but honestly, who cares? That is exactly why he stacked the poison damage. Meanwhile, Taesung is grinning ear to ear, butchering these monsters and eating up this gory slaughter fest with this twisted, creepy joy, completely blinded by sheer greed. He casually glances sideways and spots 2 shiny runes just chilling on the ground. Thinking it is free real estate, he is totally oblivious to the fact that one of those sirens is still breathing right next to him. Out of nowhere, the abomination hawks up this intensely revolting acid sludge. The toxic spit violently blasts his knee, sending him crashing hard onto his back. All eyes lock onto him, making his face burn with absolute humiliation. But before he can even process the shame, a creature radiating pure nightmare fuel stalks toward its target, totally eager to rip him apart. The guy spots not just one but a whole pack of bloodthirsty demonic beasts, and absolute panic short-circuits his brain. Stumbling backward, he completely loses it, frantically cursing and screaming at them to back the hell off. Watching the monster mob lunge closer, Taesung begs Yumi-hee for backup while gripping his knife to fight for his life. The girl's heart drops, and frantically ripping open her backpack, she realizes they are completely out of firebombs, leaving them with only one sketchy backup plan. She yells at Songjin to tag in, and the dude immediately agrees, telling her to hold on just a sec. Click, click. The lighter totally bails on him. He frantically sparks it over the glass bottle, praying the fuse catches fire already. Finally, a tiny flame erupts, pushing back the pitch-black shadows just ahead, only to reveal a monster inches away from shredding Choi. Seeing the fangs, the guy utterly spazzes out, chucking everything into the air, and completely fumbles the play to save Taesung. The blonde dude watches their absolute last Molotov shatter uselessly on the floor and snaps, calling Sangjin an idiot and roasting him for totally choking instead of throwing the damn bomb. Right as the siren lunges for Choi's throat, a blinding slash rips through the air, cleaving the monster clean in half. Shaking from pure terror and his massive screw-up, the guy staggers back, watching the beast's severed chunks slump to the dirt. After wiping out the rest of the sirens with a seriously chipped blade, Kang barks at the squad to chill out and stick to the script, standing tall in front of Sangjin like an absolute boss. He tells them if they just follow his lead, they will make it out alive. Hansu spins around, telling the crew to catch their breath and loot their runes. Still totally shell-shocked, Sangjin just stares at him in dead silence. Watching the chaos settle, Taesung exhales a massive breath, muttering that he legit thought it was game over. Glancing down at his leg, which was totally shredded but is now perfectly healed, he figures it is all thanks to his insane. Hansu gives Taesung the rundown, boosting his stamina, and taking a breather will speed up his healing even more. Then he orders everyone to grab their rune drops. Kang already sorted out everyone's share, but the moment Taesung spots the piles, he's totally triggered. He immediately starts running his mouth, whining that the calculating bastard. But out of the corner of his eye, the blonde spots the upgrade Sangjin is scooping up, and a sketchy idea hits him. Figuring those items belong in his own pockets, he stalks toward his so-called buddy, radiating pure menace. Taesung spits out the kid's name, mocking how it must be a Choi family tradition to just be totally brain-dead and clueless. Hearing that, Songjin instantly flares up. But before a single word drops, Taesung snaps his hand around the kid's throat, cutting off his air completely with a totally psychotic glare. He hauls Choi straight into the air. Smirking right in his face, the bully crushes his windpipe even harder, growling his name. The kid desperately claws at the blonde's massive arm to fight back, but his strength is absolutely zero. Eyes wide like a complete maniac, Taesung hisses that the loser can't even toss a basic firebomb and almost got himself killed because of it. Panicking, the kid chokes out some pathetic excuses while in the background Yumi finally snaps the blonde's attention, screaming at him to stop and ordering him to drop the kid right now. Tossing him to the dirt like trash, he spits out that the lucky bastard better listen up. Looming over Sangjin, the blonde demands his full attention and tells him to stop spacing out. Yanking him up by the hair, he flashes a terrifying scowl and snarls that Sangjin used to know his freaking place. Now his only job is to shadow the group and not screw up. After the brutal trash talk, he reaches down to swipe the kid's rune. But out of nowhere, the MC slams a dagger straight into the dirt. Flinching back, Taesung demands to know what his deal is. Not holding back, Hansu coldly states that those drops aren't his to take. Trying to bite back, the bully argues that feeding upgrades to a weakling like Sangjin is literally throwing them in the trash, because the kid is completely useless, getting more ticked off by the second he claims they would be way better off ditching the dead weight, and dares to ask if he's actually wrong for thinking that. Unfazed, Hansu fires back, making it crystal clear that the loot gets split fair and square, and crossing boundaries to steal someone's survival gear is completely off limits. The blonde absolutely writes it off as total bull, warning him not to regret this flex. Then, glaring down at the bruised kid on the floor, he sneers that he better lock down his own loot from now on. Taking the harsh hint, the boy nervously snatches back his rune. Feeling super anxious, Yumi calls out to the MC, asking if all this squad drama is stressing him out. Looking worried sick, she admits that with the crazy vibes right now, watching them clash like that must be seriously draining. Kang, completely chill, brushes it off and says he's totally fine, adding that he won't go around complaining about things she's just not good at yet. Instantly relieved by that super chill answer, Yumi hesitantly asks if that means he's actually sticking with the squad until the very end. She confesses that just watching his vibe, it seriously feels like he could vanish at any second. But the powerhouse simply replies that keeping up is entirely on them, claiming they're actually crushing it so far, so there's absolutely zero reason to stress out. Pushing further down the path, Kang walks right up to the fallen sirens and spots the glowing drops they left behind, sweet stamina and strength runes. Snatching one up, he calculates that right now both of these stats are absolutely massive for survival. His strength is sitting at 25, stamina at 24, agility at 14, and senses locked in at 15. Out of nowhere, a figure pops right up in his face, looking weirdly hyped. They notice his combined strength and stamina have already smashed past 50. The system drops a quick notification confirming that literally anyone can unlock this milestone, and the creepy horn demon actually claps for him. Caught off guard, the kid flashes a confident smirk, realizing he just baited the guide's attention. The tiny devil then tilts its head, asking if he's the same traveler who raised his hand back there, bragging that its gut feeling was totally spot on. Floating closer, the creature purrs about how they absolutely adore players who actually grind. Dropping right onto his head, it casually offers to hand over a special little bonus to the single most cracked traveler in the tutorial. Yumi inches closer, and the demon immediately targets her playfully, asking if she's dying to know what the prize is. Shaking like a leaf, she stammers out a question, asking if that's totally unfair since everyone's starting base stats were completely different. Completely deadpan, the creature tells her to chill out, claiming that at the very beginning they never messed with anyone else's business. Hovering dangerously close to her face, it whispers that they don't just slaughter players over bad vibes. Then its face twists into pure nightmare fuel as it hisses that there will always be exceptions, and she just might be one of them. But in the exact same breath, it bursts out laughing, waving off the death threat like it was just a goofy little prank. Gliding closer, the creature breaks it down for her. Dropping a heavy compliment, she looks absolutely stunning compared to the rest of the trash in this place. It warns her not to throw away that glow-up just to blend in with the crowd. Bottom line, life's always been rigged from the start. Pivoting back to Kang, the monster shrugs off the small talk as a total waste of breath and announces it's finally time to hand over the grand prize. Little does it know, our hero already has the reward mapped out in his head. Right on cue, the creature reveals the loot, a choice between 3 glowing runes. With a sharp snap of its fingers, it asks what kind of power he craves, floating a shiny option right in his face as a teaser. Sure, they're one-time use items, but it hypes them up, claiming they can patch up a literal gaping hole in your gut and neutralize almost any toxic poison. But Hansu isn't buying the hype, knowing a band-aid won't do jack if a monster rips your whole arm off. The rest of the squad, though, their jaws drop when they realize it's a high-tier healing rune. As the creature keeps yapping, the 3 sidekicks are already daydreaming, secretly praying our guy will use that healing magic on them when things inevitably go south. Plot twist. Ignoring the bait, he stares the monster dead in the eye and demands to know if there's a rune that completely blocks magic. Smirking like it knows a secret, the creature nods, yes. Meanwhile, his party members immediately groan internally, totally gutted by his selfish choice. Running the math in his head, Hansu figures healing runes are decent, but locking down solid physical and magical immunity early on, that's incredibly rare. In this twisted tutorial phase, dumping stats into stamina only speeds up how fast you catch your breath. But stacking physical and magical resistance acts like an absolute brick wall. Brooding over it, he knows his hardcore combat experience can easily let him dodge physical blows. But magical nukes, that's a whole different nightmare. Snagging the magic immunity rune instantly skyrockets his magic resistance up to 13 solid points. Satisfied, he figures that'll keep him alive for now. The deal sealed, the tiny demon literally rips a glowing tear straight through the air. Tossing a wave goodbye, the little freak drops a massive bombshell, calling the entire squad freezes in sheer disbelief. Wait. That terrifying monster was actually a girl this whole time. Spinning around, Hansu coldly orders the group to keep moving. Catching their dumbfounded expressions, he raises an eyebrow asking what they're still glitching out. They quickly mumble that it's nothing. Fast forward and the crew is already grinding on the 3rd floor. The girl effortlessly slices through another screeching mermaid, dropping it dead. Letting out an exhausted sigh, she realizes the combat is finally starting to feel way smoother than before. Scooping up her newly dropped rune, she squints at Kang low-key, trying to decode his weird strategy and wondering if he's gonna pull that poison trick again. Tracking him closely, she realizes he's repeating those exact same shady movements. Sliding over, she points out his massive growing stash of runes. She directly questions why his speed hasn't buffed up at all. Bingo. Our hero smirks, impressed by her razor-sharp observation skills. Rolling up his sleeve, he flashes the weird script glowing on his wrist, casually dropping that this is the real reason. Hooked, she demands to know what the heck that marking is. He starts breaking it down, explaining it's a hidden hack to stockpile runes. Commanding her to hold out her hands, he zones out, strategizing his rune collection. Totally shook, she asks how he even knows this stuff. His answer, just straight up claiming it's his superpower. She's itching to try the exploit herself, but he brutally shoots her down. Copying his build would just tank her combat stats and drag down their hunting speed. Hoarding runes like that isn't a permanent flex anyway. Plus, why? Because the second you get wiped out, every single hoarded rune drops like a piñata. Right then, the emo dude chimes in. He interrogates Kang about why he's even stacking them like a maniac. Kang claps back, revealing it's all for high-stakes trading. Sure, the market is dead right now, but once the system he orders them to absorb the items one by one. Instantly triggered, the blonde punk snaps. Spewing pure venom, he asks who the hell the hero thinks he is to look down on the squad, demanding to know why he can't pull off the exact same trick. Glancing back at the clueless mob, Kang realizes these noobs still haven't grasped the hellish reality they're trapped in. But oh, they'll catch on fast once they hit rock bottom and start cursing their miserable luck. Yanking his dagger free, he decides they desperately need a full-blown reality check before things escalate further. Stuffing his hands into his pockets, he casually calls the group out. He makes it crystal clear whether they tag along with him or run off to farm loot. They are totally free to do whatever they want. But slamming his dagger straight into the dirt, his vibe instantly shifts to dominant, demanding they shut up and listen. Radiating pure alpha energy, he takes charge and orders every single one of them to hand over their weapon. Completely baffled, the blonde guy barks back, asking if Kang thinks he's some kind of mugger, bragging that he already has his own gear to fight with. Our protagonist, however, ruthlessly shuts him down. He bluntly points out that the dude's blade is already chipped and practically useless in a real fight. Boiling over with rage, the guy gets all up in his face, cursing him out as a ridiculous bastard. He hysterically questions how they're supposed to survive if Kang jacks all their gear. Desperate, he demands to know what sick game the hero is playing with the squad. Breaking the tension, Yang steps up, offering his weapon because he knows it's their only shot at survival. But before he can finish, Taesung screams at him to shut the hell up. Whipping around to confront Kang head-on, our hero meets his gaze with ice-cold deadpan, simply asking if he's really trying to throw hands while the psycho— "Hell yeah," the blonde snaps back, demanding to know what's so terrifying down there. He spits out that he's always despised the protagonist's stuck-up, looking down on everyone vibe. Totally brushing off the loudmouth, Hansu figures the bully would have just chickened out. But then it hits him, this clueless guy has absolutely zero idea what's lurking in the shadows below. His expression hardens. Time to draw a hard boundary. He holds up a single finger, laying out two brutal choices. Option 1, he dips out, leaving the squad to fend for themselves. Option 2, they back off entirely, letting him solo the boss. Dead silence falls as they process his ultimatum. So what's the move? Hansu presses. Gripping his own arm, Songjin instantly folds. Yeah, I'm sitting this one out. Mihi quickly nods along, whispering that she's tapping out too. Judging by his dead serious tone, whatever is down there spells absolute disaster. Spinning toward her, Taesoon aggressively pushes back. That's exactly why we need to jump in, we gotta back each other up. He keeps ranting, accusing the shady loner of ditching the crew just to hog all the god-tier loot for himself. He figures the guy just does not care. Sangjin repeats he is benching himself, but panics that if Mihi bails he is basically screwed. Glancing sideways, our hero smirks inwardly. Friends. Sure, it sounds cute, but they should really be thanking their lucky stars that Keldian didn't time travel back with them. That absolute menace would be speedrunning through the indigo or purple zones entirely on his own by now. And there's zero chance Hansu is stalling here. He needs to push forward fast. Slicing through their bickering, he orders them to make up their minds downstairs. He casually drops that he wouldn't have even brought this up if the squad actually had the guts to fight. Taesoon furiously snaps that he should have led with that info. Deep down, the jock is convinced this sly dude knows exactly what kind of epic drops are hiding below, and only a total idiot would miss out. Fast forward 10 minutes, all three are screaming, sprinting for their actual lives. Mihi wails that she knew they should have listened. The blonde gasps back. Who freaking cares right now? He has officially lost his mind. What greeted them? A colossally massive, nightmarish snake, a literal freak of nature monster ripped straight from another dimension. As the trio scrambles away in sheer panic, Taesoon glances over his shoulder. His jaw drops. He can't wrap his head around the fact that the loner is actually trying to solo this raid boss. This dude is totally unhinged, he mentally screams. Meanwhile, Kang stands his ground, dwarfed by the massive serpent. They lock eyes. The beast is towering, coiling its massive muscles for a lethal strike. In a split second, our boy dives into cover, bracing himself. Crouching behind a massive stone pillar, he jams his hands over his ears. The monster is about to unleash pure chaos. Right on cue, a blinding crimson energy beam erupts from its jaws. The laser obliterates the front of the pillar, sending chunks of rock flying everywhere. Calculating every move, Hansu completely anticipated the blast. He tanks the massive shockwave, letting his boosted magic resistance eat the damage. The nightmare snake isn't done spamming catastrophic magical shockwaves across the room. Worse, its scales are basically impenetrable armor. No ordinary blade is scratching that. Oozing deadly killing intent, it locks onto him. Boom, it thrashes the pillar again, but this time with a lethal tail swipe. Rolling out of the impact zone, our hero admits this boss fight is no joke. Fortunately for him, he already knows its fatal glitch. He launches himself right at the behemoth, a dagger gripped tight. Plunging the blade deep, he mutters, "Yeah, your armor is OP, but the gap between your scales, totally squishy." A piercing screech echoes as the beast wildly thrashes around in pure agony. Leaving the blade buried up to the hilt, Hansu flips backward to create distance. The burning pain just sends the monster into an absolute berserker rage, pulverizing the solid ground with its whip-like tail. It forces Kang into a frantic series of dodges. Towering overhead, the beast glares down at its tiny prey, a guy who barely makes up 10% of its terrifying size. Without warning, it fires off another explosive shockwave. The protagonist just hunkers down, shielding his eardrums from the deafening blast. Slowly, he peels his eyes open through the settling dust. A massive shadow is hurtling straight at him. Bam! The snake's colossal tail connects with bone-crushing force, launching him across the room like a ragdoll and cratering him right into the solid stone. Slumped in the rubble, battered and bleeding, he spits out a cocky grin. Looks like it's finally reacting. The beast is completely losing its mind, violently trashing the arena. But here's the catch. They're still stuck in the tutorial zone. So, despite its tanky physical stats, this mutated freak has zero immunity to poison. Locking his eyes onto his prey, he mentally checks his inventory. 5 blades left. Flashing a dangerously cold glare, he readies his next strike. Springing back toward the towering monstrosity, he smirks. Let's play around a bit until this kicks in. Meanwhile, far down the corridor, the girl suddenly hears something. A sudden crash echoes through the air. She peers down the dark hallway, realizing the others are way too far ahead. Still, those terrifying sounds bleed right into the corridor. Heart-pounding panic sets in. Is Hansu actually surviving down there? After all, the guy is totally flying solo. Tae shoots her a confused look, demanding to know why she froze, reminding her they are completely out of daggers. Which means they need to sprint back to the convenience store right now, shaking with anxiety. Over the whole messed up situation, she just bites her lip. Then spinning right back around, she declares, but Tae snaps her name visibly ticked off. The blonde dude is fuming low-key, feeling like everyone's been ghosting him since they literally. Swallowing his pride, he bolts right after her, swearing he couldn't care less anyway. The trio scrambles madly back through their own tracks. The second they reach the bottom floor, Mihi screams out Hansu's name, praying he's okay, but the sight before her totally paralyzes her. The massive snake has its fangs fully buried into our main guy's arm. It looks like game over, and she shrieks his name in absolute terror. Frozen on the staircase, the three of them just watch the hero get absolutely wrecked. But as his arm gets brutally crushed, Kang merely smirks, thinking this actually dragged on way too long. In a flash, he whips out his tiny blade and ruthlessly slashes straight into the beast's mouth. The monster shrieks in pure agony, instantly releasing its deadly grip. He calmly stands tall over the creature, watching it violently thrash and convulse on the ground. Nailed it. He managed to strike 3 vital spots, even if he had to tank a nasty bite to the arm to pull it off. Since his stamina is already bouncing back, that wound will heal up in no time. He knows that later on, certain alien races are gonna unlock insane durability and crazy fast healing, all thanks to their next level evolution. Once that happens, dropping poison on them will literally be useless. Not to mention, spamming powers and flashy skills is gonna get way harder moving forward. Still, poisoning this beast beforehand was an absolute clutch move. Honestly, he wouldn't have survived this long without that paralyzing debuff. Right now, the giant's making the rest of this a total cakewalk. Just then, his squad bursts into the room and Mihi frantically asks if he's alive. As they rush over, Hansu raises an eyebrow, genuinely shocked these guys haven't ditched him yet. Trembling, she admits they doubled back because she was freaking out, desperately checking on his mangled arm. He just brushes it off. It's barely a scratch, and it's already closing up. Chill out. Her jaw is literally on the floor. She cannot fathom how Kang soloed a boss-level mutant snake. Meanwhile, Tae stands completely frozen. He always knew this tricky dude was crazy strong, but not like this. He seriously doubts he'll ever bridge that massive power gap. Crouching next to the fresh kill, Hansu frowns in confusion, prompting Mihi to ask if something is wrong. Gripping the snake's super rare shockwave rune, he realizes this epic loot is the payoff for downing such a heavy hitter. But here's the catch. It's only top tier if he actually has a magic rune to power it. Right now, it's just dead weight. Crossing his arms, the blonde punk mutters how insanely jealous he is, but Kang shuts him down, announcing he won't even equip it. Since he is hard-capped at just 7 skill slots, hoarding something like this is a rookie mistake. Jumping right into the drama, Sangjin nervously asks if he can claim the rune, making the blonde dude totally snap. Shoving the emo kid aside, Tae sneers that he could never handle that kind of power. If the carry is giving away free loot, it should obviously go to him. Sweating, the emo kid stammers out that the bully already grabbed a rune. Furious, Tae barks back, asking why an absolute coward deserves an upgrade, especially when he was literally cowering behind him like 2 minutes ago. Sangjin fires back. He claims that with a skill like that, he'd easily outclass the blonde jerk. This pushes Tae over the edge, shouting that the kid hasn't even racked up enough kills yet. Watching them squabble like kids, Kang deadpans, "What are you two even doing?" He casually drops the bomb he's auctioning it off, offering a sweet 5% discount to whoever coughs up the points first. That shuts them up instantly. Tae awkwardly asks if he can pay in installments, and Hansu smirks, saying, "Only if you've got a guarantor, buddy." It's a ruthless system, but it works. A few moments later, he taps his foot. "So who's buying?" Mihi steps up, saying she'll take it. The protagonist mentally nods. Honestly, based on the trust stats in this party, it was always destined for her. Plus, he caught her absorbing a magic rune earlier, so her build was no secret. This epic drop was the ultimate payoff for clearing the monster. Honestly, having extra tricks up your sleeve is just common sense. He seriously questions if she even has a basic survival instinct. Strolling right up to our guy, she casually drops that she's packing 1 agility rune, 3 for perception, alongside 7 for strength and another 7 for stamina. Smirking at the thought of his 5% discount, he fires back, stating he'll only snag 6 of those strength runes. Beaming, the girl agrees that's a totally fair trade. But Kang immediately kills the vibe, dropping a harsh truth: getting hooked on freebies in this hellhole will literally get her killed one day. He bluntly states that nothing comes free in this twisted world. Walking away, he secretly hopes they actually start pulling their own weight. Brushing past some glowing crystals, a memory hits him. Spotting a scaled snake usually means hidden loot is close by. The second he spots one slithering around, he realizes his insane luck and pops open his inventory. Watching from afar, the group assumes our hero is flexing his crazy superpowers again. The edgy dude squints, wondering if he's seriously whipping out a drill and a giant needle. Meanwhile, the girl observes that despite the hardcore metallic gleam, the material looks weirdly soft. In a flash, our MC dodges backward, violently piercing straight through the beast's tough scales. Jaws completely on the floor, the duo watches desperately, wondering what kind of insane gear he's crafting this time. Hanging in the back, Tay awkwardly asks what they're supposed to do with all these gross snake guts scattered on the ground. Someone mutters that the whole mess looks absolutely disgusting. Tay nervously asks if they're brewing up poison again. Kang quickly shuts that down. It's something totally different. Even though these scales are ridiculously tough, they are completely useless as a weapon on their own. So it's time to get a little creative. Welcome to the 11th tutorial out of 134 wild weapon combos you can literally forge from dead monsters and random scrap. This needle has a super tiny area of effect. Because of that, triggering secondary status effects like heavy bleeding is way harder to pull off. But the massive trade-off: it completely exposes the enemy's hidden weak spots with absolute pinpoint accuracy. And if you've got the guts to strike that exact critical spot, the attack lands flawlessly. While forging the massive needle, he mutters that the tip is still looking a bit dull. Honestly, he had to handcraft the whole thing from scratch, since there were zero other options. He immediately grabs a knife and aggressively starts sharpening the edge. Smirking, he notes that he desperately needs at least this level of raw power, factoring in the endless hours those snobby alchemists waste refining their fancy gear. This rigged-up needle is literally the ultimate weapon. He firmly states that this exact setup is mandatory if they ever want to shatter the monster's insane defense. A beast he absolutely has to slaughter to secure the second hidden artifact. Wrapping up the intense crafting session, they tightly bind a cloth straight around the handle for grip. Flexing the finished product, he proudly declares the weapon finally looks ready for a bloodbath. He casually shrugs, admitting he totally could have crafted something way more overpowered, but with this garbage loot, this was practically his only viable option. Tay is just standing there, completely mind-blown by the MC's insane level of expertise. Sliding closer, Tay desperately begs to buy it, swearing he'll trade absolutely every rune he owns for that weapon, his brain racing. He fully grasps the insane grind this absolute madman just went through to forge it, making this custom build infinitely more valuable than his own basic trash gear. But Kang casually rejects him. He claims the weapon is super tricky to wield. He'd totally sell it, except he just burned through every single drop of his materials. Low-key triggered. Tay bitterly realizes our hero just selfishly hoarded all the top-tier loot. Awkwardly scratching his head, he tries to cope, convincing himself better drops are bound to show up. Except, this eerie spot genuinely feels like the final end of the line for their entire squad. Plus, the subway lights are blazing, and the station is weirdly spotless. Even our usually battle-ready MC is acting way too chill right now, so it seriously looks like the heavy fighting is over. Now it's just time to kick back and soak up those sweet, sweet rewards. The trio happily marches toward the train car when Hansu suddenly drops a bomb, asking why the hell they're boarding. Tay freezes, asking him what he's even talking about. Kang stares them dead in the eye and coldly states this ride only has room for one. He doubles down ruthlessly, telling them that only a single player gets to board. Everyone else needs to back off right now. Songjin nervously stammers that he's got to be kidding, pointing out how massive the train car is. He desperately questions how Kang even knows it's a solo ride. Furious and completely losing his cool, Tay demands to know who made him the boss. Why does this guy think he's so insanely privileged? He aggressively barks that Kang only survived this long because they carried him. The atmosphere instantly shatters as Kang slowly turns to face the trio. Glaring right through them, he just thinks to himself, what an absolute bunch of brain-dead idiots. Look, grabbing every opportunity is cool and all, but these guys totally missed the memo. Firing back, he admits the blonde girl isn't wrong. There's literally zero rule saying he has to lead the charge. Slamming his blade straight into the concrete, he drops a cold truth. Rules. This world doesn't have any. Tossing them a lifeline, he offers a choice. Walk away right now or things are gonna get real ugly real fast. Leveling his weapon right at their squad, he mocks them. Go ahead. Call your lawyer later. File a complaint if you survive. Flashing a cocky smirk, he leaves the ball in their court. Paralyzed, the blonde girl can only stare at the cold steel hovering right against her throat. The train rumbles to life, ditching the trio on the platform. Tai is absolutely seething. Jaw clenched, he can't even process the sheer disrespect they just took. Rewinding the tape in his head, he calculates the odds. If all three of them rushed him at once, maybe they'd actually stand a chance. And clinching that win means scoring all of Kang's insane weapons and stacked runes. Hyping himself up for a brawl, he figures the worst-case scenario is begging for mercy on their knees, assuming Kang wouldn't actually execute them. But reality hits Tai like a freight train when he meets the MC's dead, bone-chilling glare. His brain flashes a massive red flag. One flinch, he'd be dead on the spot. It proves the hero isn't just strong, he's on a whole different level of lethal. Snapping back to reality, Tai is shook. How did a single glance freeze him completely solid? The girl speaks up, voice shaking. She admits they pushed way too hard riding his coattails to get here, and poking the bear was a massive mistake. She practically begs them to just drop it and keep moving forward. But the blonde isn't having it. She snarls that playing it safe is exactly why they're stuck being nobodies. They should have gone all out and jumped him. Radiating pure, unhinged killing intent, she declares their only goal is to grind power no matter how dirty they have to play. And she's dead set on making it happen. Meanwhile, chilling solo in the subway car, Kang processes his mental notes. This ghost train hits exactly 20 stations down the line. Every single stop drops a randomized loot artifact. But once those doors close, game over. No backtracking allowed. The whole maze is literally built to scramble your brain and ruin your sanity. And the kicker, surviving till the end, doesn't even guarantee a decent payoff, so playing it safe is mandatory. Suddenly, it clicks, he's already pulling into station number 12. His loot pile is sitting pretty at 8 weapons. We're talking top-tier gear, Laroon's crown, the claws of Kidos, Abraham's iron gauntlet, and a bunch more. These are drops you only snag by triggering hidden quest pieces, which totally explains their insane tier ratings. Take Laroon's crown for instance. Combine that with Zen's base stats and you get a temporary cheat code that highlights boss weaknesses. For a set timer. The catch. Our overpowered MC can literally already see every monster's weak point on his own, making that crown pretty much junk inventory for him. With enough brute force gear stacked up, he's praying the drop system gives a massive mobility buff next. Something that lets him dash through combat and blitz his enemies. Out of nowhere, Kang spots a glint. Snatching up the station's random drop, he identifies it immediately. No way. The Manic Mist cigarettes. His eyes widen. He had zero clue this ultra-rare item was even in the loot pool. The mechanics are wild. Light one up and your rune stats start skyrocketing. The deeper you drag, the crazier the buff gets. Burn it down to the filter and inhale that final hit, boom. Every single rune stat gets slapped with a massive 20% multiplier. And you get to ride that high for 10 solid minutes. Gripping the pack, Hansu is absolutely hyped. He rolls it around in his hand, fully aware that this item scales terribly, making it essentially garbage once you leave the tutorial zone. But right here, right now, it's literally god tier. Staring at the pack, a heavy wave of nostalgia hits him. A gorgeous blonde flashes in his mind, teasingly asking if he still chain smokes, warning him that the nicotine habit is just aging him way too fast. A past version of the MC rocking long hair just stays quiet, letting her talk. He just stares back at her. They're wearing matching tactical gear. She keeps nagging him, swearing the bad boy smoker vibe totally clashes with his aesthetic, and threatens that he's gonna ruin that pretty boy face of his. Snapping back to the harsh reality of the present, Kang grips the pack tight. This run is gonna be completely different. Fast forward a bit, and Hansu rolls back into his original station. Stepping off the train, it's a ghost town. The tag-along squad has already bailed. Pacing the empty platform, he runs the timer in his head. 4 full days until the next hidden puzzle piece spawns. Meaning for the next 48 hours, he's only got 2 valid plays. Option 1, go full savage, hunt monsters and hoard up runes. Option 2, speed run whatever side quests are left on the board. It takes him literally half a second to choose. Staring down the reward cauldron, he flexes about having crushed a bunch of early quests a while back. He's flying blind on the loot pool drops, so he knows he has to aggressively target the quests holding the absolute sickest payout. Scanning the leftover quests, one immediately catches his eye. Massive payout, barely any grind. The loot, a sage stone and a clumsy mage sidekick. Clearing this boosts every single stat by 10 points and instantly heals, even the most fatal game-ending wounds. He realizes this drop is insanely overpowered. Finding something this rare is basically impossible whether you're in the tutorial or the main game. Then it hits him the tragic backstory behind this insane quest. Amvirin, a Death Squad member, got dragged into this hellhole, volunteering at a literal prison. Rumor has it, her tightest crew stuck by her side. But the second things kicked off, they backstabbed her. That absolute betrayal, it triggered her awakening, unleashing a terrifying power. For 7 straight days, she went on a brutal rampage, slaughtering every living soul in sight. Once the bloodbath ended, she tried to end her own life, kicking off this exact quest. Remembering the lore, he figures he'd better dodge this one, since it completely ruins his whole vibe of saving as many players as possible. With Meg closing in fast, he desperately hunts for the fastest speedrun available and boom, he spots it, the prize. The greedy guy's stash of food. He locks in on that mission, but first things first, he needs to guarantee he has maxed out stamina. So tonight is all about the grind to buff up. Stepping into a dead quiet cafeteria, his stomach growls. Maybe I should grab some grub first. After crushing a quick meal, he spots a massive crater punched right through the floor. He already knows exactly who left this mess. The moon's about to rise, he mutters, and these clowns actually had the sheer audacity to pull this stunt. Hyped up, he decides to truly test his guts. Cut to the heart of the city. A crew of shady guys is busy packing up loot. Watching from the shadows, our original squad is absolutely mind-blown. How the hell did they swipe everything? One girl groans frustrated that their frantic escape left her empty-handed. She's fuming, wondering how they got fully robbed. Sweating bullets. G admits that while their squad packs a serious punch, there's a massive catch. The emo kid keeps whining about the enemy's numbers, panicking because Hanso is still MIA. We can't just rush in blind, he stresses. Two younger kids whisper, totally shocked they've never heard this edgy dude spit out so many words. Deep in thought, Miji is spiraling. She can't wrap her head around how the enemy snuffed out their hidden convenience store. She really thought they had way more time. Suddenly, the rival gang kicks into overdrive, scrambling. Sunho is chilling right there with them, casually flashing a hand signal to the spying kids. The squad instantly catches the eye contact. The blonde guy blinks. Wait, what did that jerk just wave at us? Tad scoffs, warning them it's a total bait tactic to piss them off. Don't fall for it, Tad barks. We just need to dip. As they back away, he tells the crew they'll have to scavenge for supplies somewhere else. But internally, Tad is seething. His brain is going a mile a minute. Why the hell would Sunho blow their cover with a wave when up until now the plan was flawless? Flashback time. Tad confidently strutted up to the rival gang, dropping a massive tip since they were starving for rations. They needed to raid the subway. Pulling off the ultimate betrayal, the blonde rat swore he'd guide them straight to the underground stash so they could clean out everything. The whole setup let Hanso flex on these scrubs to steal the food, back then cry for backup, claiming they got swarmed. But Sunho wasn't buying it. He glared at Tad, demanding to know why he should trust a snitch, straight up accusing him of plotting with Hanso. Snapping, the blonde snags the kid right by the collar, dragging him along. Pissed off Sunho snarls, "Have you forgotten how much my brother carried your pathetic ass?" But before he can blink, a fist comes flying at his face. Bam! Tad lands a brutal right hook, sending Sunho crashing to the dirt. Glaring down with pure venom, he spits, "You three are absolute trash. I wouldn't even waste my time tricking you." Blood gushing from his nose, Sunho stays dead silent. Tad keeps pushing, telling them to use their brains because this is a once-in-a-lifetime drop. Snap back to reality. The 5 survivors are holed up in a busted safe house. The girl spots Hanso and screams his name. A massive wave of relief washes over her. Seeing him back alive instantly kills her panic. Smirking, the blonde rat is feeling untouchable. He's convinced his cover is rock solid, so there's zero reason to sweat. Even if they somehow catch on to him, he can just gaslight his way out of it. Meanwhile, Miji speaks up. "When we were tailing Jason and Zhang Yu, those scavengers completely wiped out the store, cleaned it bone dry." Kang sighs heavily. "Yeah, I noticed." He glances around the bleak room. "So, what's our ration situation looking like?" She shakes her head. "Practically empty. We snagged whatever we could carry, but it's not enough." Cutting right through the doom and gloom, Tad steps up. "What's done is done. We can easily bounce back by raiding their stash and taking it all back. But let's be real, Hanso trying to solo that entire mob, it's a suicide mission." Kang just brushes him off. "Let's just eat first." Triggered by the total disrespect, the blonde slams his fist on the table. "Are you freaking kidding me right now?" He calls out the blatant double standard, grilling our hero on how he isn't completely embarrassed right now. After all, the squad literally put their lives on the line for those rations, and anyone eating needs to cough up something of equal value. He keeps pressing him to speak up, throwing out a cocky ultimatum: drop some premium loot and maybe he will reconsider. Sweating bullets, the girl stammers out that they brought enough grub for the whole crew, but he fires back, demanding to know why this freeloader gets a free pass. The team dodged death for this haul, so they absolutely need to tax him for it. He points out that Hansu did not lift a single finger to help, throwing in a sarcastic jab about how someone once preached about charity. Jason and John completely freeze up at those words. Smirking like a total villain, the guy figures that if he manages to sway the room, he can finally boot this outcast for good. He is dying to see how long Hansu can keep up the tough guy act. Completely unfazed, our main character just sighs, brushing it off as a massive bummer. admitting he is completely tapped out and has absolutely zero to trade. He casually asks how they should settle this mess. The blonde dude calls his bluff, claiming Hansu must be hoarding some insane loot and demands he drop it for the squad. In the background, the blonde girl is totally lost, asking what on earth he is going on about. Tae spills the tea, revealing that Kang actually raided their secret stash earlier. He wagers the guy scored some top-tier items down there. Flashing a shady grin, he insists Kang needs to split the wealth with the party, especially since they are all supposedly surviving this nightmare together. Tossing over a measly granola bar, he tells them to drop the petty drama. Hansu just silently watches the whole clown show unfold, crossing his arms defensively. He sarcastically praises Tae for being such a fast learner. Instantly triggered, Tae jumps out of his seat and snaps at him to quit dodging the question. Deep down, Tae realizes the blonde girl's move was ridiculously obvious, but it checks out since she actually views our hero on her level. But honestly, that is not the real issue here. Tae realizes Hansu is definitely going to ditch them, which sucks because Tae desperately needs the squad's backup. His own trash runes just are not enough to survive out here. As he turns his back on them, the blonde girl frantically asks where he is heading. Walking away, Kang reflects on how he got dragged into this mess by pure accident. And honestly, he already carried this team more than— But then Kang Tae's toxic vibe crosses his mind again. He gags at the thought of actually saying his thoughts out loud, knowing the sheer cringe would physically destroy him. So packing up his stuff, he just drops a chill goodbye, telling them to stay safe and stick to the shadows. Watching him actually leave, both Tae and Songjin start low-key panicking. The blonde girl instantly steps in, pleading with the guys to stop this pointless beef. She reminds them they have survived this nightmare so far without tearing each other apart. Spinning around, she practically begs Mei to chase after Hansu and drag him back. But Tae just scoffs. If the dude wants to rage quit the party, let him. There is zero point in begging him to stay. Glaring daggers at our heroes retreating back. Tae fumes over how the guy kept up his arrogant Sigma energy right to the bitter end. He confidently bets that the smart aleck will come crawling back the second they offer him a bribe, swearing they are totally fine without him. But as he turns back, he catches Mei moving and snaps, asking if she is seriously about to tail that absolute psycho. Completely ignoring Tae, she sprints up to our main character. Breathing heavy, she declares she is joining his run and begs to tag along. Her heart pounds out of her chest as she waits for the verdict. But Hansu shoots her down flat, saying he absolutely cannot carry her weight on this journey. Swallowing her disappointment, she quietly nods, accepting. But then Kang drops a major loophole. He will not officially take her, but if she chooses to follow his trail, that is totally on her. Her eyes instantly light up with pure hype. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo from behind. Todd steps out of the shadows smoothly, mentioning he still needs to harvest his precious runes from Songjin. But, internally, the dude is secretly freaking out. He knows letting Hansu walk away is basic. Songjin smoothly slides into the conversation, dropping a massive bombshell. The runes are not an issue because he is officially joining the breakaway squad too. Mind completely blown, the blonde girl grabs his shoulder, demanding to know if he actually realizes what he is signing up for. Meanwhile, the rich kid glares, mentally questioning if Sang genuinely thinks his powerful dad will ever show him an ounce of mercy after this betrayal. He starts guilt-tripping him hard, spitting out how he took Sang in when he was a literal nobody. Has he just magically deleted all that from his brain? Visibly shaking, the emo kid stutters, asking what the blonde dude's dad could possibly do anyway. He hits back with a brutal reality check. They are entirely trapped in this hellish dimension, so how exactly is Rich Boy planning to snitch to his daddy anyway? At the end of the day, none of that real-world status means garbage right now. Sang is totally done playing the obedient lapdog to a useless bully. As Songjin turns his back and strides away, the blonde girl is left utterly paralyzed in shock. Maulding out of his mind, the bully screams at them to get lost, coping hard by claiming all the rations belong to him anyway. He aggressively rationalizes that switching bases will not change a single thing for those losers. Absolutely blinded by pure rage, he vows they will all be crawling back to him on their knees when reality hits. Fast forward a bit. Our newly formed trio is cautiously navigating the dead, eerie streets of the— Songjin starts spiraling, stressing about whether they should have looted more supplies. Their backpacks are looking seriously pathetic right now. The girl silently nods in agreement. Meanwhile, Kang's attention is completely locked onto a random jacket left behind. Slipping into the fresh drip, he cryptically mutters that gearing up like this earlier would have been completely pointless. That bizarre comment leaves his two new sidekicks completely flexing the new fit. He casually announces they have a massive mission ahead and absolutely zero time to waste. Panicking slightly, the emo dude demands to know what kind of insane plan is cooking inside this overpowered freak's head. Let's be real, Hansu is built different. He can literally pull off whatever he wants. But if he stirs up a boss-level threat, Tagging along might just be a massive death wish. Reading the room perfectly, Kang smirks, telling the kid he already knows exactly what is running through his anxious brain. Surprisingly, he does not roast him for the doubt. He gets it after all, the emo kid is totally clueless about the incoming horror of the moon event. With that one casual comment, the hero glances up, dropping a heavy warning midnight is creeping up on them. She asks what the big deal is, but then her blood runs cold. Pointing at the sky, she stammers, asking what's wrong with the moon. At first glance, it looks totally normal. But suddenly, a massive, freaky alien eye rips right through the center of it. Shook to her core, the girl gasps, asking if the freaking moon just opened its eye. Freaking out right next to her, Sang demands to know what's going on because his stash of food just crumbled into straight-up sand. Out of absolutely nowhere. Panicking, the girl rips open her bag to see if everyone got hit by this glitch. And the second she looks inside, her heart drops. Every single scrap of loot they packed has turned to dust. Sweating bullets, the emo kid points out a blinding glow flashing in the distance. Realizing those lights are actually people, he chokes out that their cover is completely blown. The girl asks if they're glowing too, and he guesses they're totally blind to anyone creeping up close. But her jaw hits the floor when she spots human silhouettes glowing straight through the walls. It clicks. Everyone's exact location is dead-ass exposed right now, and it's a brutal setup to force an all-out battle royale. Sang whips around, demanding if the group leader knew this twisted trap was coming. Smirking like a villain, Kang brushes it off, claiming not even superpowers could have predicted this mess. But the emo dude isn't buying it. The hero's chill vibe doesn't scream caught off guard at all. Total chaos erupts everywhere. Survivors are throwing hands, screaming about stolen food, pointing fingers, and straight up threatening to end each other. Desperate players start cornering people viciously, demanding they cough up all their rations. Listening to the madness, Kang mutters to himself about how insanely toxic this whole world is, dropping the mic by explaining that this is exactly why he told his squad not to hoard everything. As long as that cursed exclusive moon is hanging over their heads, every piece of food is going to vanish into thin air. Right on cue, Hansu starts walking away. The emo kid asks where the heck he thinks he's going. Without looking back, Hansu just says he's got to do what needs to be done. Meanwhile, the rival squad is having an absolute meltdown. Their entire stash just turned to literal dirt. The blonde girl is low-key hyperventilating, asking what their next move is and if they should try scavenging somewhere else. Her teammate snaps back that they already cleared out the entire store. It suddenly clicks for the blonde that smug know-it-all definitely saw this disaster coming. Pissed off, the guy starts yelling, convinced the hero played them like fools. Trembling, the blonde suddenly screams at Tae to check outside the window. Down in the plaza, a bunch of glowing figures are stomping around. It's those psychopathic bullies, somehow. The head thug is convinced Tae set him up, and now he's on a raging warpath to hunt him down. Peeking through the blinds, the blonde girl swallows hard, knowing they don't stand a ghost of a chance against that mob. Out of nowhere, the other girl suggests they should shadow Hansu. Getting right up in her face, Tae demands to know if she seriously wants to crawl back to the exact dude who tossed them aside like trash. Snapping back, she yells, asking what their grand plan is then. Sitting like sitting ducks isn't gonna save them. She insists that if those goons don't catch them first, they'll target Hansu anyway, which means they can slide in and offer him backup. Her squad mate nods along, figuring it's the perfect chance to squash the beef. Gritting his teeth, Tae realizes they actually have a point. Teaming up for a hot minute is their best bet for survival. He might hate the idea, but it's a golden ticket to leech onto Kang Hansu's strength. Sucking up his pride, he finally agrees they need to save the squad. Peeling out of the room, he hisses at everyone to keep their mouths shut and stick close. But suddenly, something violently yanks his leg, sending the punk crashing face first into the dirt, scrambling to rip it off. He freaks out, realizing whatever it is, it's completely glued to his ankle. Pinned to the floor, he starts screaming for backup. A shadowy figure steps up, mocking them, asking if they seriously thought they could drag the blonde guy out of there. The boss, Sang-ho, coldly orders them to step forward. He just wants to have a little chat. In a split second, sheer terror takes over. The other two instantly bolt for their lives, totally ditching the blonde dude on the floor. The gang leader chuckles, taunting that Tae is way too young to be talking out of pocket like that. Stepping closer, he drops the lure that sticky trap. It's called Oren's flying paper. And while Tae was busy plotting his little escape, his crew was setting up a nasty trap of their own. Towering over him, the boss barks that playtime is over, demanding to know why there are only 3 of them, and where the hell the rest of his pathetic squad is hiding. Without warning, he raises his massive foot to curb stomp the punk, making Tae flinch in absolute horror. Boom! The guy smashes his foot right next to his head, completely shattering the concrete. Terrified out of his mind, Tae begs for his life, swearing he'll spill everything and leak exactly where. The rest of the gang ran off. The bald goon laughs, saying the kid catches on quick, but he adds a twist. Someone else wants a quick word with him first, and they aren't moving an inch until business is settled. Sang-ho steps out from the shadows. You can see the murder in his eyes. He won't stop until he gets his bloody revenge. Gritting his teeth, the blonde guy bitterly thinks about how differently this whole mess could have played out. Flashing an absolutely unhinged smirk, the guy sneers that if they had not left him behind, he would have gone easy on their beatdown. A whole crew starts violently stomping the thug out while he screams bloody murder, swearing he is going to slaughter both of them. Cut to somewhere else, and the duo is completely lost. There is a hot meal bubbling away in a random pot. They are both scratching their heads, wondering how all three of them ended up chilling there like it is some sort of weekend camping trip. Sweating bullets, the girl realizes they should have totally expected the grub to just vanish. Strolling up, she cheerfully claims she arrived right on cue and suggests they all dig in together. Hearing that nonsense, our hero shoots up to his feet, and in a split second violently smashes his weapon into the ground, obliterating the concrete and leaving a massive crater. The girl is left absolutely shook. Still casually chewing his food, he deadpans a warning not to cross that line. Annoyed, she fires back, asking why he is acting like a literal toddler and pinning the blame on Tae. Getting nosy, she dares to ask what happens if they actually cross it. Smirking, the kid casually drops that with his insane power, things are going to end terribly for both of them. The other guy, who had been dead silent this whole time, mutters that pretty much clears things up. Kang sharply fires back that yeah, it does, and things are about to get seriously dangerous. With both of them hanging around. Whipping around, they freeze. The bald dude's entire gang just rolled up. The boss, oozing pure arrogance, just glares them down. Kang and me are frozen in their tracks. Our main guy's expression turns deadly serious, while the panicked girl has zero clue what the hero is about to pull, desperately praying he makes a move. Now this is the selfish glutton's meal. The rules to score it are super basic. Step 1. Cook and devour literally everything in sight. The skill looks flashy and ridiculously easy to pull off, but there is a massive catch. You have got to be completely greedy, someone who refuses to share even a crumb. You have to gorge yourself totally alone to secure the entire loot pool. While everyone else is losing their minds scrambling for scraps, this guy has to power through every hurdle and completely demolish the food. Whoever designed this quest definitely has a sick, twisted sense of humor. Even so, you have got to keep your cool. Our lead is busy stuffing his face when someone suddenly steps out of the shadows. It is Tyson, looking completely wrecked and battered. The blonde asks if he is alive, but the furious thug just screams, cursing her out for ditching him to die. But she defensively claps back, claiming they only ran to get backup. Enraged, he calls Cap, roaring that if she had not chickened out, he could have actually fought back. A voice from the back tells him to chill out as some dude heavily drops a hand onto his shoulder, telling the raging newbie to take it down a notch. The guy then turns to Hansu. Giving props to his skills, he demands to know exactly where he snagged that mystery meat. Genuinely baffled, Kang gestures around, saying there is literal meat everywhere, and asks if they seriously have no clue what they are looking at. The trio instantly gags in disgust, low-key horrified that he actually swallowed it. In his head, Kang connects the dots. They have already tasted it. Anyone dumb enough to eat that toxic flesh gets hit with brutal dehydration. And yet our unbothered main character is absolutely housing it like it is a 5-star Wagyu steak. Intrigued, the man figures Kang must have cracked the cheat code on how to eat it without dying. Kang casually replies that you literally just have to boil it in fresh goblin blood. Totally floored, the bald guy is left completely speechless. Tae previously hyped up Kang for having insane superpowers, claiming those skills helped him snatch top-tier loot back at the station. He smirks, thinking today might just be the perfect day to finally throw down with him. Tae admits that Kang has got major skills, but he is hopelessly outnumbered, plus he is literally just a 20-year-old kid. Sure, the guy might be a pro at slaughtering monsters, but that definitely does not mean he has got the guts to ice an actual human. Right then, Tae calls out the newbie, demanding to know what he is doing and barking at him to go grab some grub and catch up with his buddy. Panicking, the blonde whines about why she has to buddy up with that sketchy weirdo, but quickly caves, realizing it is way safer to avoid stirring up unnecessary drama in front of this massive crowd. Out of nowhere, Hansu slowly pushes himself up. Tae nods, admitting the guy actually has a point, and casually suggests they hash things out. Freaking out, the girl screams at him not to cross that line. As she steps closer, the blonde coldly mocks her, saying she is acting exactly like that other pathetic girl. Gripping his weapon tight, our hero sighs that they are really doing this the hard way, instantly sweeping a vicious strike straight at the thug's ankle. In his head, he is just praying Ares does not throw a massive fit over this mess. In that split second, Tae's brain has not even processed what is going down. Suddenly, he collapses hard onto the dirt. Sprawled out, his mind blankly wonders why before he unleashes a blood-curdling scream. Realizing his freaking leg is completely gone, Writhing in agony, he shrieks, demanding to know how Kang pulled that off, screaming that he is an absolute psychopath. The rest of the crew is absolutely paralyzed by the bloodbath. Mihi frantically tries to cool things down, while Taesoon is losing his mind, screaming a string of curses. He can't wrap his head around the fact that Kang snapped. Watching this go down, the emo kid is practically hyperventilating. Panic bleeding into his voice, he warns the squad to think 10 steps ahead, realizing Kang is only going to mutate into a bigger threat. He's convinced this monster will slaughter every single. It's a do-or-die moment. If they hesitate, it's game over. Sweating bullets, the bald leader barks at his crew to get into formation. Sungjin nods along. He knows deep down that it's now or never they have to strike before Kang levels up again. A smirk creeps onto his face. The gang is strapped, and with their silhouettes glowing under the eerie moonlight, there's zero chance Kang makes it out alive. Still, a chill runs down his spine. How does a random college kid have the dead eyes of a serial killer? What kind of twisted life has he actually been living? Amidst the chaos, our MC just stands there totally unfazed. His mind drifts back to the old days, remembering the endless screaming matches between Iris and Keldian, even after they supposedly teamed up. Eris was always the pacifist, begging Hansu to avoid making enemies left and right. But Keldian's rule was brutal. If an enemy is breathing your air, you grind them into dust, because they will always come back to bite you. A dark grin spreads across Kang's face. Turns out he and Eris are cut from the exact same cloth. He slowly raises his arm, flashing 3 glowing runes. His mindset is terrifyingly simple. If they want a war, he's going to leave them in body bags. The entire mob charges like wild dogs, screaming for his head. Kang. He just tightens his fist, knuckles turning white. It's time to blitz. He launches forward with so much explosive kinetic energy that the concrete literally shatters beneath his boots. Rocketing straight into the front line, he casually drops a one-liner, "Guess you guys get to be the crash test dummies for my new loot." Songjin's jaw hits the floor. It's physically impossible to move that fast. Our MC instantly deletes the arrogant thug, who thought he was tough, landing a devastating hook. The kinetic force sends the guy flying like a ragdoll. The protagonist doesn't even blink. He ghosts to the next target, dropping bodies left and right in a blur of violence, leaving the bald leader totally paralyzed just watching his empire crumble. Cold sweat drips down his face. Did this absolute freak actually absorb every single rune they dropped? Trying to salvage the disaster, he shrieks at his goons to hold the line, desperately claiming that— Boom! The hero teleports right into his face. Veins popping, the thug stubbornly refuses to tap out, stalking closer like a predator. Kang coldly suggests he reevaluate his life choices. The bald dude is shivering, practically begging as he asks if Kang can really stomach the guilt of taking a human life, screaming that crossing that line makes him a cold-blooded murderer. He tries to play the age card, saying a snot-nosed kid couldn't handle that trauma. Kang doesn't even flinch. He just keeps walking. Weapon-raised, Kang unleashes a merciless combo, pummeling the boss until he collapses into the dirt like a sack of bricks. Kang towers over his broken body, eyes dead and piercing like daggers. He just stares down at the pathetic wreckage he created. The entire squad is practically on life support. The blonde girl and her buddy are frozen in sheer terror, completely traumatized by the carnage. Ripping his blade out of a fallen thug, Kang tilts his head. "Since you guys are still standing here, does that mean you want round 2? The two exchange panicked glances and instantly bolt for their lives in dead silence. The massacre over our MC strolls back to his squad and picks up his meal. Acting like he didn't just casually catch a body, he chews on the monster jerky, asking innocently, "Did I miss something?" Meanwhile, his inner monologue is ruthless. Zero chance he's sharing a single bite of this food. Stuttering, Mihi stammers out that everything is fine. The trio slowly regroups, awkwardly standing over the unconscious bodies of the raid party. Fast forward to sunrise over the ruined city. That freaky eyeball moon is still hovering up there, but wait, its lid starts snapping shut. The cosmic eye completely shuts down. Trekking through the ruins, Kang calculates his macros. He's fueled up enough to survive for 3 straight days. Sure, he completely bombed every social quest, but snagging this rare loot makes it a massive win. This item is totally busted. It blocks the moonlight from spoiling the food and stashes it away in a pocket dimension with infinite storage. With 5 charges left, he's got enough rations secured for basically 2 weeks. The squad keeps moving, the silence suffocating, until the girl finally breaks the ice quietly, asking if he's doing okay, pointing out the crazy fact that he actually left the thugs breathing. Our MC stops dead in his tracks. He lets out a heavy sigh. "You know, you're kind of terrifying sometimes." Flustered and defensive, she snaps back that she's just looking out for him, but internally she totally gets why he spared them. Those bottom feeders never stood a ghost of a chance against him anyway. In her mind, the weak don't matter at all because Kang's ceiling is limitless. Deep in thought, a sudden realization hits the protagonist. He notices how flawlessly Mihi just clicked with this hellscape. Honestly, he could totally do the same if he just cared about hoarding power. But that's not his vibe. The whole reason he rewinded time was to keep the body count low and actually save humanity without starting a bloodbath. To pull that off, he desperately needs to lay down the law in this broken. Rule number 1. Zero player killing. Snatching runes off dead humans is strictly off limits. Sure, Hansu could easily slaughter everyone to hog those rare drops for himself, but that would totally wreck the balance he's trying to build. Forcing these rules down people's throats right now is an absolute nightmare. But let's be real. Laws, especially one pushing for a massive cleanse. The catch. Way too many eyes are locked onto his every move. Not that he's sweating it. It's only a matter of time before someone accidentally triggers a rune drop. Suddenly, Sangjin breaks the silence, muttering that he's dropping out of the group. Mihi blinks, totally confused, and asks what the hell he means. Trembling, the kid stammers out that he just can't keep tagging. Kang just shrugs it off. He casually tells the guy to do whatever floats his boat, totally cool with lone wolf choices. The quiet kid turns his back and starts to trudge away. Watching him leave, Hansu throws out one last question. Why doesn't he just chase what he actually... Turning his focus, he steps right into Mihi's personal space. Are you terrified of me? The raw question makes her flinch hard. Avoiding his intense gaze, her mind races. Yeah, she's absolutely terrified of this dude. Swallowing her nerves, she stays dead quiet for a beat. Then out of nowhere, she blurts out that if she bails now, there's zero chance he'd ever let her back in. She locks eyes with him, swearing she's sticking by his side until the bitter end. Kang just stares her down, his expression completely unreadable and ice cold. That deadpan stare sends her anxiety through the roof. Honestly, Hansu is just silently impressed by her insane survival instincts. Cracking a faint smirk, our OP hero simply nods. If that's your call, let's keep moving. A little while later, the duo descends deep into the shadows of an underground tunnel. Cut back to the ruined city battlefield. Sprawled out in the dirt, Taesu is violently cursing out his crew, calling them a bunch of words. He spits out that they're all bark and no bite whining, that they honestly should have just dropped dead. A twisted grin creeps onto his bloody face. Kang really screwed up, leaving him alive. His minor gashes are literally closed. The second he hits full HP, he swears he's going to butcher every last one of them before hunting down the main guy. Dragging his broken body across the gravel, he seethes. How the hell did they just ditch him, especially Mihi, that really stung? But he freezes. A shadow looms over. Taesu's mind races, wondering why the quiet kid came crawling back. Faking hype, he commands Sangjin to drag him to his feet. The emo kid just glares down, voice dripping with venom. Are you seriously talking to me right now? The blonde bully scoffs, asking if he sees anyone else around. He quickly pitches a team up, hyping it up as the perfect chance for the kid to grind some easy EXP. In the background, the bald dude is weakly choking on curses. Taesu points at him, smirking that the guy is literally 1 foot in the grave anyway. The bully orders Sangjin to execute the bald guy first. As the quiet kid slowly reaches for a discarded combat knife, gripping the hilt tight, Taesu praises him like a good dog. He promises that whatever sweet loot drops from the kill, he'll generously split the runes 50-50. Wait. Taesu frowns, demanding to know why Sangjin is walking toward him instead. Boom. Without a word, Sangjin violently chokeslams him. Gasping for air, Taesu freaks out, screaming what the hell he's doing. His brain short-circuits. How did this weakling get this freakishly strong? Pinning the bully down, Sangjin's eyes go dead. He whispers that he should have snapped his neck a long time ago. Thrashing in panic, the blonde begs and pleads to be let go. But Sangjin just stares back. Sangjin buries the blade deep into his flesh. Howling in agony, Taesu violently convulses, spitting bloody curses at the kid. Gripping Sangjin's collar with trembling fingers, he roars, demanding to know how a pathetic loser dared to pull a stunt like this. Sangjin leans in cold as ice. He spits back that Taesu was always barking about knowing his place. Well, it's time the bully learned his, because without his gang, he's absolute garbage. Was it fun? Sangjin mocks. Flexing your daddy's money to act like a god. Choking on his own blood, Taesu keeps hurling delusional threat. He lets the bloody knife clatter onto the pavement, but the adrenaline crashes hard and he drops to his knees, violently throwing up. Wiping his mouth, his eyes harden. He refuses to let himself break down over a piece of trash like Taesu. Smacking his own cheeks to snap out of it, he regains his focus. As the blonde bully bleeds out Sangjin ruthlessly loots the shiny rune right off his dead tormentor. Shaking off the guilt like it's nothing, he locks eyes on his next target, the bald guy. The bald dude literally drops to his knees, begging for a chance to talk it out, swearing they could team up if Zhang just spares his life. But Zhang just keeps stalking forward dead-eyed while the guy desperately pitches how overpowered they'd be together. Pacing closer, our emo boy admits it finally clicked. He gets why Hanzo didn't even bother chasing him down. watching this absolute coward groveling in the dirt. Zhang cringes, realizing just how pathetic he must have looked to the hero. But screw that, he's absolutely done hiding behind someone else's shield. Deep down, all he ever craved was the guts to fight shoulder to shoulder with him, if he hadn't completely chickened out. If he just pushed himself to level up, he could be standing right there next to him, dual-wielding runes like an absolute boss. He knows if he wasn't so ridiculously weak, he never would have been left in the dust. It hits him, he's still that exact same loser from back in the day, tiptoeing around like a terrified ghost, constantly terrified of everyone else. But right here, right now, everything flips. He's desperate to prove he's actually worth something. Eyes completely freezing over, he makes a vow to grind insanely hard until he touches Hanzo's tier. And if he has to literally step on these pathetic trashes to climb the ranks, so be it. That's the only way the hero will ever give him a second glance. Meanwhile, across the ruined city, a swarm of massive black crows dominates the sky. They suddenly dive-bomb Minnie, but she just sucks in a huge breath of air. Triggering her skill, she unleashes an eardrum-shattering sonic scream, instantly knocking the flock right out of the sky. But wait, a massive shadow drops from behind. It's a literal titan of a bird. Kang's blade brutally slices the beast right in half. Zero hesitation, zero sweat. He easily rescues his squadmate while a flustered Minnie admits she basically needed saving. Again. He casually brushes it off, dropping a reality check. Being fiercely independent and soloing everything like a lone wolf. Two totally different things. Tossing her a cut of the mob drops, he breaks it down. If your build has glaring blind spots, the absolute bare minimum is tagging in your team. He tells her she really needs to min-max the pros and cons of her skill set. Pulling up her status window, she realizes it's officially day 3 in this hellhole, letting out a heavy sigh of relief. She silently thanks herself for grabbing those magic and stamina buffs. Otherwise, surviving Hanzo's insane pacing would be literally impossible. Even still, she's gotta stop using him as a crutch. She groans, totally annoyed at herself. Meanwhile, Kang scrolls through her stats, clocking her stamina sitting right at 42. The ultimate meta here is keeping your base stats perfectly balanced, and spotting her flaws was a total breeze considering Minnie's strength and endurance were absolute garbage. Out of nowhere, a blaring system prompt crashes their screen. It orders every single player to sprint back to the spawn zone immediately, warning that any stragglers are gonna face brutal penalties. The girl jumps, noticing a glowing fairy hovering around. From a few feet away, our main guy shouts for her to hustle up. They fall into step beside each other, but the whole trek, she just can't stop sneaking heavy glances at Kang. Catching her staring, he casually asks if she's got something on her mind smoothly, telling her to just relax. There's zero reason to be scared of him. Face completely burning. She stammers that she's fine. Fidgeting like crazy, she finally blurts out, "Are you?" Seeing anyone instantly panicking that she totally crossed a boundary. Internally screaming, she keeps telling herself she shouldn't be catching feelings. But he's just so unbelievably sweet. She simply can't let him slip away. Super anxious. Her mind is actually racing a million miles an hour. Frowning a bit, Kang assumes she's just being overly guarded. Honestly though, he doesn't mind her dropping these random personal questions. Hell, in his past life he would have killed for a super chill normal conversation like this. He clearly remembers how this same girl used to shake so violently she couldn't form a single word. His thoughts drift back to the love of his life, a girl he technically hasn't even met yet in this timeline, and there's no way he's losing her twice, so he just shrugs and mutters, "I don't remember," which obviously makes Minnie panic even more. The two just keep trekking in sheer, awkward silence. Eventually, they hit a massive clearing packed with players. Kang's eyes dart around, instantly recognizing a bunch of familiar faces. But the vibes are heavily off. Without warning, that creepy little guide monster materializes out of thin air, chirping out, "Are all our lovely travelers present?" He clicks his tongue, whining that it's a massive bummer they all gathered way too fast. Then, cutting right to the chase, he drops a bombshell. He's actually got 2 pieces of fantastic news, flashing an absolutely psychotic ear-to-ear grin. The freaky little demon takes the stage. First up, he cheers. "If you guys somehow manage to survive past day 3, I get to ditch this dump forever, bouncing off the walls." He squeals. "Isn't that just insanely amazing? Come on, let's hear it," demanding some heavy applause. But the entire crowd just stares at him, dead silent. The sheer awkwardness visibly annoys the tiny psycho as he glares and, "What cat got your pathetic little tongues?" Terrified, the whole plaza immediately bursts into frantic clapping. Smirking, the demon nods, basically saying, "That's better, stay happy." Then simply wagging one finger, he dramatically announces it's finally time to bring out the real star of the show. He gestures toward the towering palace, hyping it up as the absolute main stage of this twisted event. "Welcome to the magic altar." Staring up at the massive structure, the girl gasps, whispering, "Why the hell are they calling it an altar?" The demon doesn't miss a beat. He casually drops that there's a super cute little pet locked inside, just dying to meet them. Throwing his arms wide, he asks if they can spot it. But that cute pet, yeah, it's a straight-up flesh-eating beast. Oh, and it's been starving for a solid 24 hours. The crowd instantly freezes in pure terror. He flashes a wicked grin, adding that the monster is practically itching to break out and play. With a totally sadistic smirk, he drops the bomb. Sure, the altar looks sturdy, but it's actually super fragile and about to shatter. If that thing gets loose, how long do they honestly think they'd last? Panic spreads as everyone glances around, realizing they might actually have to fight this nightmare when the walls crash down. Chuckling, the demon announces his second piece of good news. Lounging back like he hasn't a care in the world, he reveals there's actually a way to put the beast to sleep. If it's snoozing, it stays put. He playfully asks if anyone knows the secret lullaby, but the crowd goes dead silent, choking on the thick tension. Pouting, he whines that they're way too boring. Dropping the playful act, his voice turns ice cold. The method is dead simple. Just 5 a day. Yep. They just have to feed 5 actual living humans to the beast every single day. The absolute horror hits the crowd, but the demon just keeps rolling. The tutorial only lasts 3 days, meaning 3 feeding times total. By the end, 60 of them get to walk away. But doing the math, a straight-up quarter of the group, the twisted little mascot, shrugs, saying it's take it or leave it. And for anyone thinking about playing the hero, he pulls up a visual. A massive hologram flickers to life, projecting another giant beast. Players are sprinting for their lives on screen while the colossal nightmare completely slaughters them without a single ounce of mercy. Totally unfazed, the demon casually points out that this is life. Watching the absolute bloodbath, reality sets in. The crowd starts whispering that they don't stand a ghost of a chance. They only have one real option. Trembling, someone slowly raises their hand, stammering out the million-dollar question, how the hell do they decide who gets sacrificed? The demon just fires back. How should I know? He scoffs. He tells them to play rock, paper, scissors or just beat each other to death. He couldn't care less as long as they get it done. Flicking his wrist to reveal a ticking timer, they've got exactly 1 hour to make their choice. After the blood is spilled, they get a 24-hour safe zone before the clock resets for the next round of victims. He dips out cheerfully, wishing them luck on making the right choice. Absolute chaos erupts. People are screaming, crying, realizing they're sitting ducks. Minnie shoots a desperate look at our boy, begging to know who he thinks they should throw to the wolves. Closing his eyes, he mutters that the trap is already sprung. The guy from earlier jumps in, trying to play peacekeeper. He pitches, drawing straws, 5 unlucky souls today, 5 more tomorrow. But out of nowhere, a dark smirk flashes and a voice cuts through. Why the hell should we do that? Shaking, the dude in the beanie snaps his head back. The girl's eyes go wide the second she realizes who's talking. It's Song Jin. He steps up, straight up challenging why anyone needs to play fair right now. Someone stutters out, asking what exactly he means, but the guy just doubles down on his cold take. Flanked by his 2 lackeys from earlier, he stares them down. Seriously, why bother being fair? The beanie guy protests, saying he can't just hijack the group when he doesn't even have a plan. Sang Jin tilts his head. Who said I don't have a plan? Casually leaning his hand against a solid concrete pillar, he smirks. My plan is actually insanely simple. Crack. He obliterates the pillar with his bare hands, making the entire crowd flinch. Dusting off his knuckles, he drops his twisted strategy. They're gonna filter out the dead weight. Shooting them an absolutely psychotic glare, he declares they're tossing the 5 most useless people to the monster. Thoughts, he sneers. The crowd is completely paralyzed, jaws on the floor. Soaking in their fear, he realizes he's got them eating out of the palm of his hand just because of one measly strength skill. A dark grin creeps onto his face. He barks at them to snap out of it. They don't have time to overthink this. He reminds them that 100 players have already been wiped off the map trying to brawl with the big dogs. He scoffs, wondering if these weaklings actually grasp how brutal surviving solo is going to be. If they don't cull the herd now, every single one of them is going to end up fighting for their lives. The second we break out of this place, we've got to have each other's backs. Glaring at the guy from earlier, he snaps that they don't need dead weight like him around. Sang Jin, his eyes dead cold, asks, isn't it just common sense to toss the weakest links to the wolves first? He whips around to Han Su, demanding his take on this brutal strategy. Deep down, Sang Jin knows he's entirely morphed into a different person, and he's agonizing over whether Han Su has caught on to his dark shift. He genuinely wants to back him up. Becoming enemies is the last thing he wants, because even trapped in this absolute nightmare, he truly believes he can hit the reset button on his life. But pulling that off means he needs Kang's muscle. Sang Jin is dead certain Han Su will greenlight the twisted idea, totally convinced it's their only survival route. But Han Su flips the script. He casually shrugs, admitting it's not the worst tactic, but drops a total bombshell. He's got a better play, and if they roll with it, Every single one of them walks out alive. Zero sacrifices needed. That absolute flex drops jaws across the room, Sang Jin included. Sweating bullets, Sang frantically tries to guess what kind of wild scheme he's cooking up. The dude rocking the red beanie suddenly snaps back. Barking that teaming up is a straight-up death sentence, even if they try to swarm the beast with sheer numbers. You just can't square up against a freak that literally heals itself by snacking on human flesh. Hansu just tilts his head completely unbothered and replies that he never actually told them to throw hands. Freaking out, the guy stammers, begging for the real game plan. Is Hansu seriously psycho enough to solo this boss? Oozing absolute main character energy, Kang smirks and says, "Yeah, that's exactly the plan." The squad instantly loses their minds. They aggressively demand to know how one guy can possibly tank that nightmare, all by himself. Out of nowhere, another survivor snaps that they aren't just farming low-level goblins anymore. If that thing isn't dead in 60 minutes, it's a hard game over for everyone. Jabbing a terrified finger at the ticking clock, he screams that they've got less than an hour left on the board. Hanging in the back, Sang Jin stays dead silent. He's grinding his teeth, thinking he should have caught up to Hansu's power level by now, only to get hit like a truck by the protagonist's insane aura. A raw strength heavy enough to actually clash with that colossal freak. Catching him completely off guard, Hansu casually drops that he's taking the beast head-on, though he admits it's gonna be a tough grind. That tiny confession sparks a fire in Sang. He totally assumes Hansu is low-key begging for backup. Hyped out of his mind, he jumps in asking if Hansu is officially inviting them to squad up and raid the boss together. Kang just groans, visibly annoyed, muttering that these idiots literally never let him finish a single sentence. Which totally stings Sang Jin, scrambling his brain. He demands to know what Hansu's actual pitch is. Half the mob figures he's about to drag them into the meat grinder with him, until it finally clicks that this overpowered lone wolf would never do that. Cutting straight to the chase, Kang smirks. The master plan is dead simple. If he can just bump his strength and stamina stats by 30 points each, he can absolutely solo the raid boss. He then throws down a massive trade offer for the squad. They just need to fork over all their precious runes. Kang promises he'll carry the whole lobby and obliterate the monster himself. The crowd instantly starts buzzing, whispering if only the designated sacrifices have to cough up their loot, and if that stash will even cut it. Mentally crunching the numbers, Hansu figures that hitting 100 in strength and stamina while pushing agility and perception to 50, plus sparking up a cloud of manic fog smoke, he'd actually have a solid shot at clutching this. Having literally bled through a past life in this exact hellscape, he gambles that the boss stats haven't changed a bit, and if he pulls off this insane stunt, he's securing the ultimate bag. The second mythical hidden item buried deep in the chaos, a god-tier drop that even legends like Chaldean Ares or Kang Tae couldn't get their hands on. The only freak who ever actually unearthed it was Clementine's terrifying Monarch of Wrath. And even with the absolute perfect build to conquer it, that dude barely made it out breathing. So if anyone actually wants to snatch this hidden relic, they gotta juice their stats to absolute god levels first. Shattering the heavy quiet, Hansu coldly states he doesn't give a damn who coughs up the runes. The absolute second his stats hit that magic threshold, he's charging straight into the altar room. He brutally points out that stalling just gets them all killed faster. Sweating profusely, the bald dude snaps back that the low levels could never farm enough runes anyway. And if they actually held that kind of stash, they wouldn't be weak trash in the first place. Losing his temper, he barks at the crowd to just fork over their loot, threatening to draw straws if they can't make up their minds. But someone loudly calls him out for being a selfish prick, instantly hooking his attention. Pissed off, he snarls, daring them to repeat it. A hulking dude with long hair aggressively steps up to the plate. He spits pure venom if they actually followed the rule of sacrificing the weakest links. First Baldy would be the absolute first one shoved onto the chopping block. So, why the hell should anyone surrender their hard-earned drop? The musclehead brutally points out that the power gap between the top tier and the bottom feeders is completely insane. Glaring dead into the bald guy's soul, he sneers, asking if he's acting this tough just to hide his own pathetic rune count. Flashing a cocky grin, the musclehead points out the obvious Baldy is dead weight, and would just ditch them the second things get dicey. Furious, the bald dude snaps back, demanding to know who this meathead thinks he's talking to. But the long-haired guy instantly shuts him down, threatening to snap every bone in his body if he even tries to flex. Panicking, the bald guy stammers out, asking if raw power is the only thing that matters anymore, totally calling him out for having zero respect for his elders. He desperately argues, aren't we supposed to be in a democracy here? The buff guy takes a menacing step forward and smirks. He admits the guy has a point, so they might as well put it to a vote. He gives the bald dude a brutal ultimatum: cough up the runes to survive another day or become monster bait. He jokes that the vote will be totally anonymous, then coldly asks the old man to weigh in. Kang slides over to the bald guy's side. Trembling, the old man whispers that Kang is a total beast and could easily snatch those runes right out of that meathead's hands. He then suggests but before those words even leave his mouth, a fist completely rocks his jaw as someone barks. Do you have a death wish? The guy follows through with the brutal hook, leaving the old man crying that he just wants to survive because he has a family back home. Out of nowhere, another voice pitches a savage idea: toss the boomer to the wolves first. Because if that monster isn't full, every single one of them is getting wiped out. Kang just lets out a heavy sigh watching this absolute dumpster fire unfold. He realizes these fools literally never learned when to just back down. They're going to have to deal with this mess ASAP. As the whole squad keeps bickering and throwing hands, Hansu finally snaps, ordering everyone to shut up. Spreading his hands, he lays out their only lifelines. He drops the reality check. There are exactly 5 paths, and the ones sitting at the absolute bottom of the food chain are right here. Someone in the back instantly screams that it's physically impossible. The crowd completely loses it, screaming and demanding to know if Kang expects them all to just roll over and die. They're throwing absolute curses at him, but our hero just stands there flashing an insanely confident smirk. The clock keeps ticking down, and now they've got less than 30 minutes before the bloodbath officially kicks off. Minnie stands totally alone in front of the altar, completely frozen and clueless. Out of nowhere, Sang-jin rolls up, warning her that if she's going to act this lost, she better just stick with him. He throws in that flushing red, she claps back, asking if he has zero clue how Hansu actually operates. The emo kid instantly catches an attitude at her response. She confesses she totally wanted to tag along with Hansu, but blindly tailing him is a suicide mission. Right then, it clicks for Sang-jin: he's about to get brutally left behind, no matter what. Desperate, he begs to know if she'll wait for him. She immediately drops a hard no, admitting that the hero would lose his mind if she pulled a stunt like that. Honestly, doing that would just make her another useless leech dragging the team down. The panic in the room is off the charts, and Kang aggressively questions what they were even doing, while the rest of the squad was out there actually putting in the work. Sungjin couldn't care less if they were just chilling before, but now, they're about to face some savage consequences. He makes it crystal clear they weren't ditched just because their stats were trash. It was their own pathetic mindset that stopped them from leveling up. He mocks them, asking if they seriously expected him to just baby them and carry the entire team on his back. Then he drops the ultimatum: if they actually want to survive, every single one of them needs to cough up 2 runes. Kang turns to Minnie, telling her that's literally the best deal she's going to get, promising to refund the rest. Once he finishes a brutal 3-day hunting streak, he's going to make things right. Snapping back to reality, Minnie hypes up Hansu, saying the guy always delivers on his promises. Since he's practically carrying the raid, she seriously needs to hustle. She stresses out, wondering if there's any chance she can still catch up. Songjin casually offers her a spot, hyping up how much the squad would totally love having her join their ranks. Flashing a sweet smile, she brushes him off, thanking him but claiming the timing is totally off, promising to get back to him later. She instantly starts walking away. Watching her leave, the emo kid realizes he doesn't even need to see her in a fight to know she's gotten insanely stronger than before. To prove himself, because right now he's just not good enough. He's got to show what he's made of. Suddenly, the meathead barks at him from across the room, demanding a little chat. Deadpan and completely unbothered, Songjin just stares back and asks what his deal is. One of the lackeys sneers, mocking him for being so on edge. The guy waves off his lackey's awkward energy, stepping up with a smirk to introduce himself as Park Seol. Nodding at the crew backing him up, he sizes Sang up, asking if he is calling but the edgy dude is not having it. He scoffs at the title, claiming they are just a squad kicking it together and people just happen to fall in line behind him. Park chuckles, pointing out that is exactly what a boss does. He hypes Sang up, noting how insanely overpowered his crew has gotten, which leaves Sang shifting on his feet, totally weirded out. Dropping the act, Park leans in. He noticed Sang knows a guy named Hanso, and his curiosity is piquing, so he wants to grill him for some intel. Gritting his teeth, the emo groans and caves in. Cut to the altar's interior, where Kang is doing some heavy calculating, realizing standard goblin venom is not going to cut it here. He needs the good stuff, straight up paralyzing toxin. Popping those wing beads, he rides the buff to regenerate a chunk of his stamina. This energy boost is exactly what he needs to activate a rare drop he snagged while grinding, and the clock is ticking. He has to trigger it before all hell breaks loose. Stalking down the stone steps, he mentally checks his stats. His build is heavily unbalanced right now, but honestly, it is what it is. Because going toe-to-toe with that absolute unit of a monster at his current level is just a straight-up death sentence. Whipping out a slick little case, he makes a reckless call, deciding to chain-smoke the absolute life out of those Manic Mist cigarettes. Clamping one between his teeth, a wave of nostalgia hits him. Taking a deep drag, our boy lights up the cursed smoke, letting the manic mist completely flood his system. The power spike is utterly insane. Combining that heavy buff with his eyes lock in sharp and deadly. He smirks, realizing he just forged a top-tier rune that actually matches the brutal difficulty of this twisted world. Here is the catch. The second a rune's stats break past the 100 mark, the colors violently bleed together, triggering a massive evolution. It shifts from totally clear, flashing, bloody red, blazing orange, and finally locking into a blinding yellow. Instantly, his status window goes absolutely crazy. It all starts with a blank, colorless slate. And sure, the gap seems tiny, but bridging that 99.9% jump elevates it from a basic drop straight into becoming just 1% of those colorless runes, and the mutation is already kicking off. In the heat of the brawl, Kang connects the dots. The higher the tier, the more insane the stat gap becomes. A boss like this dropping in the freaking tutorial? No way. So one colorless rune should absolutely do the trick. Gripping his weapon tight, he smirks. The raw essence of a troll is more than enough to totally obliterate this beast. He lunges forward, ready to strike. Kang drops a massive truth bomb. So far, literally only one player has ever bagged this hidden drop. Ever since he spawned into this absolute hellscape, the golden rule has been obvious. The more suicidal the quest looks, the sweeter the loot. Diving straight from above, our guy goes all in, aiming a devastating blow right at the colossal freak. Out of nowhere, players start pouring through the portal, swarming into the altar room. Park, one of the big shots, glares at Songjin. Hesitating for a split second, Songjin finally steps into the arena. Smirking like a total villain, the other leader teases. Wouldn't it be way better if you dragged your little buddies in here too? Songjin nods. Yeah. He turns to the squad. Hurry up, guys, we need to back up Hansu. Here's the deal with this world. Racial traits are a thing. Monster factions, especially the flesh-eating types, are literally born with them. Those carnivores pack two nasty signature moves. Without warning, the beast lunges, aiming straight for our boy. But he completely sidesteps it. Locked in and fully focused, Kang is already predicting the creature's next swipe. The first massive debuff these predators use, raw fear. The monster charges at the hero, throwing its entire body weight into the rush. A massive razor-sharp claw swings right for his face. Whiff, he perfectly dodges again. Backpedaling, he cracks the code. This thing stuns its prey with pure terror, then heals up by munching on them. Dripping with sweat, Kang tracks its movements. The attack pattern hasn't changed at all. He lets out a breath. Why? Because once this flesh-eater maxes out, if it triggers its blood-draining swamp trap, it will literally suck him dry. His internal monologue gets brutally cut off as the monster goes berserk again, smashing the ground into absolute rubble. Thinking fast, the hero realizes trying to match this thing's raw power is a total death wish. His blade would barely even scratch it, but he knows a high IQ strat. Staring down this hulking nightmare, he knows the real play here is crowd control. Lock down its movement. The beast winds up for another strike. Hansu dashes out of the way, his mind racing. He absolutely has to bust through that thick armor. Getting into stance, he zeroes in on the median nerve. Time to deliver a toxic payload. Boom! He lands a devastating heavy slash, slicing precisely into the monster's central nerve system. The beast lets out a horrific, bone-rattling roar. Kang smirks. Yeah, that ought to do it. Grinning like a psycho, he murmurs. Now we just wait until you're paralyzed. Barely 12 minutes left on the clock. The hero winds up again, unleashing a crazy flurry of glowing magic slashes. But the monster actually tanks them. Bouncing back, Kang flashes a totally demonic glare. The creature just stands there seething with pure rage. Still, our guy is completely chill. He casually watches the beast while puffing on his special cigarette. What's happening right now? The fear aura effect, which scales directly off a player's mental fortitude and magic resistance. Honestly, compared to the absolute titans Kang used to fight, this thing is basically sub-tutorial garbage. This boss is an absolute joke. Overflowing with confidence, Hansu knows he can wipe the floor with it. Decades of brutal warfare have hardwired his senses. His survival instinct is totally maxed out. The monster lunges again, and Hansu literally ghosts it, dodging without breaking a sweat. Back in the day when his old war buddy Kang Tae claimed fighting was all about reading the future, our hero just laughed. But now, he totally gets it. He's basically downloading the monster's moveset in real time. He knows exactly where it's shifting, exactly where the hit will land, letting him dodge flawlessly over and over. But hey, just because you see it coming doesn't make it a walk in the park. Hansu admits to himself if he hadn't dumped stats into stamina and strength, pulling off these dodges and counters would be physically impossible. Either way, turning this altar into a fighting ring was absolutely the big brain play, especially with the timer ticking down and zero backup gear. The other squad watches in dead silence, realizing you absolutely cannot sleep on this guy. The long-haired dude is literally speechless, muttering that this can't be real. Their leader just chuckles. Man, Kang looks way too chill right now. Hanging in the back, Sang-jin watches closely, nodding in absolute agreement. Looks like Kang didn't even need those runes, they were probably ripped right out. The squad leader barks an order telling everyone to just stick to the damn script. His wingman gives a quick nod. The mission, sneak down without a sound. But from way off, Song-jin just starts hollering at the top of his lungs, announcing their grand rescue mission. Totally caught off guard, our guy snaps his head up. But Sang-jin is still screaming, begging Hanzo to just hang in there a second longer. Meanwhile, right behind him, Park slams a heavy hand on his shoulder, demanding to know what the hell he thinks he's doing. Park hisses that going stealth was the whole point. But the emo kid claps back, swearing Hanzo absolutely needed to know backup had arrived. Sweating bullets. Park warns him that all this racket is going to pull aggro from a monster, totally losing his cool. Park stammers out his words, asking if that painfully obvious fact somehow slipped Sang-jin's mind. Spinning around, he grumbles that this edgelord is a complete moron. Flashing a goofy grin, Sang-jin just casually drops a "my bad." Down below the chaos, Kang is honestly blown away by how much this kid has actually grown. One of the grunts clicks his tongue, complaining that this clown is going to totally wreck their timeline. But he brushes it off, saying it's zero sweat off their backs. He smirks, adding that the second they wipe out this beast, those two are next on the chopping block. Deep down, a chilling thought hits him. After watching our MC absolutely wreck shop, he knows exactly how lethal Kang really is. This dude isn't just some regular guy. He's a well-fed tiger, an absolute monster who's only chilling right now because his stomach is full. Shaking a bit, the guy realizes it goes way beyond raw power. He literally can't unsee what went down that day, watching our hero solo a whole mob without even blinking. Looking back, it genuinely felt like Kang was out there having the time of his life cracking skulls. And the verdict? Letting a loose cannon that dangerous roam free is a massive no-go. Once they scrub him and his crew from the map, this whole operation belongs to them. Shattering the quiet, the boss barks a cold order to his lackey. Get down there and scope it out. Honestly, at this rate, it's a total cakewalk. The beast is already running on empty. With a knot in his stomach, Jin stalks the group's shady little huddle from a distance. Out of nowhere, a sly smirk creeps onto his face. Catching the vibe, the long-haired guy squints, getting super paranoid about why that idiot went radio silent. But suddenly something forces every single eye to snap up. The very stairs beneath their boots start to violently quake. A massive blast rips through the ceiling right over their heads, and someone screams that the whole damn place is caving in. Pure panic erupts. Slammed onto the concrete, the guy scrambles, trying to wrap his head around how those solid stairs just vanished into thin air. Thinking they were totally cornered, he breathes out a heavy sigh, straight up admitting he is totally gassed. And the beast. It's now standing dead center in front of the squad, glaring at them with pure, unadulterated rage. Plus, the heavy aura choking the first floor is on a whole other level compared to up top. The crew stares down the monster, paralyzed with dread. Shaking Park frantically brainstorms a sneak attack, but then stops frantically looking around. Where the hell did Hanzo go? Spotting our hero slipping away, the long-haired guy barks out, asking what exactly his game plan is. Dripping in cold sweat, the leader stammers, demanding to know why the hero isn't stepping up to cover them. He insists that if they all just jump it together, they could speed run this boss. For a split second, a horrific thought crosses his mind. Is this dude seriously just throwing in the towel? Kang just casually bites down on his cigarette, totally unbothered. Shooting them a look of pure disgust, he flatly drops that he totally would have pitched in if this clown hadn't royally botched the whole setup. And thanks to that epic fail, the monster is about to completely recharge its health bar. Locking eyes with them, he internally notes that the only reason he even dodged those massive hits was because of that lucky distraction. He makes the call right then and there. This pathetic squad is going to get totally wiped. Gripping the venom tight, he runs the raw math once this beast gobbles these fools up. Tracking it down a second time is going to be a massive headache. He'll have to gear up for round 2 all over again. Pivoting toward the stairs, he casually tosses back a good luck soloing that thing, buddy, leaving them to their fate. From the pit below, the guys start screaming their lungs out, demanding to know if he's seriously just going to dip out on them. Jaw literally on the floor, the long-haired guy stutters that Kang straight up abandoned his own boy. Boiling over, he snarls to use the emo kid as bait, but then freezes. Where the hell is the kid? A voice echoes from above, mockingly asking exactly who they're hunting for. Flashing a twisted, devilish grin, he gloats that he figured they'd all just got flattened by that massive blast. Suddenly the gears click in the grunt's head. That's exactly why. The kid had gone totally mute. He nuked those stairs on purpose. Glaring up with pure venom in his eyes, he vows to rip the kid apart. Laughing it off, Jin just taunts him. Bring it on. But he highly doubts they'll even get the chance, considering the monster is currently drooling puddles, just waiting for them to completely freeze up in terror. The ravenous beast just leaks thick saliva. Scanning his trapped squad, the thug finally realizes the horrific truth: this creature is actually savoring every single second of their panic. Things are looking incredibly grim, but the leader barks a warning: if that monstrous beast catches its breath, our hero is totally screwed. Sweating bullets, the guy screams that ditching them now will only backfire violently on Hanso. He's desperate, convinced that teaming up is their only shot at making it out alive. Completely shattering the tension, our boy casually mentions they shouldn't sweat the monster or even the stairs, smirking as he drops a chilling question. "Didn't you guys come here to be bait?" The dude stares back, completely lost. Then the realization hits. The entire squad starts shaking uncontrollably as the little demon's twisted rule echoes in their heads: sacrifice 5 souls every single day. Just 5 meat shields to keep that nightmare fed. A massive shadow looms as the beast's jaws snap inches from their faces. In one brutal gulp, the monster inhales the entire crew. Hanso just watches the carnage unfold from a safe distance, cold-bloodedly stating his tribute to the altar is officially paid. Turning on his heel, he casually strolls back. Jin catches up to him, his voice trembling as he demands to know why Hanso just sentenced them to death, accusing him of dragging those poor fools down here on purpose. Hanso shoots him a deadly glare, warning the kid to watch his mouth. But instead of backing down, the boy's eyes widen. "I finally get it," he whispers. A sudden manic laugh erupts from his chest. His gaze turns ice cold as he declares he finally figured out his true purpose in this hellhole. Dead serious, Jin steps up and begs Hanso to use him as a pawn. Our protagonist just stares back, completely unbothered. Raising an eyebrow, Hanso demands to know why he'd ever bother. Jin shoots back, claiming he sees the truth. Hanso is playing an entirely different game than the rest of these losers. A realization that actually shuts the hero up for a second. The kid pushes forward, pointing out how Hanso calculates every single move without hesitation. Sure, he clapped everyone with insane power, but Jin noticed a crucial detail: Hanso never actually dealt the fatal blow himself. Even when leaving survivors could totally bite him in the back later on. Even when the bloody altar spawned, ignoring the chaotic trash talk around them, Hanso easily had the raw strength to slaughter everyone, but he held back. Jin confesses he's completely baffled by this no-kill rule. Shaking slightly, he insists that playing the pacifist doesn't match the vicious aura the hero radiates. Hanso stays utterly quiet, locking eyes with him. Desperate for a lifeline, Jin doubles down. "Make me your weapon," he pleads. He practically begs to become the executioner, doing the dirty work Hanso avoids, asking only one thing in return: a VIP pass to tag along or at least trail behind his shadow. A dark chuckle escapes Hanso's lips. Stepping into Jin's personal space, he sighs, muttering that things aren't that simple. He admits his recent plays were messy. Clenching his fist tight, he confesses his hands were tied. Feeding those guys to the beast was the only brutal math that solved the problem. Sweating intensely, Jin swears up and down that he'll be the ultimate shield, raising his voice. He promises he'll flip the script, practically begging on his knees for one single shot. He argues that garbage players will always drag Hanso down because his insane skills just paint a massive target on his back. To let the boss move freely, Jin volunteers to be the cleaner, ready to mercilessly eliminate any annoying trash blocking their path. That way, Hanso can keep his eyes locked entirely on the endgame. And let's be real, Jin knows that riding the coattails of an overpowered beast means he's gonna level up like crazy too. But deep down, panic sets in. If Hanso drops his ultimate secret agenda, Jin fears he might get tossed to the curb. Tilting his head with a predatory smirk, Hanso hits him with a brutal hypothetical: what if the plan forces Jin to be the one left rotting behind? With a twisted grin, he literally asks the kid how he'd feel being abandoned in the dark, kicking and screaming for the sake of the mission. Heavy silence crashes over them. Jin's brain goes into overdrive, taking this chilling question as a massive clue. Realizing the second phase of this twisted tutorial is rigged from the start. Gritting his teeth, Jin fiercely vows that if he gets dumped, he'll just grind until he's a monster himself, tracking Hanso down, praying the big boss will finally welcome him back to the squad. A sudden chuckle breaks the tension as Hanso orders him to head downstairs. Heartbroken, Jin panics, thinking he just got rejected again. Closing the gap, he practically whines for just one more shot. Swearing on his life he'll fix every single screw-up. Taking a final long drag of his cigarette, Hanso flicks it away, grinding it into the dirt with his heavy boot. Staring him down, Hanso tells the kid to chill and stop overthinking things. He casually drops a meeting time tomorrow at exactly 1 in the afternoon. Why? Because by then, that nightmare fuel boss lurking downstairs will be completely wiped out. Jin's jaw practically hits the floor. Without missing a beat, Hanso barks his first official command: go claim every single room down there. They're ours now. Since Jin just wiped out those 10 guys, he totally earned the rights to those rooms. Hanso tosses out a quick "catch you later" as he walks off. Jin just stands there, dead silent. Heading out. Hanzo catches himself second-guessing the move, but deep down he knows their paths are bound to cross again. His mind flashes back to Eris pleading with him to rewind time and pull humanity back from the brink of extinction. She warned him about the heavy hitters who would try to sabotage the mission, insisting he needed a ruthless punisher, an enforcer of justice, someone perfectly willing to handle the absolute messiest jobs for him. It's a crucial role not just for Ares, but for every single monarch ruling their chaotic world. Let's be real. Monarchs never get their own hands dirty. They always have some loyal pawn doing the grunt work, bringing them inches from their ultimate goal while they just sit back and watch. At first, Hanzo was totally banking on Eren to fill that bloody role, but now he's seriously considering letting Jin take the wheel. He still doesn't fully trust the guy, but he remembers one harsh truth: the second tutorial is about to violently scatter everyone across the map. When that hits, Jin's whole mindset might completely flip, still dangling a few runes and 8 shiny offerings in front of him. Locking down a top-tier enforcer could totally be worth the gamble. Hanzo knows the stakes. If this backfires, it's game over. No do-overs. But right now, he is dead set on snagging that hidden piece, and he'll crush anyone in his way. He swears to end this madness once and for all. Wondering what massive hurdle comes next, he pulls up the insane requirements for the second hidden piece. The objective, surprisingly straightforward. Before that terrifying carnivorous beast can completely shatter the altar and break out, he has to utterly obliterate it. One-shot it before it moves. But honestly, the system clearly designed this to be straight-up impossible. Out of nowhere, a glowing, mysterious portal tears through the space. The moment he steps through, a system alert pops up: the secret quest is officially complete. Hanzo walks up to a pulsing magical item, his mind racing with what kind of insane loot he just scored. Staring it down, Kang feels a massive rush of adrenaline hit him. The second his fingers brush the cold metal, it clicks. This is Nurmaha's ring, the legendary symbol of the Vampire King. Completely blown away, he can't wrap his head around how the Berserker monarch even got his hands on this beast of an item. No wonder absolutely nobody claimed it before. Nurmaha's ring. Look, there are a ton of different ways to rank an artifact's power level, but the ultimate flex is always its color. A basic low-tier item will literally never beat out an artifact with a superior color grade. But as always, the system loves its loopholes. Just like how players grind to level up their personal runes, growth-type artifacts literally devour runes and mutate their colors over time. But out of all the insane gear out there, one specific item is universally hyped as the absolute pinnacle: the numbered series. Specifically, number 9, Nurmaha's ring. This bad boy is the ultimate signature weapon of Clement. But hey, don't let the numbered series tag fool you. It doesn't mean it's a one-of-a-kind drop. Back in the day, Clement was the only absolute unit terrifying enough to wield it, which is exactly why it carries such massive legendary status. Harnessing the 8 insane authorities packed inside this ring, he absolutely massacred countless players. Kang is practically shaking, mind-blown that he's actually gripping this god-tier loot. Checking its stats, a wicked smirk spreads across his face. He knows exactly how overpowered this is, especially knowing the absolute hell he went through to snatch it. He knew it wasn't some trash drop, but finding out it's an authentic numbered series item, that's insane. Nurmaha's ring. Right now, it's just a colorless artifact. A system prompt flashes. He's got clearance to unlock 1 authority. From his past knowledge, he knows this ring hides a total of 8 game-breaking authorities. But since it's currently at the bottom-tier colorless stage, he can only activate 1. The system chimes in. The Authority of Destruction is unlocked. This absolutely broken skill lets him completely nullify an opponent's individual traits and abilities, literally shutting down their passives and active skills entirely. The only catch: he has to physically touch his target to trigger the wipeout. The second that timer hits 0, the buff instantly wears off. Our boy realizes that casually wiping out his enemy's abilities on command, yeah, that's insanely broken. But to actually milk its full potential, he needs at least 1 stat to perfectly sync up with that blank rune. Breaking it down, it hits him. He's gonna have to grind for a ton of magic runes moving forward. Out of nowhere, he steps through the gateway right by the altar. Kang struts off into the distance, leaving the girl absolutely shook as she screams his name. Minnie mentions the rumor that Kang finally butchered that flesh-eating beast, but her hype instantly morphs into pure dread. A massive pitch-black shadow creeps up, swallowing the entire street. The clock just completely zeroed out. Time is officially up. The squad stares in disbelief as the altar straight-up vanishes into thin air. Kang just hits Minnie with an "I told you so." Flashing a smirk, he flexes that he promised to handle business and actually wiped that monster off the map. Catching that vibe, Minnie turns totally red. She awkwardly fixes her hair and gives a shy nod. The emo kid Jin realizes Kang actually pulled it off, totally cementing his faith in the guy. Hansu points out they probably have a little breathing room before the next tutorial. He tells Minnie she needs to start grinding some kills. Shaking off her nerves, she calls out to Kang. She drops the bomb that she actually wants to go her own way for a bit. Minnie confesses she just isn't strong enough to stand by his side right now. Whenever she hangs around him, she ends up getting way too dependent. With a gentle smile, she mentions that thankfully Jin offered to tag along and watch her back. Backing her up, Jin hypes her up, saying she's super welcome in the school. Glancing over at Kang, Minnie feels a sting of regret but genuinely believes splitting up is the absolute best move. Kang figures they'd probably end up scattered anyway once the next tutorial drops. He totally gets she's looking out for her own survival, which is completely fair, so he lets her know it's a solid choice. After dropping that, he casually walks away, leaving Minnie standing there in total silence. But a second later, she screams at him to hold up. She swears that the next time their paths cross, she won't fold so easily. Flashing a grin, she promises they'll reunite. With that, Kang shoots them a smirk and waves goodbye. They both lock in on the fact that they'll definitely see each other again. Then he shifts his focus to Jin, flashing back to when the emo kid begged Kang to bet on him. Kang drops a heavy line. If Jin is actually dead serious about this, the ball is entirely in his court. Just hearing that single sentence sends Jin into absolute overdrive, totally hyped. Fast forward 1 week. That creepy little demon has rounded up every single survivor. He announces the waiting game is officially over and drops the news the second tutorial is kicking off right now. Flashing a seriously twisted grin, the little freak jokes that way too many of them actually survived. With a quick snap of his fingers, he announces a massive scenery change. Suddenly, the ground starts glowing, catching everyone off guard. While they're frantically trying to figure out what's happening, they realize a blinding light is radiating right from under their shoes. A terrified little girl clings to her dad for dear life. Meanwhile, our guy Hansu just stands there totally unbothered. He already knows exactly what's going down. The second tutorial, in a completely different zone, the crowd gets teleported and is seriously freaking out, desperately trying to figure out where the heck they just landed. The girl is absolutely paralyzed with fear. That little psycho demon Diabolus pops back up and asks if the whole gang is here. The system chimes in, announcing a brutal catch. Before stepping into the tutorial, they gotta trim down the player count. One survivor, totally losing his mind, screams at the sky, demanding to know what trimming the player count actually means. The system coldly clarifies the new hardcore rule: this room is instantly capped at a strict maximum of 7 players. Bottom line, the system repeats its brutal warning: no room is allowed to hold a single soul over 7. Sweat beads on his forehead. Damn it. He just clocked that exactly 8 people are crammed into this room. A cold system prompt echoes through the space, revealing a twisted rule: every zone gets a unique scenario, but the nightmare kicks off exactly the same way across the board. It casually tosses the deadly dilemma out there, commanding the group to hash it out amongst themselves. One survivor clenches his jaw, cursing his own luck. He totally knew. Cruising through the early stages felt way too easy, silently agonizing over their next move. Squinting at Hansu's gear, a random guy scoffs, pointing out his blade looks weirdly pathetic, literally just an oversized needle. He seriously doubts if this dude is built for survival. Meanwhile, Hansu casually brushes it off, admitting he hasn't even flexed his actual skill yet though. Dropping it would definitely drop jaws. Stepping up to break the ice, a woman pitches a seemingly innocent idea: the remaining crew needs to team up and watch each other's backs. But she ruthlessly points out the elephant in the room: someone has to bite the dust. Flashing a wicked smile, she throws down a challenge. It's time for an impromptu flex battle. Everyone needs to state their case, lay out their stats, and literally prove why they deserve to breathe. Reeking of overconfidence, a muscular dude struts to the front, volunteering to kick things off. Oozing sheer ego, he drops his name, fully convinced nobody in this room could even scratch him. He boldly brags that he's absolutely not the one you vote out. Hanging back in the shadows, Hansu silently analyzes the guy, instantly recognizing the faint aura of chi art. He knows exactly what this rare trick does. It's a high-tier passive that burns mana to massively hijack your physical stats. On top of that insane buff, you can coat your weapon in raw magical energy, which this absolute tryhard is already doing to show off. Honestly, chi art is straight up broken in the early game. Still, Hansu's veteran eyes catch the flaws. This guy's mastery is completely garbage. But hey, an overpowered crutch is still better than rocking base stats. Not backing down, the redhead cuts in, aggressively claiming that if we're talking pure utility, he's the undisputed VIP. Introducing himself as Kangmin, he drops the ultimate bombshell: he's running a healing build. Arms crossed, looking dead serious, another player steps up, claiming he's a hardcore melee specialist. Suddenly, absolute terror grips a weaker survivor, who spirals into a full-blown panic attack, hysterically begging the group not to turn on each other. He desperately pleads for mercy, crying out that he needs to protect his family. That heavy confession completely kills the vibe, dropping a suffocating silence over the room. Annoyed, the arrogant guy pivots to the girl who sparked this whole debate, daring her to put her money where her mouth is, faking a shy blush. She softly introduces herself as Jimin. Pretending to be utterly terrified, she stutters out that she'll show off her skill. Shaking like a leaf, the blonde dude freaks out, demanding to know why she's creeping into his personal space. As she zeroes in, he snarls a warning, threatening to wreck her if she pulls any stupid move. In a split second, a brutal impact shatters the tension. Jimin ruthlessly triggers her skill, plunging a blade deep into the guy's spine. The entire room completely freezes in absolute horror. Even the desperate family man watches the slaughter, completely paralyzed. Standing over a fresh corpse, Jimin greedily scoops up the dead guy's runes, a twisted smirk painting her face as she whispers about hitting the jackpot. Playing the innocent card again, she giggles, admitting she totally blind guessed that drop, but she's absolutely snagging that new skill. Flashing an angelic smile, she casually offers to split the leftover loot with the terrified crowd. A sharp survivor instantly clocks her psycho energy, making a mental note to keep this crazy chick at arm's length. Chilling in the back, Hansu lets out an exhausted sigh as the chaos unfolds. He smirks to himself thanks to some total noob throwing away a god-tier skill. This entire death game just got put on easy mode. The butterfly effect is real. Players who got wiped out in his past life are somehow breathing right now, completely derailing the original timeline, grinning like a menace. Hansu is totally hyped for this wild new direction. Out of nowhere, the creepy little demon poofs back into existence, casually dropping that this bloodbath secured the quota for 7 players way faster than the other zones. Clapping its tiny hands, the fiend announces it's lore drop time. Bragging that words aren't enough, it rips open reality to reveal a mind-bending surreal landscape, officially introducing it as the Path of Ascension. The quest objective: dead simple. They literally just have to grind their way up this massive trail for 3 grueling months until they hit the massive volcano, quietly slumbering dead center of the 2nd floor. Only after they survive this brutal second phase of the tutorial will the real unhinged world finally unlock. Dropping a sarcastic good luck, the gremlin glitches right out of reality. Trailing right behind a fearless Hansu, the squad starts trekking across the eerie bridge. Trying to kill the suffocating awkwardness, one guy desperately hypes up the squad, begging them to squad up and play nice. Watching our OP lead just casually strutting ahead, another player gets visibly triggered, silently raging over Hansu's cocky attitude. But right then, someone catches a horrifying sound. Kang snaps his neck around, only to watch in sheer terror as the massive bridge crumbles into the abyss. Zero hesitation. The crew immediately books it, sprinting for their absolute lives as the ground gives way. After a total adrenaline-fueled dash, they finally crash onto solid ground, completely gasping for air. That freaky little demon pops up, flashing a wicked smirk. Oops. Did I forget to drop the memo that the bottom of the island is literally sinking? He casually adds that the bridges crumble even faster over time. So watch your step. The squad just glares at him, absolutely fuming. Like seriously, that would have been nice to know from the start. In the background, the brawler shouts at the hero, demanding to know where he's wandering off to. Pissed off, he trashes Hansu, calling him a total antisocial freak. But Jimin, who's honestly a bit unhinged, pitches the idea to tail him instead. He looks super confident, she says. Dude definitely knows exactly where he's heading. The entire crew decides to shadow Kang, pushing their way deep into a heavily overgrown forest. Hours drag by. The brawler starts whining about 0 bridges in sight and aggressively demands to know where the hell Hansu is dragging them. We've been staring at the exact same trees on loop. Where's the exit? He growls. Totally fed up, he snaps. How much longer are we going to keep walking? Suddenly, his anger shifts to curiosity when he spots Hansu munching on something. What even is that? Hansu nonchalantly replies that it's oak bark. It works as a poison antidote, he explains. Bewildered, the guy starts asking why he'd ever need that when boom, a massive, terrifying snake lunges out of nowhere. But Hansu's reflexes are insane. He yanks the guy by his collar, slamming him into the dirt and dodging the lethal strike by mere inches. Hansu's face instantly lights up. He finally bagged exactly what he was hunting for. Trembling and totally spooked, the brawler stutters, asking how Hansu even sensed the ambush. Shrugging it off with 0 emotion, Hansu just casually blames it on his superpowers. Completely mind-blown, the guy watches the beast sink its fangs deep into Hansu's arm, but instead of flinching, Hansu strikes right back at the viper. You stubborn piece of work, Hansu mutters. This monster. It's a fully grown runic snake, and its whole vibe violently shifts depending on the glowing runes stamped on its head. The catch: there is literally 0 logic to those shifts, making its attack patterns wildly unpredictable. Sweating and stressed, the fighter realizes this thing's relentless combo attacks leave absolutely no breathing room to heal up. He suddenly recalls this guy Ancho dropping a cheat code to beat them, but at this crazy speed, that strategy is totally useless. Furious, he spins around to glare at the pathetic family cowering behind him. Why aren't you doing anything, he barks, ordering them to stop using him as a meat shield. The dad stammers, nervously apologizing while claiming his family's safety comes first. That weak excuse just pushes the fighter straight over the edge. Having a family has literally nothing to do with throwing a punch, he roars. Are you guys actively trying to get killed? Pivoting his rage, he snaps at the spectacled mage. What's your excuse, huh? You don't have a family to play bodyguard for. Pushing up his glasses with a totally twisted smirk, the mage coldly replies that he can't risk getting bruised up in combat. He smugly argues that a wounded healer is useless to the squad. Dripping with sarcasm, the brawler scoffs. Oh, so that sword is just for aesthetics then. But even he has to admit the twisted logic holds up. The guy is their only healer after all. Looking overly pleased with himself, the mage drops a gentle reminder. My healing spells cost 3 strength runes, a pop, by the way. The brawler is absolutely stunned into silence. Sheena glances over at the fuming brawler. So, what's your play here? Completely drained and pissed off, he just trudges forward through the tall grass. He mutters to himself, genuinely wondering if he's the only one slowly losing his mind in this app. Meanwhile, Four Eyes, the smug mage, keeps poking the bear, blatantly baiting the brawler to swing it. Meanwhile, Hansu rings someone up using his tech. It's Keel on the line. Who hits him with? So what's the vibe with the new squad? The guy groans. Ugh, don't even get me started before flipping the question to ask how things are holding up on Keel's end. The voice on the other end shrugs it off. Could be worse. Apparently some rescue guy from the next floor up is making some noise. Says he urgently needs to scout some fresh recruits along the way, to buff up the team. Hearing this, the guy starts severely stressing out, racking his brain over who he could realistically draft. Out of the absolute dumpster fire of options he's stuck with, his mind drifts to Hansu, the dude casually claiming he's packing literal superpowers. Then there's Jimin, who's totally unhinged, not to mention the insanely crafty Mary rocking those glasses. Oh, and how could he forget that family of, let's politely call them noobs with serious skill issues, right? Wrapping it up, he emphasizes that surviving is the absolute top priority. I'll hit you up later, he says, quickly signing off with the captain. Looking totally suspicious, the protagonist just glares at the brawler. He quietly mutters that it's way too early for anyone sporting monarch traits to have them acting up already, noting that this crazy aura is a core attribute all monarchs possess. It's straight up the power to command an entire squad, crowning you an absolute monarch. This kingpin blesses their crew with an exclusive ride or die crest. Rocking this mark instantly supercharges their loyalty, linking everyone's minds and letting the whole faction vibe telepathically. But there's a catch. The leader can only draft a handful of fighters into this elite circle, so right now they're sweating bullets trying to scout more heavy hitters. Realizing this, our boy knows that if he wants to clash with these overlords, he's got to build his own empire. Because in this world, if you want people to listen, you've got to flex enough raw power to make them freeze. Fast forward and the battlefield is an absolute graveyard of shredded runic lizards and vipers. He scans the bloodbath, guessing the horde finally bailed since the kill count is dropping flat. Pushing forward, he tracks the scent right to the lair of the mutated runic serpent. This is it, the ultimate prize he's been hunting. And man, this mutated freak dwarfs every other monster out there. Armored in pitch-black scales. It's the legendary rune-devouring serpent. Trembling in the back, the squad's dad begs everyone to chill. Do we seriously need to beef with this colossal nightmare, he stammers, praying they can just ghost the beast. But Hansu shoots him an icy glare. If you're too scared, walk away. I honestly couldn't care less. The old guy stutters, preaching that they need to stick together like a proper party. Kang just smirks, shaking his head. You got it all twisted, man. I was never rolling with your crew. He shrugs, brushing them off. We just happened to be walking down the same path. But this is where we cut ties. The girl sighs, admitting it's a lost cause, leaving the dad panicking, screaming about who's gonna tank the boss now. Jimin flashes a dark smile. We can't drag to him into this. She then side-eyes the dad. What about you? You gonna chicken out too? That blunt reality check leaves him completely stunned. Swallowing his fear, he tells them to push forward. The brawler is super weirded out by Kang's solo act. He knows the guy is stubborn as a mule, but bailing right before a boss fight, wild. The doctor squints at him. Why are you just standing there? He snaps. If you're plotting to drag that kid back, drop it. The fighter exhales hard. Look, all this time, he's the only dude. I haven't patched up. Lone wolves like him. They don't take orders. And judging by that reckless aura, he's definitely not the type to survive out here. Hansu thinks it's a massive waste of talent, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, back at the deathmatch, The titanic snake lunges, jaws snapping shut where he stood a millisecond ago. He weaves through the strike with his agility rune burning bright, but the second he unequips the speed buff, the Viper snaps back with a blinding counter. He rushes the beast head-on, swinging his massive warhammer like a meteor, realizing instantly that this monster hits way harder and moves way faster than that trash-tier boss from the tutorial. Still, it doesn't hold a candle to the absolute terror of the carnivorous beast. Reading its attack patterns, our boy figures out its trick. Every time he swings, the serpent shifts its resistance rune, nerfing his damage to 0. He knows dragging out the fight won't exactly kill him, but frankly, dealing with this sponge is just super annoying. He smirks. Beating this freak is actually low-key easy. He spots a twisted knot of trees in the center of the zone built exactly like a nest. His new strat: completely ignore the boss and nuke its home base. Because maternal instinct will kick in, forcing it to drop its armor buff to shield the eggs. Sprinting straight past the Viper toward the nest, he baits it perfectly. But then he slams on the brakes, pivoting on a dime to rush the giant snake, drilling into its unarmored flesh with a chaotic flurry of needle strikes. Gotcha, he grins, wiping the blood off. That was way faster than I thought. The loot drop. The legendary egg of the rune-devouring serpent. Cracks spiderweb across the shell. Right there in his palms, the legendary rune-devouring serpent egg is pulsing wildly, reacting to the fresh rune he just snatched up. The shell starts straight up shattering, radiating this crazy intense energy. And boom, a brand new life bursts right out of the fragment. Meet the baby rune-devouring serpent in all its glory. This little guy swallows runes whole and spits them back out in a heartbeat. But here is the insane cheat code. This baby snake gobbles up 3 random runes and hurls up 2 specific ones, totally handpicked by its master. Basically, you toss in 3, and you get 2 guaranteed god-tier drops in return. He figures the snake can feast on whatever trash runes it wants later, but right now, securing the exact buffs he actually needs is the absolute top priority. Realizing he desperately needs to tank up his magic and physical defenses first, he tells the tiny serpent to go take a well-deserved nap. And just like that, Phase 1 of his master plan is officially in the bag. Now it is time to bounce from this sketchy zone before things go south. Cut to a terrified kid whispering, "Dad, where are we going?" The father desperately hushes him, his eyes frantically scanning a busted map. He realizes the map is total garbage, barely showing any landmarks. Moving blind in a war zone where literally anything could be lurking in the shadows is a massive death wish. Panicking about finding a single safe spot on this cursed island, the dad starts boiling with rage, imagining the worst-case scenario. All because their so-called squad left them in the dirt to die. Suddenly, his wife freezes. She heard something rustling deep in the bushes. Shaking like a leaf, the dad throws his arms out to shield his family, stammering, "Is it a monster or another player?" But the dude stepping out of the shadows, it is Kang Hansu. He raises an eyebrow, asking what on earth this family is doing out here. Sweating bullets, the dad asks if Hansu was actually eating the monster, the very beast he went to face. Without missing a beat, Kang casually drops that he already slaughtered the thing. Dropping his jaw, the father gasps, "Wait, you actually killed it, and you came back with barely a scratch. It seriously hasn't even been that long since they split up." Ignoring the massive praise, the overpowered hero just coldly asks. Hearing that the dad completely unloads the whole messed up story. Flashback time. His family got brutally dumped by their own toxic team. The dad had pleaded that splitting up was straight up suicide, but the squad commander just let out a heavy, annoyed sigh. The jerk totally assumed that this guy just wanted to leech off the team and chill while the heavy hitters did all the dirty work. Jimin immediately backed up the frontline fighter, ruthlessly complaining that they had already lost their top player and babysitting dead weight like this family was just a massive headache. Even the doctor bailed, claiming he had to stick with the highest damage dealers to survive. Fuming with anger over the ultimate betrayal, the dad explains how the team ditched them and actually barricaded the path just to guarantee the family couldn't tag along. Absolute scumbag. Muttering about what absolute idiots they are and how utterly disrespected they got, the exhausted father turns to Hansu and asks where he is heading next. The badass just shrugs and says they need to keep moving because he's already wasted way too much time chatting. But the wife urgently nudges her husband, whispering that they absolutely need to shadow this guy. So the family quietly starts trailing right behind our main character. Glaring over his shoulder, he snaps at them. "What exactly are you doing?" Panicking hard, the dad stammers out a weak excuse, claiming that since the hero said they were never teaming up, his family is technically just walking down the exact same road by total coincidence. Ignoring that massive cap, Hansu mentally chuckles at how brutally obvious the guy is being. He sighs, telling them to do whatever the hell they want since he is going to solo everything in his path anyway. Fast forward a bit, and Hansu is out here absolutely obliterating wild monsters left and right. Pushing forward is a total brutal grind, but thanks to the bloodbath, his stats are skyrocketing through the roof. Wiping his blade, he sets his tiny serpent on the dirt to snatch up a fresh rune. He smirks, realizing it was an absolute galaxy brain move, to heavily invest in maxing out his defensive stats before literally anything else. Right now, the little beast is happily gobbling down a rare life rune, humming a chill tune to himself. He watches his personal stats spike like crazy, especially his untouchable tankiness. Our boy just stares at his combat knife, already planning to slice up the monster remains and cook up a hardcore survival feast. Watching from the sidelines, the daughter is totally blushing, absolutely starstruck by how insanely overpowered and cool Kang is getting. She nervously asks if they should step up and fight too, but her dad quickly shuts it down, whispering that there is zero need for that. They just need to stick together and let the pro handle it. This right here, it honestly feels like a straight-up blessing from the gods. Now all they gotta do is secure a safe zone to crash. Their absolute best bet, trailing right behind our main guy. The trio completely sprints after him, desperately pushing their limits, just to match his The girl is totally lost in thought. Where on earth is he heading next? Suddenly, she spots him vanishing into a dark, massive tunnel. He marches forward, dead set on his path, with the family practically glued to his shadow. But honestly, they are absolutely shaking in their boots. Spotting other survivors scattered down the passage, it hits her. Was this their ultimate destination the entire time? The guy is beyond hyped. They made it through without a single scratch, and more importantly, his whole family completely shares that massive sigh of relief, absolutely buzzing with hope. Catching wind of the family finally rolling up, the guy glances over his shoulder and instantly spots our main character making his grand entrance. He is totally blown away that the dude came back alive and completely unscathed. Out of nowhere, that creepy little demon struts right up to the dad, calling him out for making a massive racket, especially for a guy who showed up dead last to the party. He casually drops that he is sealing the gate since they were the absolute final stragglers. Bam! He slams the heavy door shut in a flash, sending pure shockwaves of panic straight through the entire family. Snapping his fingers with a totally twisted grin, he announces that the massive main event is kicking off right freaking now. Throwing his arms wide, he sarcastically welcomes all the fresh meat to the first layer of the floor. He points out that exactly 75 players are still breathing. Honestly, pretty solid numbers. He praises their wild luck for not dropping like flies along the way. But then things get incredibly intense. He explains this specific event hits differently. It is an all-out token war. Flash a glowing system prompt instantly pops up right in front of it. The little freak completely breaks it down. You want to move, you gotta burn those tokens. The ultimate goal, escape this completely crumbling first floor before it caves in and hitch a ride over to another island. He brutally warns them that obviously some islands are pure death traps, swarming with monsters and totally surrounded by boiling lava. But if Lady Luck is on your side, you might just touch down on a central or southern island completely stacked with insane loot. Getting totally hyped, he mocks how everyone obviously wants the easy treasure islands. But where is the thrill in that? To keep it super spicy, he drops some hardcore rules. Each single boat fits 3 players maximum, and to even step foot on one, you need a bare minimum of 3 tokens. Here is the brutal catch: if 3 players pool exactly 3 tokens together, they get totally split up and ripped apart, teleported to completely random islands. Could be a prime central zone or some absolute wasteland miles away. Now, if a duo burns 3 tokens, they survive together, but it is pure roulette. They completely lose the right to pick their landing spot. But if a solo player flexes all 3 tokens, they get VIP access to wherever they want. The whole crowd completely panics, but our main guy, he does not even flinch. Smirking, he drops a line about sympathy, putting the puzzle together in his head. She was literally the absolute last one, meaning all the strong players who could have leveled up already dipped, leaving exactly 1 lonely boat behind. Gripping his map, he analyzes the layout. The outer edge islands are rapidly crumbling into nothingness, and the danger levels on each specific island. It is going to be a total mix, meaning securing a top-tier position right now is an absolute life or death situation. The demon chimes back in, cheerfully announcing they have exactly 30 minutes on the clock before the entire first floor gets completely wiped off. Oh, and there are only 25 boats heavily scattered around the giant crater. Flashing a deeply twisted smile, he screams at them to start the absolute bloodbath. He brutally orders them to claw their way to survival by any means necessary because honestly, in mere seconds, absolute bedlam breaks loose. Players aggressively start screaming like wild maniacs, demanding each other's tokens. Tensions totally snap and full-blown brawls erupt everywhere, with desperate voices violently begging not to be. Cutting right through the madness, someone turns to Hansu, claiming that this right here is the terrifying start of an inevitable. Frantically shouting out his actual name, which instantly makes our stoic hero snap his intense gaze over. It is the dad. He literally drops to his knees, utterly broken, completely crying out for Hansu to save his family just this one single time. Panic written all over his face, the guy practically begs, stammering that he absolutely needs more tokens to make it to the central island in one piece. He points out Hansu's insane strength, scrambling to promise he can scavenge tokens or literally anything else if he just helps. He even pitches a shady idea, jumping other players for their tokens just to draw the target family out of hiding. In his frantic mind, if our main character pulls this off, making it to the safe zone before the clock runs out would be a total breeze. Smashing his forehead into the dirt in a full bow, he pleads that Hansu would be rescuing totally innocent lives. But Hansu, ice cold, he just stares down at him, deadpan. Still on his knees, the dude keeps groveling, desperately crying out for a miracle. He keeps whining relentlessly, completely ignoring some random guy in the back screaming at him to shut the heck up. Closing the gap, Hansu violently boots him straight in the chest, sending him sprawling. Yanking him up by the collar, Hansu growls that he's getting seriously annoying, demanding to know if he's actually going to listen for once. Stepping in, another player throws an invite to Kang Hansu, pitching that if he rolls with their crew, scoring those extra tokens would be an app. He straight up admits that even after ditching his old squad, he still despises every single one of those losers. Clenching his fist with intense hype, he smirks and asks if Kang vibes with that same ruthless energy. Plus, since Hansu is clearly built different, he totally belongs. He goes on to hype up a crazy new power. His teammate just awakened something way beyond a basic skill. And the kicker, if Kang joins up, he can unlock that exact same overpowered ability. The guy flexes that he's already pitched Hansu to the boss, and the big man practically gave it the green light on the spot. But before he can even finish his villain monologue, our hero shuts him down cold. A flat-out rejection. The brawler blinks, completely stunned his brain, totally short-circuit. Scrambling to recover, he insists they aren't like those low-level scrubs, claiming Hansu just doesn't grasp the insane value of rolling with a top-tier clan. Unfazed, our guy fires back that he knows exactly what clan politics are all about, flashing back to the bittersweet bonds and heavy burdens he carried with his old comrades in a past life. But in this timeline, he absolutely refuses to be anybody's lackey. Taking orders now would Han Gil sighs, muttering that it is what it is, and casually tosses a shiny token into the dirt. He brags about snatching it right off that pathetic crybaby earlier, smirking that it's a massive bummer Hansu turned them down. But hey, a guy can't always get what he wants in this twisted game. Vibing with a toxic energy, he announces he's heading to the central island to link up with the squad, tossing out the token as a parting gift. Internally though, Kang brushes off the cheap trick. To him, it's a total waste of breath that literally doesn't matter anymore. A blonde dude creeps up, eyes glued to the dropped loot, while another guy snarls that if Hansu isn't taking it, it's free real estate. Instantly, the greed takes over. The entire mob rushes the drop token like a pack of... One desperate player snatches it first, sparking an absolute brawl as the crowd violently tears into each other for the prize. In the absolute chaos and lunging straight at the little girl's dad, who's sobbing and begging for his life. The psycho with the blade snatches the kid by her coat, grinning sickly that since they're a family, he'll send them to the lobby together in style. The whole zone explodes into deafening screams, spiraling into total terrifying anarchy. It's almost like this poor family was tossed into this nightmare just to serve as sick entertainment, proving that no matter how hard you fight the system, even your final breath is completely rigged in this twisted place. Suddenly, Jimin breaks Hansu's focus, raising an eyebrow as she questions why on earth he fumbled Hanjil's crazy offer. He just brushes her off, muttering he's got his own motives, and sharply asks why she's so nosy anyway. Flashing a deeply unsettling smirk, she drops a bombshell. She's also repping a major clan, throwing down her own invite for him to tag along. He barely even thinks about it, just slowly shaking his head no. She chuckles, smiling like she fully expected that exact vibe. But before dipping out, she pauses, holding up a finger for one last fiery question. She leans in, testing the waters. Is he genuinely sticking around in this wild zone? Laughing it off, she admits that hero act just doesn't fit his ruthless aesthetic. The two lock eyes in an intense stare-down, neither of them backing down an inch. And nobody will ever know what went down in this abyss, because the ones left behind can't even save their own skin. Deep down, he knows these are the exact same souls he could have easily dragged out of hell in another life. But right now, in a twisted tutorial, where that fairy holds absolute god-tier power, playing the hero is impossible. He only has one brutal choice left. Gripping his weapon until his knuckles turn white, he whispers a hollow apology to the doomed crowd, fully aware of the nightmare waiting for anyone who fails to reach the lower island. A literal ocean of lethal, bubbling poison. Meanwhile, that psychotic little fairy is having the time of its life, grinning ear to ear as human bodies melt down to sludge one by one. He just stands there, watching the slaughter unfold, utterly powerless to stop the bloodbath. He mutters that these guys can hate his guts all they want, but honestly, instead of letting them suffer and get exploited until their dying breath. Cutting them loose now is his own twisted version of mercy. Fast forward, and a cold breeze sweeps through the boat. The devil smirks, calling his ruthless move absolutely mind-blowing. He never saw that coming, though he complains that the whole massacre felt way too easy. Busting out laughing, the demon hypes Kang up as a legit rising star, telling him to chill out. Because his dark little secret, it's completely safe with him. Staring off, Kang hardens his resolve. No regrets. He didn't rewind time to play the saint and save every random NPC. He came back to speedrun this death game and secure the ultimate win. His next massive target, the Central Island. The system flashes red, welcoming the 1,921 surviving travelers to the ultimate land of opportunity, a blood-soaked paradise known as the Central Island. Now there are 3 golden rules in this zone. Rule number 1, defend the castle guarding the core crystal at all costs. Rule number 2, grind and level up like crazy inside the underground dungeon, literally the only monster hub in the entire region. And the final rule, a massive monster wave is coming to wipe you out, so brace for impact. Up on the walls, archers are firing desperately into a swarm of undead, as sword-wielding warriors clash in a brutal, bone-crushing frontline battle. If they can just hold out against this wave, they secure their lives for one more day, so backing down is absolutely not an option. One broken dude collapses in the dirt, crying that he is totally tapped out, begging for a rescue just so he can survive another miserable month. A commander screams at his face, ordering him to hold the damn frontline. Cut to a war room where a guy violently slams his fist on the table, roaring that they need to set some hard rules right now. He snaps that their defenses completely crumbled on day 1, resulting in a devastating amount of casualties. Meet Park Young-wook, the powerhouse MK, representing the Monarch clan. He spits out that if this chaotic mess continues, that Crystal is as good as shattered. Hearing this, Yoo-hyun from the Gwahan Monarch clan steps in, suggesting they put a pin in this drama until the remaining Monarch heavyweights show up. But Han Shu of the Nawan Monarch clan brushes it off, smirking that the real top tiers are already in the room, so who cares? Then Duke Lee from the Smoke Monarch clan chimes in, crossing his arms and demanding to know what the hell the actual game plan is. Park barks back that their absolute biggest flaw is zero manpower and trash defense. His solution: round up all the solo players and drag them into the clans using brute force if they fight back. Shia quickly shoots that down, arguing they have zero leverage over these rogue guildless wanderers. But Park doubles down, glaring around the room, insisting they crack down on the strays, even if it means spilling blood. Because with a massive raid on the horizon, there's absolutely zero guarantee they survive round 2. Right on cue, the red-haired guy asks if the clan alliance actually managed to draft anyone. He points out that if they merge their elite squads with the outsiders, they might actually have a rock-solid shot at defending the walls. However, another guy drops a reality check. They need to closely monitor the insane amount of players flooding into the underground dungeons, because it's turning into a massive ticking time bomb. That dark grindfest caused their numbers to skyrocket, and now, they're practically matching the Clan Alliance player for player. This shadowy mob of rejects banded together, forming an absolute wildcard faction calling themselves the Basement Alliance. By the time they actually made a move, they'd completely slipped through the Clan Alliance's fingers. So he throws out the million-dollar question. How is a strictly defensive squad like the Clan Alliance supposed to handle these loose cannons? His bright idea: throw the Forsaken clan straight onto the dungeon's brutal front lines. Right on cue, one of the monarchs cuts in. If that's the play, he argues, the smaller clans need to step up as the meat shield first, all just to keep their own body count low. Chewing anxiously on her thumbnail, the purple-draped monarch speaks up. She mutters that things wouldn't be this messed up if the original 1900 survivors had just stuck to guarding the base. In the beginning, everyone pitched in holding the line simply because their lives literally depended on it. But then the greed kicked in. Players started crawling back from the dungeon, flexing totally busted gear, getting seriously overpowered. Before long, the entire defense crew started ditching their posts, diving headfirst into the abyss to get their own slice of the pie. Now she's stressing over the impossible. How on earth are they going to guard the crystal for another grueling 30 days? Suddenly, the tension shatters. A guy strolls up from behind, flashing this massive, almost insanely cheerful grin. Jimin casually waves them off, swearing he isn't here to throw hands today. He actually came bearing some top-tier intel. He casually drops a bomb. Some absolute madman is currently going berserk, single-handedly wiping the floor with the Basement Alliance. The news hits his colleague like a literal truck, leaving him completely paralyzed in shock. The whole room freezes, totally blindsided by her bold statement. Cut to the absolute chaos unfolding outside. A dude is groveling in the dirt, screaming for his life. Suddenly, a razor-sharp blade flashes through the air. Bam! It's our MC's signature needle weapon tearing straight into the guy's shoulder with bone-crushing force. Calmly puffing on a cigarette, Hansu looks down and coldly tells the punk he's off the hook. The catch. Starting tomorrow, everyone drags their dead weight to the top floor to fight. Shaking like a leaf, the battered guy just begs him to stay back. Sprawled out in the dirt, reality finally smacks him in the face. He is painfully outclassed by this absolute beast of a hero. Kang casually mentions he'll be taking that weapon now. Lurking in the shadows, a medic watches the whole bloodbath, eyes wide, as suddenly a random goon snaps. Gripping a combat knife, he charges blindly at our MC. Kang doesn't even blink, fixing him with a dead-eyed stare. That gear is way too high tier for a classless scrub like you. Bam. He ruthlessly drives a strike straight. He coldly adds that the trash is just getting what it deserves. Trembling uncontrollably, knuckles white around his useless blade. The bald thug stares in sheer panic, wondering if his dagger's special buff just totally glitched out. Because the blade isn't even leaving a scratch on Hansu. Smirking, Hansu coolly announces it's his turn to play. Without missing a single beat, he unleashes a devastating hook, knocking the bald guy into next week. Dusting off his hands, our MC sighs. Holding back his lethal strength to avoid accidentally zeroing these scrubs is honestly exhausting, but it's totally necessary. Why? Because at the end of the day, even low-level cannon fodder is a soup. Flashing a darkly sarcastic smirk, he counts his targets. Just one more idiot left to humble, and that should wrap up this little show. The clan alliance finally rolls up to the bloodbath, jaws dropping as they stare at the absolute carnage, desperately trying to figure out who this total menace is. It instantly clicks in their heads. This insanely overpowered kid is exactly the walking natural disaster they were just warned about. Crossing his arms like an absolute boss, Kang lays down the new law. Starting tomorrow morning, the Basement Squad and the Alliance are merging into one mega team, swapping shifts between hunting monsters and guarding the base. He shoots them a lethal glare. If anyone's got a problem with this new management, they better speak up. He coolly drops some hard facts. Without this kind of ruthless dominance, trying to keep these selfish players in line is basically a pipe dream anyway. Pivoting his focus, he orders his new pawn to aggressively scout every single useful player in the zone and draft them straight into his growing guild. He fiercely guarantees that every single outsider lurking beyond the safe zone is going to follow his. But one of the sharper clan leaders isn't buying the tough guy act. She quickly does the math, realizing this entire setup heavily buffs our MC while leaving them out to dry. Her mind goes into overdrive, desperately trying to figure out his true endgame. Catching her suspicious vibe, Monarch Lee side-eyes the girl, silently questioning what kind of scheme she's brewing too. Flashing a deeply cunning smirk, the Monarch points out that a total wildcard like our hero crashing the server and instantly stirring up massive drama definitely has some shady endgame ulterior motive hiding right up his sleeve. Hansu shuts down their paranoia without missing a beat. He flat out states that as long as the system's core rules are respected, he has zero interest in meddling with their petty politics. But Lee isn't dropping his guard that easily. Muttering under his breath, at any given second, this absolute monster could just flip a switch, change his mind, and wipe the entire clan alliance right off the damn map. Still, Kang completely brushes off their pointless bickering. But to shut down their doubts, our hero literally vanishes into thin air, leaving the entire room totally paralyzed. Gripping his blade, the swordsman scoffs, claiming it's just some basic cloaking skill and there is zero chance the kid actually left the room. Plot twist though, Hanso whispers that he could have ended him right then and there, materializing right behind the arrogant monarch with a razor-sharp blade pressed flush against his throat. The swordsman suddenly realizes he wasn't dealing with cheap parlor tricks, but a literal dragon completely hijacking his five senses. Sweating bullets, the guy is absolutely rattled that he got played so easily. Smirking, our boy flexes that he copped some new loot before dropping in just to keep up with the meta. Heavily armed guards instantly swarm the hall, but Kang throws his hands up, swearing he's not looking for smoke. Just telling everyone to stay in their lane and play. That is literally all he is asking for, nothing more. Striding out the double doors, he realizes these factions are constantly at each other's throats, making a team-up near impossible. Still, he has enough time to play the long game. He knows deep down this is barely the tutorial stage. Suddenly blocking his path, Jimin begs our MC to hold up, pouting that she'll be totally crushed if he just ghosts her like that. Bringing up their last chat, she makes it clear she's expecting a way better answer this time around. She presses him for his vibe on the whole situation. Doubling down, she straight up asks if he's finally ready to join her squad. Closing the distance, she locks onto his eyes with an intense glare. Taking a step into his personal space, she demands absolute honesty right here, right now. Leaning in even closer, she whispers, asking if solo leveling doesn't get insanely lonely or if he's already found a duo partner. She casually drops that she heard rumors about him chilling with some girl named Yu back at the station. scanning his deadpan face. She takes his freezing silence as a massive rejection. Overcompensating with a fake smile, she brushes it off, claiming it would just be epic if he joined her ranks. Without a single word, he completely ignores her and keeps walking, leaving her absolutely dumbfounded. Jaw on the floor, unable to process the total disrespect. She mutters that he couldn't even pretend to care. Dropping a quiet curse, she watches him heave a heavy sigh and completely bail. Cut to Park's guild frantically doing damage control in the aftermath of the bloodbath. Orders are barked to loot the corpses immediately, flagging that their inventory is running dangerously low. They stress that support classes need to step up big time. Sprinting into the chaos, a scout flags down the sergeant, reporting that the southern barricade is totally secured. He lets out a massive sigh of relief, ordering all casualties to fall back to that zone while the frontline fighters finally catch their breath. One officer points out their ironclad defense held the line perfectly and not a single checkpoint was left exposed. Though he admits those stubborn rookies from earlier completely ignored their comms, but it miraculously worked out in the end, saving their entire squad from getting wiped out. The commander barks that this isn't the time to slack off, they are way too vulnerable right now. With that absolute beast of a player holding the front line, they had zero options left anyway. And watching our hero solo, if the guy actually had some manners, they'd recruit him in a heartbeat. Still, the commander wagers that if they just maintain this momentum, they can actually survive the incoming rift portals. But suddenly, a bone-chilling screech echoes from the sky. Out of nowhere, that familiar, creepy little demon drops straight into the war zone. Buzzing with manic energy, it taunts them, asking if they missed him. With a twisted grin, it asks if their pathetic 2-day break was enough beauty sleep. The entire Park Guild completely freezes in absolute terror. Sensing this demon's arrival, yeah, that's a massive red flag. Something terrible is about to go down. The fiend smirks, declaring the warm-up is officially over. It's time for the real bloodbath. For every survivor stuck in this nightmare, things just leveled up. Starting today, actual demons are crashing the— Sure, these beasts pack an insane punch, but the demon tells the trembling crowd not to sweat it too much. Why? Because unlike those trash-tier zombies they've been fighting, these new enemies actually drop some insane loot. Slaying a demon means hitting the jackpot, showering the victor in rare crystals. The creature hypes it up, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime chance for the players. Hoard enough of those glowing stones and you can trade them in for some god tier. We're talking exclusive artifacts you can only snag at this specific shop. But wait, there's an even bigger prize on the line. Escape tickets. The demon taunts them, asking if they're desperate enough to buy their way out of this hellhole. Whispering among themselves, two guys connect the dots. These crystals are their literal golden ticket out. And the best part, a squad of up to 5 players can dip out together. Wrapping up his twisted speech, the demon basically tells them to start farming or die trying. Out of nowhere, the sky rips open. A massive, blood-red portal tears through. A grotesque, jagged claw violently pushes its way through the rift, revealing a colossal beast rocking glowing red eyes and razor-sharp fangs. The titan touches down, letting out a psychotic, ear-split. Absolute panic erupts. The survivors scream their lungs out as glaring with pure malice, the monster stomps forward. The crowd is paralyzed with fear, begging for anyone to act as bait and test the boss's strength. Suddenly, a blur bursts through the panicked mob. A voice roars for everyone to fall back. It's our boy Kang. He launches himself into the air, diving headfirst toward the monstrous new threat. Slicing downward with his newly buffed magic-infused blade, he goes for the kill. But insanely, the beast tanks the strike with a single bare hand. Flexing its free arm, the creature charges up a brutal, glowing energy strike to counter. Whoosh! Kang barely sidesteps the deadly blow. Grinning, he mutters that a real demon wouldn't go down that easy. Even if this boss is just a nerfed version of the real deal, his adrenaline spikes as he realizes basic attacks aren't gonna cut it, no critical hits here. Plus, his stealth buff just timed out. If he wants to wield his heavy hitter weapon, the rune-devouring serpent, he desperately needs a stat boost. Doing the math in his head, Kang knows his current DPS just isn't high enough to shred this thing's HP. Time to rely on his stash. He's got to max out the potential of the loot he farmed back in the dungeon. He triggers the rogue's light boots, activating a massive speed buff that lasts for exactly 60 seconds. If he can't outdamage it, he's gonna blitz it. With the boots glowing, he dashes at breakneck speed, teleporting right into the monster's blind spot. It looks like a guaranteed hit, no way the boss can turn around fast enough. But purely off sick reflexes, the demon violently twists around and blocks the strike anyway. Kang unleashes an absolute flurry of slashes. Sparks fly, but the unbothered creature parries every single swing. Kang's eyes are dead serious. One wrong move here means a game over and losing isn't an option. Staying totally ice cold under pressure, He finally breaks its guard, slicing a deep, nasty gash right across the beast. That only pisses the boss off. Roaring in agony, the demon blasts out a devastating black shockwave. Reading the attack perfectly, our guy crosses his blade to brace for the impact. Boom! The raw force sends him rocketing into the ground, sparking a massive explosion on impact. Backed into a corner, Kang flexes his trump card, triggering the hidden power of the Nermal Ring. This broken accessory packs the power of absolute destruction, instantly canceling out any enemy skill it touches. Meanwhile, back on the bridge, the other players are speechless watching this madman. A combat medic from the Park clan watches in awe, wondering just how overpowered Kang has actually become. Beside him, the clan leader tightens his grip, warning the squad to stand. Smelling blood in the water, he asks if the boss wants them to rush in, but the captain shoots back that if they stall, some other crew is going to snatch their kill. The whole squad scrambles down the slope, thirsting for the monster while keeping eyes glued to the brawl. Jimmy turns to his boss, asking if they should jump in and back up our MC, but Shia just shakes her head, deciding to sit back and watch the show. The girl makes it clear she wants to witness exactly what Kang is truly packing. Cut back to the battlefield where our boy is going toe-to-toe with the Hellspawn. A bunch of vultures are circling the arena, openly mocking him. Like, seriously, the absolute audacity of these guys. Especially knowing that this demon could unleash its racial trait at literally any given second. Kang can't afford a single slip-up looking at the peanut gallery. I mean, this absolute unit of a beast is at least 5 times his size. Even so, he doesn't even flinch. He just stands there, racking his brain over why this monster hasn't popped its signature move yet. You see, demons possess racial skills that vary wildly from beast to beast, making them highly unpredictable. So the real million-dollar question is, why hold back? Why wait this long? He starts wondering if he's dealing with a heavy AoE-type monster. Out of nowhere, the demon starts charging up a massive strike. Kang screams at the crowd to fall back, knowing they'll get shredded if they stay. The medic shivers, swearing he's got a horrible gut feeling about this begging to retreat, but his greedy buddy snaps back that they need to camp the spot to steal the final kill. Flashing a twisted psycho grin, the behemoth winds up its ultimate, finally dropping its terrifying racial skill. Infernal World smashes into the earth, erupting a literal sea of hellfire. In the background, some random dude clutching a glowing shield brags that these flames ain't nothing against his shiny new gear. Totally blinded by greed, he smirks, claiming he just needs to last hit the boss to hog all the god-tier loot. But before he can even blink, towering pillars of fire swallow the area. Complete panic mode activated. Everyone runs for their lives as the dude's mammoth shield gets completely vaporized by the blast. While the whole server is basically scrambling for the exit, Kang just stands his ground, staring down the apocalypse. He triggers his ring's hidden skill, muttering that it's time to test out this artifact's absolute max output. Plunging straight into the inferno, he channels authority destruction right into his blade. The peanut gallery is left completely jaw-dropped, mind blown that a single sword swipe from our hero just instantly snuffed out the hellfire. The shockwave from that slash was so insane it literally shattered the bedrock. The scavengers whisper about what an absolute unit he is. Meanwhile, Kang thinks to himself, he's the only one built to solo this demon, because no one else comes close to matching this freakish raw power. Out of nowhere, the beast bull rushes him head-on. The two clash in a whirlwind of fire and steel. In the background, the red-haired guildmaster watches intensely, questioning if the guy slicing through the flames is actually just a normal traveler like the rest of them. I mean, they all spawned at the same starting line, right? Yet the power gap between them is just astronomically huge. He realizes they desperately need a game plan. If this one-man army keeps dominating the clan, Alliance is going to lose every single edge they've scraped together so far. Fast forward a bit, and the survivors are already gearing up for the next wave. We see the girl leaning against a wall completely alone. Some dude strolls up, telling her that if she's waiting on a certain someone, she should just drop it. Caught totally off guard, she asks what the hell he's talking about. Turns out it's the fighter. He sighs, saying it's pointless to wait up since he wasted days doing the exact same thing for absolutely nothing. Dodging the awkwardness, she asks who he was holding out for. Deadpan, he drops the name, Kang Hansu. Flipping the script again, he narrows his eyes and asks, is she also taking orders from the monarch? His eyes go dead cold as he drops a bombshell. The whole clan alliance is hanging by a damn thread lately. Want to know why? He smirks. Holding his gaze, she fires back, asking why he's even bringing this up right now. Isn't it obvious? He scoffs. But then he suddenly snaps his head away, prompting her to ask what the hell is wrong with him. The fighter mutters that his skin is crawling. He swears someone is watching their every move. He brushes it off as pure paranoia. Cut to a dark hall where Monarch Lee is spying on them both, noting it's been a hot minute since Kang Hansu started completely hogging all the demon kills for himself. Yet the guy hasn't pulled any shady moves, at least not yet. His buddy chimes in, revealing they've already planted several moles, just to track the hero's every breath. The girl adds, breaking down his insane grind between defending, slaughtering demons, and raiding the underground dungeon. Hansu barely gets a wink of sleep. She adds that the randoms who haven't joined a guild yet are constantly throwing hands with the established clan members. The monarch brushes it off, saying that chaos is totally expected, since an overpowered lone wolf like him doesn't run with a clan either. Basically, beef is bound to happen when the entire clan alliance is forced to take orders from one solo player. A crowd starts trickling into the hall, as the monarch reveals he's cooked up a master plan for this exact mess, flashing a wicked grin. He declares that to secure their ultimate endgame, this solo dictatorship has to die right here. Heavy hitters pack the room, rallying together under the dim lights. Throwing his arms wide open, he welcomes them to finally map out the true future of the clan alliance. Meanwhile, a grotesque beast lies totally butchered, impaled by two of our boys' lethal weapons. Hansu looks absolutely wiped out, his body aching from the endless bloodbath. He chucks his dull needle into the dirt, calling it total garbage at this point. Spitting hard and completely gassed out, he groans that this kill bumps his stash to exactly 60, meaning he can finally snag those god-tier artifacts. Locked behind the crystal shop's paywall, since the bulk of this broken gear is usually gate-kept by the major clans, and packs some seriously insane buffs. But if those greedy guilds get their filthy hands on the crystals first, it'll absolutely spark an all-out bloodbath over the loot, so he's gotta nip that drama in the bud. Glaring at the menu, he mutters that he's chasing a way bigger flex anyway. A system chime pops up confirming the 60 crystal trade. He shrugs, bragging that he can master pretty much any weapon, but relying on his classic tried-and-true loadout is just the smartest play, so he violently smashes the buy button on Kratos' judgment. Hyped out of his mind, he claims this bad boy is going to make his future brawls a total cakewalk. Whipping out the brutal chained scythe, Hansu is grinning like an absolute menace. Why not take it for a spin right now? Right on cue, a rotting horde of undead claws their way out of the dirt, and he squares up, practically drooling for a fight. He calculates that there are only 10 days left on the defense clock, and he's dying to see which idiot is going to make the first move before time runs out. Fast forward 10 days. Flashing a sinister smirk, the high demon chuckles that the travelers are definitely keeping things spicy around here. He brags about dropping a sick, massive event for anyone who's actually tough enough to survive the slaughter. Down below, the crowd is losing their minds, screaming and demanding answers since the next monster wave hasn't even officially dropped yet. Mounds of slaughtered beasts from the past week litter the battleground, but suddenly a fresh nightmare spawns in. The mangled corpses of dead demons start melting together right inside the fortress walls. Ripped straight through a glowing, jagged portal, they violently merge into one absolute monstrosity of a boss. Boom, hidden quest triggered on the central island. The bloody mass shapes into a terrifying demon queen. Waking up thirsty for blood, she's literally dressed in nothing but scorching black flames. Throwing her head back, she lets out a totally unhinged, maniacal laugh. A tiny demon snickers, warning the players that if they value their lives, they better back the hell away from those fortress walls, 'cause there's zero chance of breaking out of here anyway. He smirks, laying out their only two options. Option 1. They can hold their ground, fend off the undead horde, and pray they can use the teleportation crystal to dip. But get this, these zombies are way deadlier than the ones they fought before. If they choose this, they're basically sitting ducks waiting for the slaughter. If playing defense isn't their vibe, option 2 is a straight-up death wish, going toe-to-toe with the Demon King himself, who just dropped right inside the fortress. A guy totally loses it, stammering about the Demon King, while a woman snaps that nobody ever warned them about this boss fight. Over their panicked bickering, the demon casually admits he planned to summon the boss all along. He shrugs, explaining he held off on summoning the ultimate big bad earlier. Why? Because there was a massive chance the king would have just wiped the floor with everyone instantly. But let's be real, he knew a total bloodbath was bound to happen sooner or later. Then he drops the timer. The escape crystal activates in exactly 30 minutes. Here's the catch. This crystal can only warp 500 people out of there, meaning half of the survivors are getting left behind to die. But he teases if they somehow manage to slay the Demon King, every single person gets a free ticket out of this hellhole. Even with the insane stakes, the twisted demon is practically grabbing popcorn, hyped to watch this bloodbath play out. He kicks back, promising to patiently wait for them to make their fatal choice. The doctor grits his teeth in pure frustration. His only goal was to— Out of nowhere, a slow clap echoes through the tension. It's Lee the Monarch. He arrogantly suggests they shouldn't waste their 30-minute window and just fight for the crystal to bail. Meanwhile, the guy with glasses narrows his eyes, silently figuring out the Monarch's true colors. That selfish jerk probably only cares about saving his own squad. The two lock eyes, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Pushing back, the man argues it's way smarter to hold their ground, rather than charging headfirst into a suicide mission. They desperately need a solid strategy to save as many people as possible. He directly calls out the monarch, accusing him of throwing everyone else under the bus just to save his inner circle. Unfazed, the monarch coldly shoots back, asking if the guy actually has a better plan. He throws reality in their faces. These demons literally wiped out dozens with a single swing on day one, making the odds of actually beating the Demon King practically zero. Then he drops the ultimate question: wouldn't they rather survive today and move on to the next island in one piece? The man's face darkens, caught in a brutal mental tug-of-war over whether rushing into certain doom is really the move. Both the kid and his partner freeze in dead silence. Nearby, a girl starts spiraling with anxiety, feeling the heavy, suffocating shift in the room's vibe, desperately trying to keep her cool. She keeps chanting in her head that they're backed by the Smoke Clan, praying they'll somehow pull through. Right on cue, our main guy crashes the scene dead serious, declaring that slaughtering the Demon King is their one and only ticket out. Hearing this totally shatters the girl's nerves, leaving her completely freaked out. The protagonist lays down the cold, hard logic. Only the ones left standing after the carnage get to walk away. The other guy groans under his breath, annoyed that this kid is sticking his nose in again. The monarch scoffs. Zhang Kang jumps in, pointing out the hero might actually have a point, because if they turn on each other for that crystal, at least 500 people are guaranteed to be wiped out. Maybe even more. Hearing the harsh truth, a blonde girl put an ounce of trust in these selfish clan leaders, making teaming up with them totally pointless. Caught up in the hype, dozens of survivors throw their hands in the air, swearing to fight the Demon King and escape together. Even more members flood in, spotting Kang Han-soo, that previous doubter, started sweating bullets, losing his mind with anxiety. He frantically argued that if they let this slide, they needed to shut Kang Han-soo down instantly to completely shatter his crew's morale. Because once the epic bloodbath kicked off, staying alive would be the only thing on everyone's radar. Just as she debated tracking him down, Kang shot her a deadly glare, warning her not to even think about throwing hands just yet. He slammed his massive chained scythe right beside her, growling that the fallout would be an absolute nightmare for her to handle. Terrified, she backed off. The monarch quickly stepped in to play peacemaker, demanding teamwork and zero drama, declaring he was sticking to his master plan for now. With a dead serious, shadowy glare, he muttered that they still had a fighting chance. It was pretty obvious the massive crowd had already locked in their choice. But the hero suddenly hit the brakes. Before another move was made, he demanded a second to set the record straight. Whipping out his brand new weapon, he unleashed a vicious chained strike straight at the crystal core. The chain squeezed with such insane pressure that the glass violently cracked. The monarch and his right-hand man completely froze, absolutely dumbfounded by this crazy stunt. Our MC laid it out plain and simple. Since they were marching straight into the fortress, that crystal was completely useless now. Having an easy way out would only make them soft. The crowd erupted in hyped whispers, totally vibing with him, and hyping up their one true mission, obliterating the Demon King. Every single person needed to push south for the ultimate showdown. Slicing right through the heavy tension, Kang brutally ordered the randoms not to tail his crew. It was every man for himself, and they had to claw their own way out alive. Right on cue, the countdown hit 0 and the brutal trial officially launched. Fast forward a bit, the squad finally pulled up to the Demon King's legendary Stepping inside, the surgeon immediately realized this place felt totally off from his memories. The entire layout had been insanely warped into something complete. Drenched in a creepy neon purple glow, the pitch-black halls were lit up by blazing chandeliers, giving off the crazy vibe of a twisted, colossal cathedral. The massive scale of this dungeon was mind-blowing, stretching out way beyond what the flickering lights could ever reveal. Just crossing the threshold was enough to send a cold. Flashing a wicked, hyped-up grin, the Demon King welcomed his guests, taunting that it had been way too long. He dropped a dark warning: if they came crashing his party looking for a fun time, nobody was walking out alive. Suddenly, the massive doors slammed shut. Boom! A deafening crash echoed through the hall, making everyone jump out of their skin. A glowing system alert popped up, confirming the nightmarish reality. The fortress was completely sealed off. Without warning, the stone floor beneath their feet started violently crumbling away. Bursting right out from the rubble, a swarm of grotesque monsters. Undead goblin-like freaks crawled into the light, causing a girl to shriek in pure terror as one lunged straight at her. Slash, the MC's weapon, brutally smashed the creep away while he barked at the squad to lock in and stop panicking. He reminded everyone that these ugly bastards were the exact same trash mobs they had been slaughtering all along. Spotting a terrified kid sobbing on the ground, he yelled at him to find his guts and strike back with everything he had.